Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another round in the ever exciting UKSimRacing Community's GT3 League Season 12 as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. And today we embark on the beginning of our journey into the second half of the championship calendar with a commencement of round 5 of 8 here, concluding our doubleheader as well in the United States of America at the one and only ultimate rollercoaster ride of road racing, that is Road Atlanta. The circuit located in the state of Georgia is absolutely brilliantly known for its sweeping S corners and also its extended straights, all crammed into a whole multitude of elevation changes, and come it all, it makes it the ultimate adrenaline ride when it comes to road racing for the simple reason, with direction changes so closely packed into multiple elevation changes, you've got to be absolutely fully committed from corner to corner if you want to come out on top here. And with the average lap speed being one of the highest, if not the highest, on our championship calendar, and while the shortest laps are under what is 1 minute and 20 seconds, this is going to be a no-holds-barred ride from start to finish, whether it be in qualifying or the race, and come the end of it all, it's going to be just as much about a driver's pace as it is going to be their consistency and ability to outlast the circuit. But as all drivers get ready to go racing today, we welcome you all to this broadcast live from circuit side, available on 2 official media platforms for UKSimRacing for your viewing pleasure. And firstly, you could be tuning in right now via the official UKSimRacing YouTube channel, and that's at youtube.com, just search for UKSR, alternative UKSimRacing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube. And of course, we also have the alternative media platform for those of you who are inclined to use Twitch TV. Indeed, you can be tuning in right now via twitch.tv/UKSimRacing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch. We can see both chats, don't be shy, feel free to say hi and let us know how you're doing, how your weekend's been, and who you're cheering on today and expecting to win here at Road Atlanta. But as we set the stage and get ready to go racing today, all your racing action is going to be brought to you by myself, and will allow me to introduce myself from the quarantine booth. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Now I bring you all your racing action over the entirety of the season. And well, let's jump straight into it in terms of our season calendar, in terms of what's already played out and what we've still got lying in wait. And as we can see, today is the 11th of February and we make our way into the second half of the championship calendar. But to recap the first half of the championship season, we started off with round number 1, the 7th of January, kicking off 2024 with a bang in our first endurance race round of the season at the Daytona International Speedway road course circuit. There we kicked off in the US of A, and we got to see some brilliant battling at the US state of Florida, with the battling coming down to the final margins, and indeed very fine margins at that. But at the front of the field, it was James Armstrong who led the way on home there, and for what was at the time our large competition, now renamed to Brabham Esports. And will Armstrong absolutely delivering what was a thrilling 6-way fight for victory between himself, multiple teammates, and of course Alex Millwood as well, and the Effects Esports drivers out there absolutely pushing at the utmost, but Armstrong able to stay one step ahead. Then in round number 2, we made the way to the European continent for the one and only time this season for the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg circuit, the Grand Prix layout of which we saw drivers take to for the first sprint race round on the 14th of January. And there, and what was our second round of the season, our drivers absolutely found themselves under intense pressure to try and put it on pole, for the simple reason overtaking was absolutely treacherous at the Hockenheimring, albeit it wasn't to be said that it couldn't be done. And then we still had James Armstrong at the front of the field in the elite class, making it 2 wins out of 2. But further down the field as well, we got to see some brilliant rivalries, particularly in the AM class, between what was the Ford GT of Jack Barker and also Matt Edmondson in the Ferrari. And further up the field, we also saw the rise of TiKi Simsport's Ryan Davies, who started to put the results together in the pro class, and well, that carried forward into our mid-season break week. And the fact we had a week's break with all of our drivers having the opportunity to recharge their batteries in commencement for the official iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona, but when they returned for round number 3 at the Suzuka International Racing Course Grand Prix circuit in Japan in what was the 28th of January, a day before my birthday, funny enough, and what a treat that was to be able to roll onto my 31st birthday to see the fantastic action there. And you guys and girls absolutely loved it as well, as we got to see some absolutely brilliant battling. And we'll carry on the theme in the pro class, Ryan Davies taking a win there in the pro class, and meanwhile in the pro class we got to see some brilliant battling. Indeed, UKSimRacing judges Rob Selby and Aaron Lever putting together a great set of results, a 1-2. Indeed, it was 3 1-2s across the classes in what was, I do believe, in the Pro, the Prime and the AM classes, but not to be in the Elite class, with James Armstrong not being able to make it 3 wins in a row of an absolutely terrible day of racing. And last time out at Sebring, we saw Armstrong back in victorious fashion, head of Harold Jotautas at the very front of the field on the 4th of February. And meanwhile, further down the order, perhaps the biggest shout out on the course In the AM class, we've got to see the Ford GT on its home soil, piloted by Jack Barker, take its first ever win. Indeed, Jack Barker's first ever win in the UKSimRacing series in class. But that was last week, and here we are today at Road Atlanta for our second endurance race round of the season. And after today, we make our way back to Japan for the second and final time for this championship calendar. Now we for the Okayama International Racing Course circuit, with its recently revamped graphical layout, and we'll get to see that in its full splendour in a week's time, the 18th of February. And after that sprint race, we make our way down under to Australia, staying within the Oceania Pacific region for our final endurance race round of the season, and that'll be round 7 of 8 at the Mount Panorama Raceway circuit. But you'll know and love it and refer to it as Bathurst in commemoration of the local township, and that'll be on the 25th of February. And then after we decide who the king and queen of the mountain are, we're then going to be coming onto the circuit of the Americas, bringing it on home with a dance in Texas. Indeed, it's going to be the Texas two-step that separates our drivers in our sprint race season finale on the 3rd of March. But who will be our drivers' champions? Who will be our team's champions? That's all to play for, and whilst we may have some early favourites at the moment, nothing is decided at this time, and indeed it's completely open season when it comes to the racing. But speaking of open season here, let's open up your thoughts with regards to the Road Atlanta circuit. 9 in 4 is the Michelin Raceway at Road Atlanta, and our drivers, of course, will be taking on its full course today. Now located near the town of Brazelton in Hall County of the US state of Georgia, this circuit, as you can see from the circuit map provided by iRacing.com, and thank you to iRacing for the absolutely brilliant circuit maps, and of course the fantastic simulator that all encompasses the package. It is a circuit which does span the best part of 2.54 miles, and over the course of its 12-corner lap. Well, this circuit has had to be slowed down over the course of its history in order to make it safer, particularly the introduction of the turn 10A and 10B chicane, but beyond that it's mostly stayed the same, and well, what a circuit has become as a result. As our drivers charge around here, a two-dimensional circuit map doesn't quite contextualise just how much elevation change there is. And you're going to see plenty of that in qualifying, and when we do go to the circuit side cameras for the final session of what is the practice that's currently ongoing. For as our drivers charge away across the start-finish line, they'll sweep the way upwards to the uphill right-hand return at number 1, looking to carry as much speed as possible, but not too much to understeer wide onto the grass. And as they make the way for the left-hand kick at turn number 2, they'll reach the peak of a rise before going downhill into turns 3 and 4. However, there's just one challenge for turn number 3. It's completely blind from the braking point at turn number 2. Indeed, you're braking for a corner you cannot see. And if you get it right through the right-hander, you then make your way sweeping downhill into the left-hander at turn number 4 and into the infamous S's section, which has no corner numbers, but it's going to be right, left as our drivers charge their way on through and up towards turn number 5. And there through the sweeping left-hander, it's all about mounting the exit curve at the right angle not to unsettle the car. Get it right and you'll power your way down towards turn number 6. Get it wrong, you could be in the wall. But as you head down towards the right-hander at turn number 6, it's 2 at 90 rights back-to-back, the two slowest corners on the circuit, with turn 7 bringing the pace down to its slowest pace. And as our drivers make their way out the right-hander, they'll charge their way down onto the back straight. Through the Kingston turns 8 and 9, they'll go roaring their way upwards of 160 miles an hour in top gear. And as they make their way downhill into the braking zone for turn 10A, into the part of the chicane, we'll see our drivers as sparks come flying out from underneath the car where they scrape the bottoms out. And as they make their way from the left into right hand there, it's about straight lining the two apex of the chicane, while making their way over the crest to turn number 11, the ultimate peak point of the circuit, and roaring your way down to the flat out right hander at turn number 12 to complete lap and do it all over again. And that's in under 1.5 minutes each and every lap. This is certainly going to be one where all the drivers will have their hairs standing on edge. But as they get ready to go racing today, let's give you a quick reminder of the rules. We can't go racing without them. Car setup wise, drivers are not permitted to change their car during the season at all, so all the drivers are locked into the car they chose at the start of the season. And car fuel loads, as always, shall be restricted to 70% for all races. Qualifying wise, because this is an endurance race round, we are running a different rule set today. And that you'll see the qualifying session is an open qualifying session which will be lasting 30 minutes and split into 2 equal halves, so all the drivers will be out on the circuit. However, with the caveat that the first 15 minutes of the qualifying session shall be for the AM and the Prime classes, our 2 lower classes in terms of pace, and they'll be laying down the rubber for the second 15 minutes, at which point our faster classes of the pros and the elites will be out there dueling for pole position. And our drivers may not at any point reset to the pits outside of the pit lane in qualifying. They can come into the pits, and as soon as they're within the pit limiter line, and therefore they're inside the pit lane, if you will, they are allowed to reset to the pits. But if they do it outside of that, it shall end their qualifying session automatically, and that brings a bit of realism to the qualifying session in the fact that you may have the ultimate 1 lap pace, but if you put it into the wall on your opening qualifying lap, or indeed on your warm-up lap, then your qualifying session is over and you're not able to unleash that pace, and therefore it is going to have a huge amount of risk versus reward. And I can tell you one thing, from keeping eyes down the paddock where drivers have been talking in amongst their teammates and also in amongst one another, the fear factor of this reset roll is definitely kicking it in right now, because a lot of drivers are feeling confident they've got the 1 lap pace, but they're not feeling confident necessarily they're going to be able to put it together without making a mistake at some point, and that could lead to quite the shifting of this qualifying order for today. Now, in terms of our race rules, in general, races shall commence via a double-fold rolling start, as is the tradition of the UKSimRacing GT3 League. There are no mandatory pit stop requirements, but given today's race is a 90-minute race, we are expecting at least 2 pit stops at the choosing of our drivers. Now, each driver has 1 fast repair available should they pick up damage at any point, and all race journeys shall be conducted post-race. And as this is an endurance race, we'll see the drive-through penalty limit increased up to 23 instant points, at which point the drive-through penalty will be awarded. But that's enough rules and regulation. You're here for the racing, and so are we here in the commentary booth. Well, let's make our way back to circuit side, and the circuit right now falling silent as all of our drivers are currently in the final pre-race briefing. Well, let's take you through our schedule for tonight. Times in Greenwich Mean Time as GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time UTC, and as we can see, in just under 8 minutes time, we'll be going into our qualifying session, 30 minutes in duration. All our drivers out of the circuit in their phase sessions, and it is definitely going to be a close qualifying session, and given the pace we have seen, whereas at Sebring last time out, or preceding rounds such as Suzuka or the Hockenheim Ring, qualifying never quite goes without some drama. After which we'll then be making our way to the grid for our one and only race today, and that will be our 90-minute endurance race, 1.5 hours, and due to kick off at just after what will be 8:30. But get yourself set at 8:30, we can promise you that, because we'll be getting the rolling start underway, and it'll be a very quick run to the racing. And the pleasant conditions here today in the US state of Georgia, 21 degrees centigrade ambient temperature, track temperature 24 degrees centigrade right now, so therefore we definitely do have a circuit that's gradually coming up nicely, and it gives our drivers plenty of opportunity to push their cars to the absolute maximum, albeit they'll want those tyres up to temperature as soon as possible. Well, as we do say hello to a good number of you in the Twitch and the YouTube chats, let's start off with the Twitch chat there. We do say hello to Matrix4701, who says the Lamborghini Huracan is good here with a smiley face, and well, I'm trying to understand who Matrix is. It does escape me the name there, but I think it's one of the TiKi Simsport drivers, unless I'm very much mistaken, but perhaps Matrix will clarify. We also say hello there to DQ Dave, or Disqualification Dave, who is cheering on Krista Houseoy, and says that Krista Houseoy is definitely looking fast for this round for sure, and we look forward to seeing how Houseoy gets on after that brilliant recovery to P6 in the Procast last time out. And that's Martin Tillin there, who is Matrix4701. I wanted to say it was you, Martin, but I thought, and I do appreciate you clarified first, because I was going to gamble on it, and well, I should have been a gambling man today. But then we come on to the YouTube chat there, and we do say hello to Thomas Cope, who's wishing the best luck to Connor Craven, who is racing for Olympus Esports, of course, recently having joined Olympus Esports as the previous round at Sebring. And well, from Thomas Cope, we also say hello there to Satinder Deensa, who'll be cheering on his TiKi Simsport teammates, and none more so than brother Shaminda Deensa. We also say hello to Daz Sharples there, who says good luck to the old dudes in cars, boys, and out with a broken wheel rim. Sorry to hear that, Daz, and hope to see you back on the grid soon, because we do miss seeing you out there, given the pace that you do bring to the table time and time again. Well, right now the circuit's still forward in silent here. All the drivers still in that pre-race briefing, and well, as they all get set and ready to go, it's a good time for us to talk about one driver in particular, albeit I don't think he's currently in the car, and that's Cy Anthony. In fact, we'll wait until he gets into the car, because he is running a special livery today in commemoration of what has been quite recently a bit of a special but sad event within his personal life, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, albeit something that's enabling him to have some positive reflection in life, and more on that in due course. But as our drivers getting set, and I think one driver deciding to practice leaving the pit lane, I think that's Jack Taylor, just trying to practice what will be a standing launch out of the pit lane when he does get the go from each and every pit stop. And well, some drivers started to pull away, including Ryan Davies, who currently is your Pro Provisional Championship leader in the TiKi Simsport car Martin machine in the number 85. We say provisional, of course, because things can shake up from week to week with the drop scores being accounted for, but he is currently the championship leader, if you will. And as he makes his way out of the pit lane there, all the drivers being released now, so we still do have the best part of 5 minutes of this final practice warm session. All the drivers absolutely ready to go, and as they make the way on through and around, we also see John Eddowes here as the TiKi Simsport group, with the TiKi Simsport Tower driver all making the way out, and well, the number 70 driver in the BMW M4 found himself a long way down the order at Sebring due to an incident that collected him quite early on in the race. Did have reasonable pace out there, but it wasn't quite to be his day, and he'll be hoping for plenty more today. And as he makes his way on through in towards turn number 6, we talk about drivers at Sebring. Let's talk about one of the heroes at Sebring, and that was Barker in the Ford GT, the privateer in the 163. And I had the chance to catch up with him after his elation from Sebring with regards to Road Atlanta, and the thing he was saying to me today is he expects this round to be his drop spot. He's not feeling confident with the Ford GT around here. And the main problem he's finding with this car is it's got all the power he needs down the back straight, and this car untouchable on that straight, even with cars in its tow. The only problem is through the S's in particular, so the run from turn 3 all the way through to turn 5, the car just doesn't have the rotation and thereby the pace through the S's compared to its rivals, and that seems to be the thing he's worried about here. So he's going to have to aim high in qualifying and just hopefully be a thorn in everybody's side and become a rolling roadblock through the corners and just able to power way down the straight. So that's going to be his game plan, I reckon, and I think it may just work out for him as he makes his way down towards turn at number 10. But as he does so, we do look to Cy Anthony, and let's come back to the Welshman here from Simsport Esports, who are running a different livery today, and you may notice the car is all carbon fibre black. Now this is in memoriam of a member of his family, indeed his cousin. His cousin being James Skinny Killer, Skinny being the nickname to his cousin James. And the reason why he's running a special livery today is the fact that with regards to his cousin passed away earlier this week. And well, for Cy used to spend a lot of time in his younger years sitting and watching his cousin James gaming for hours as a kid before Cy got his own PC, albeit there was always the running situation within the family whereby James would have the better computer than Cy. That carried all the way on throughout life, and well, Cy's first competitive gaming experience was playing at Delta Force Blackpool Down with his cousin James, and then scrimming with his clan, or essentially going for clan versus clan matches with James and the wider clan. And his username Skinny, i.e. James Skinny Killer, the username Skinny came from that, if you will. And well, James was also a big fan of Star Wars Galaxies, and in the later years the two of them would play Guild Wars 2 together, albeit it would be James who would be leading huge lurks in World versus World mode. So lots of fun memories, and indeed Cy and all the family will be remembering James. And well, a special shout out there to Cy and of course his cousin, no longer with us sadly, and that is James Skinny Killer. But as the Welshman makes his way through turn number 7, he'll be a bit emotionally charged today. When I did have the opportunity to ask him about how he was doing, he's feeling good for today. He's going to do everything he can in honour and memory of James, but also on top of that, with the practice he's been able to put in, it's not his favourite circuit, Road Atlanta, but he's having fun with it and hoping to make some good progress over the course of the 90 minutes of racing. Well, he makes his way on down. In terms of the only thing you'll see on the livery of this car is the fact you'll see the UKSimRacing boards there, including what is the yellow coloration across the windshield to show that he's in the elite class, and also the door number cards. But you'll see on top of the car, and hopefully we can get a better view of it. Perhaps we'll be able to get the helicopter over the car very shortly. In fact, I think we can, albeit that's a bit too far away unfortunately there, so we're not going to be able to see it quite well as he makes his way into turn at number 1. But there will be the words of what is his cousin's full name there with the nickname in the middle of it over the top of the car. You can just see it there, some white text, and that is where the tribute is being paid on the car. So Cy Anthony parks the car up there, and in fact he parks his way into the pit lane. I think we might be able to get one of the drone cameras to zoom in on the car, and well, I do believe we will be able to, and you can just see the wording over the top of the door banner there as we do get the drone parked up in front of the car. Can't get it any closer than that unfortunately, but indeed the 127 driver all set and ready to go. But as I do believe we might have just had a blacking out of the camera there, and apologies for that, the drone having a bit of a technical issue. Well, all the drivers getting themselves set and ready to roar now, and well, as they do, we look to Jack Taylor for TiKi Simsport tyres. He makes his way on around there, and he roars his way on through the corners and makes his way in towards turn at number 7, following the turn number 77, of which that is none other, I do believe, John Davies, fellow TiKi Simsport driver in the AM class. We're talking a lot about TiKi, and perhaps being a bit cheeky about that, and I get the feeling that Greg is then high team Prince will be glad to have his drivers on screen time right now. We do need to talk about James Armstrong as he makes his way around here. The Brabham Esports livery back in action after it was absent last time out at Sebring. Indeed, it wasn't on the car, but it has been repainted, and goodness me, that livery is looking absolutely beautiful. The 47 Audi R8 Evo 2 LMS machine, and Armstrong today, he was full of confidence after Sebring and looking forward to Road Atlanta, and well, he has proved to be one of the fastest drivers in his final practice session all week, as we see him there putting a 1:17.665 on the board, 2/10 faster than what Eric Rosa has been able to put together. But of course, practice is one part, meanwhile qualifying is another. And we're about to get set for qualifying as we see the checker flag come out on this final practice session. All drives absolutely set as Armstrong there having a bit of a moment, and a moment with the tyre barrier, and that could very easily happen to any of the drivers when they're going to qualifying, and nobody will want that to have happened to them at the start of the qualifying session immediately. But immediately we take away to the qualifying session then, ladies and gentlemen, and without further ado, 30 minutes split into two 15-minute halves. Who's going to be on pole in each of their classes and overall? Let's find out. So as our drivers begin to make their way out the pit lane, of course, this first half of the session is for the primes and the AMs. It's prime and AM qualifying as they start to make their way out of the pit lane. And we'll guy Kylie out taking to the car there for the wrong stuff, getting himself set and ready to go. Car rolling out the pit box quite slow there, I think almost hitting the anti-stall, if you will, and it was gradually gravitates his way towards the pit lane exit. All the drivers will be roaring the way on through, and we also look to Alan Lever already out there. And well, we're going to be seeing only one of the two UKSimRacing Stuart drivers today, Alan Lever being one for the combination of himself and Rob Selby. Unfortunately, Selby not able to make it onto the grid today due to personal circumstances. We'll see him back in a week's time in round number 6 of Okayama, but not able to make this round, so effectively locked in as his drop score. So today it's going to be Alan who's going to have the change set on him, which is to carry on the fine form of the team and make it count for himself in the Prime Championship. Now, just a quick reminder for those of you wondering, how can you tell who are pros, primes, and everything between? Well, we can tell you that our pros are the drivers who do have what is the blue door cards, and indeed what is the windshield colours. And it does seem as though Alan Lever's car there does mistakenly have what is the blue rather than green. We'll have to look at that after today's racing. But as he makes his way down, it would normally be green. And speaking of green, Lawrence Marsh is a fine example here in the all green machine with a bit of yellow coloration as well. Great to see the privateer make his way on around. And that's how you tell who your primes are, with the green coloration. And then the reds will go to our AM drivers, and meanwhile the yellows go to our elite drivers. But this is the prime and AM section of the qualifying session. And of course they do have 15 minutes in total. Now you may be wondering at this point, what do you need to do to put together a pole position up at Road Atlanta? Well, the first thing you need, first and foremost, is confidence, and you need it at the maximum around here. In fact, you've got to run your car to the regulatory adhesion from corner to corner and carry every mile an hour into corner apex and on the exit. You cannot delay return to the throttle. You need to get it absolutely right in order to take pole position here, for the simple reason this course is the ultimate momentum-based racing course. We say that term a lot in the fact that you carry speed from quarter to quarter in order to set the best possible lap time. That's given obvious whenever you go racing, but around here, every mile an hour you lose in one corner, it is felt in the subsequent 2 to 3 corners, and that means it completely compromises your lap time, and that's going to be the key thing. But also 9-winter reality. You can't be too aggressive around here, because to be too aggressive will put the car onto the grass, and then very quickly may find you making haste in towards a tyre barrier, alternatively the wall, and that is not going to be ideal in this qualifying session. As soon as you hit that wall, you may be out of qualifying if you can't pull the car back to the pit. Remember, pit resets are not available for our drivers. But as we do look from Lawrence Marsh to what is one of our AM drivers in the form of Neil Smith, in terms of cars we're expecting to go well here today, one of the finest examples will be the BMW M4, powered by the German manufacturer, of course, as he makes his way down with a flat 6 engine, and as he charges his way on through here, this BMW is very strong in the straights and also a very stable machine in general. A very hard car to invoke oversteering unless you make it incredibly unstable from the outset, but of course for Smith and a number of drivers, will be raising that rear ride height and creating a bit more of a looser anti-roll bar at the rear compared to the front in order to get this car to have an extra rotation in. But as he makes his way on through turn number 11 in towards turn number 12, the key thing is the BMW has the power on the straights and it has the stability through the corners to give their drivers confidence. However, it's not just going to be the story of the BMWs, because of course what we've got around here as well is a number of very strong handling cars. And speaking of one driver who can handle the pressure, he is your Prime Championship leader by 2 points currently over the UKSimRacing Stuart pair of Selby and Lever. It's Chris Constable, the Destino Motorsports driver, who makes his way on through in the Audi R8 Evo 2 currently and won an 18.740. He'll be hoping for a bit more time out there, given the fastest laps we're expected to see today will be the high 17s from our elite drivers. Perhaps even a pro might get in there for pole position, but meanwhile it's going to be low 18s for the primes and the AMs, where they can find those times if possible. But as Steve Constable roaring his way past our static camera there, giving you a sense of the speed. This Audi has a lot of natural rotation in it, and also absolutely roaring and ready to go V10 power plant, and when you put it together, we do expect the Audis to go quite strongly here. And another car that we expect to go quite well here at the Road Atlanta circuit is the Porsche 992 GT3 R machine. And speaking of one of our Porsche drivers, here is the Team Badger Steel driver of Simon Oldfield as he makes his way out to turns at 10A and 10B. Now the reason why we expect the Porsche to do well, given the fact it's a car that normally languishes on the straights, and we do have a very long back straight here, is the fact that this car is going to be very hard to beat. It's going to be the ultimate speed demon through the opening 7 corners of lapping. We're able to carry slightly more speed compared to its peers, and that may just give it a bit of an advantage when it makes its way onto that back straight, but the drivers start to reel it on in. And with a Porsche driver can have the ultimate run for the opening 7 corners and then then pick up a toe down the back straight. It may be a lap that is impossible to beat, but we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, cars that may not go as well here, we are expecting what is the Mercedes AMG Evos not to perhaps be as strong here. We do have one on the grid being piloted by father of James Armstrong, and that is Rob Armstrong, as he makes his way around here. He's had quite a bit of bad luck this season so far as the Pro-Am driver, and he's hoping for a bit more luck today as he makes his way on out of turn at number 5 there. Albeit this Mercedes, much like the Ford GT and the BMW, is definitely going to be a beast down the straights. We also know this Mercedes, not the nicest of cars through low to medium speed corners, particularly with the amount of wheel spin it generates, and through turn 6 and 7 we can expect the Mercedes to be quite the prickly customer as he runs a bit wide there, can out of turn number 7 trying to carry a bit of extra speed, but it does look as though Armstrong's got it under control currently. And another car we haven't talked about, many of you have given some thoughts on in the Twitch chat in particular, is the Lamborghini Huracan Evo, and well, this Lamborghini, if it could be conquered by its drivers, we've heard it's a bit of a difficult car to tame this season, but if you do get it right, and Alan Leather doing things right so far, currently P7 in the Pro-Am class, well, this may be a very tough car to beat, but then again, it's got to be driven right on the limit, much like the McLaren MP4 12C, and well, we do have one of those out here in the AM class, and that is John Davies here in the venerable old British machine with V8 bi-turbo as he makes his way on down the back straight in towards the turn 10A and 10B chicane. As he makes his way down to the braking zone, a little bit of history for you. This chicane being introduced, I do believe, in what was the 80s, unless I'm mistaken, and previously the run around this circuit was coming out to turn number 7 all the way up to the uphill run to turn number 11. Yes, that's right, it used to be a flat out run all the way in towards the over the hill kinker turn number 11, and there'd be the downhill run into turn number 12 as the numbers are currently known. In order to complete lap, the chicane was introduced due to the excessive speeds that drivers are reaching, and cars were not necessarily taking off in terms of taking flight with the downforce with the air going underneath the car, but it did mean it was getting very dangerous, and therefore as a safety measure the chicane was introduced. But this circuit still produces some of the highest lap speeds in the world, comparable to circuits such as Monza, for example. As he makes his way out to turn at number 5 right now, John Davies, much like most drivers here, will know about the reverse reward nature of the circuit. As he makes his way in towards turn number 6 and 7 right now. We do say hello there to Eric Rosev in the YouTube chat, who thinks it's going to be a tough one this evening. We also say hello to John Edos there, and thank you for the compliment, John. It's very nice to have you tuned in, and I get the feeling you're getting yourself set for the second half of this qualifying session. And well, as our drivers make our way on around right now, let's talk a little bit about our drivers who are currently setting the time screens on fire, including James Conley, who's currently in visual and pole sit here in what is P8 overall. But do keep in mind, we're going to be seeing our pros, our AMs and primes, I should say, push down the order once the elites and pros get out there. So those positions right now not too representative, if you will, but it does give you a good flavour of how the AMs and primes are going to intermingle amongst one another. But Conley already putting a solid job right now in the Ferrari 296, and we know this Ferrari really has proven to be a bit of a jack of all trades this season, master of none, in terms of the fact it brings a little bit of everything to the table, and Conley's been trying to get the most out of it. Matt Edmondson in the final practice session really put the time screens on fire in his own Ferrari. So it does look as though the UKSimRacing drivers, UKSimRacing Mansell, both doing a great job in the AM class right now. We do look to Edmondson here, and we're just finding that's Connor Craven in the Olympus East was Audi following them on pro, and perhaps trying to use him as a little bit of a toe there in order to gain a bit of a speed boost on the run into turn 6 and 7. You can see the camber in there of the right-hander at turn number 6 as they make the way on through. Meanwhile, Chris Constable in the front class is still the fastest driver out there, out of these two qualifying groups at the moment, indeed within his class. And speaking of Chris Constable, we jump on board for a flying lap on the Road Atlanta circuit with him. As he makes his way in towards turn number 1, 6th gear, and onto the brakes nice and early, trail braking down to 4th gear, early apex, and now making his way up the hill in towards turn number 2, onto the rise he goes, positions the car and onto the brakes, the apex of 2, where's turn 3, suddenly there it is, as he makes his way over the apex in 3rd gear, now down through turn 4, on 3rd gear for as long as possible, now to 4th gear, opening up the S's, the right into the left here, as he makes sure not to mount the curves to unsettle the car, into turn 5, drop the gear down to 3rd, hooks it in nice and tight as he powers his way out, and now up towards turn number 6, fast flying there, that's the 3rd lap already complete, and as he makes his way into the braking zone, braking at what will be the 100 metre one all the way down to 3rd gear, nice and tight onto the apex, they're using the camera of the road to push the car around, now turn number 7, a flatter corner down to 2nd gear, as he powers his way out, picks up the throttle gradually, and now full throttle, blasting the Audi all the way down the back straight here. Let's listen to that V10 engine. As he gets ready to go into the downhill drop up to 6th gear here, plummeting on down, bringing the car to the right side, braking 150 metres of corner apex all the way down to 2nd gear and into left-hander, and now through the right, opening up 10B, a little bit more there to give himself the better around the throttle, over the crest through the right and kick of 11, and now over to the left-hand side to open up turn 12, so he can go flat out here to complete the lap. Well, for Chris Constable, you may have noticed he slowed down and going into the chicane, he'll get himself set up for another lap, but Constable there giving us a brilliant demonstration of the fast and furious nature of Road Atlanta in the Destino Motorsports Audi R8 Evo 2 LMS. But as he comes on through, meanwhile Marvin Cruz is flying out there for Old Duty Cars Blue. He crosses the timeline, he went purple in what was subsector 1, and he does improve on a personal best to 118.888. He stays P3 in the prime class and loses the rear of the car. They come through turn 1. That's going to be contact to the wall. Now, is that a tow to the pits for Marvin Cruz? It's going to be a whole lap. He's got to try and recover this car. He has got a couple of cars coming on through, and it's a tow to the pits for Marvin Cruz, and that is his qualifying session complete. He will not be able to go into qualifying again now, and that's the risk versus reward nature, and the rear of the car just letting go there. And will we take a look back at what exactly happened from on board? Now through the right-hander he went as he did so, the rear of the car just letting go, and well, in the end I think trying to get the car to turn away from the wall, but that impact with the wall collapsing the front right suspension as he tried to pull it away. It wasn't to be today. Well, for Cruz that's going to be painful, and meanwhile we do look back to your live picture of Davies, the BMW M4 driver from TiKi Simsport, right now trying to find a bit more time out there as he makes his way on down and through turn number 12, and well, the lap time does not seem to be coming forth too quickly here, albeit it's worth noting that given the run of lap times right now in the prime class between P6 and 11 and Davies P10, we've got 5 drivers separated by what is their only, the best part in fact is 4 drivers, now we're doing the mathematics correctly, separated by only 2 attempts. Indeed, a small improvement may be enough to leapfrog Dienza all the way up 4 places inside that prime qualifying position. As they make their way on through and up onto another lap. Right now it doesn't look as though Dienza here still getting himself set for the car into the wall there. I think that was Steinar Sani getting it very wrong, and in fact that was Sani having an incident coming out of turn at number 5, and the BMW M4 Race Lab Esports trying to get itself turned around as he brings the car through it and takes it back onto the circuit. He's trying to get it turned around without going onto the racetrack, and well, that's absolutely sensible there for the simple reason he doesn't want to impede anyone given the fast run out of turn number 5, and if anybody gets it slightly wrong coming out of turn number 5, the rear end could cut loose and the car could be pushed over towards the outside of the circuit, and that would be right on a collision course with Sani. So therefore the Race Lab Esports driver showing a lot of respect for his fellow racers and recovering at a very gentle pace there and sacrificing what is qualifying time, albeit for the great purpose of making sure not to impede anybody else. But meanwhile, as we look to Connor Craven, right now only slightly faster than Steinar Sani by the best part with 300s, if that. Well, the Olympus Esports driver makes his way on down toward what will be the turn 10 chicane, and as he does so, things not coming together right now. It would seem this qualifying session he's on an out lap, so therefore he is going to have the best part of 2 more laps remaining once he goes on to another flying lap in order to try and move himself up into the top 10 of what will be this prime class. Only P15 overall, but it's time to come to the pits, and I think Craven here deciding he's going to get the job done. When they go racing, goodness me, and almost hitting the inside wall there as he came on down. I think trying to practice coming into the pits there and seeing how quickly he can do it, and perhaps the sign he's done his best at qualifying, but no more value in trying to put any more laps in. That could have been near disastrous there as John Davies heads towards the timeline. Does he improve from currently weighs P7 in AM class and P21 overall? No, he does not. He'll have 2 more laps at his fingertips here as he makes his way through turn at number 1. But as he does so, going up the hill and over the rise into turn at number 2 and into 3. Right now, John Davies still trying to get himself ready for the wrong stuff as he comes down through the left-hand of turn number 3 and into 4 and 9. It's a long journey here, being P7 in the AM class, and given how close this AM class is positioned versus one another, well, it is 1.1 seconds to Matt Edmondson's pole time in the AM class, and well, this was of course the location where Matt Edmondson, I do believe unless I'm mistaken, picked up his first ever GT3 League win in the AM class, and that was all the way back, if we're going back through the history books here, back in what was season 11, unless I'm very much mistaken. It was an absolutely superb drive, and he would go on to win at Indianapolis in the combined GT3 League a season later. And well, right now Matt Edmondson definitely the driver to beat in the AM class, 1.7 tenths faster than teammate James Conley, and what it seems to be a perfect combination of the 176 Ferrari and what is Road Atlanta. They seem to go together much like Hornies wine and cheese, but as he makes his way across the line, he won't be drinking any wine for the time being. He'll be hoping for that victory champagne at the end of it as he heads in towards turn number 1. As he roars his way through with Chris Constable in the pit lane. He thinks he's got the job done for pole position in the Pro-Am class by 2.5 tenths over Simon Andre Livingstone. And well, any other drivers down there are not quite on the pace at the moment. Well, one big consideration is the fact that we do have Guy Kyleo currently P11 in the AM classes. Meanwhile, Edmondson gets it wrong. They're coming down through 3. The car simply understeering wide, and well, he takes it back to the pits, and that's his job done and dusted. He'll feel that he's done enough. He doesn't need to improve any further, and he won't have time to do so anymore. Meanwhile, here's Stefan Albanese making his way through the final couple. Of course, we are still in the Pro-Am and AM qualifying session. We should point out there, apologies for the notification, missed at the top of your screen in case there's a bit of confusion. And what he makes his way on through on now is going to be our pros and our elite drivers leaving the pit lane shortly. And well, we are now beginning that transition into the second half of qualifying. And well, with that, we are now going to see the fastest drivers out there set the best possible times. Will anybody else be able to improve? However, before that's all done, Simon Andre Livingston into the pit lane. He was improving the first half of lap, but the second half of lap has gone astray. And well, meanwhile, I don't think Albanese is improving, neither is Alan Lever. Well, he has improved in subsector 1. So maybe feeling as though there's a bit more improvement out there before all is said and done. And John Davies just in front there as they make the way on a throw. But can he find the lap time he needs here? Also got Robert Armstrong, who's improving slightly. In fact, he's making his way down the back straight. So we're going to keep rising them. And remember, they are allowed to finish the lap they've gone on to when the 15-minute timer struck. And Lever decided to park it up there. That's a surprise and not a welcome one to be certain. Meanwhile, Rob Armstrong made his way on around here, coming on through where it's turn 10B, and over the crest he goes, and downhill in towards turn number 12. It's a fast lap so far for the Mercedes driver. Can he go a bit further up the order from what is P11 in Pro-Am class? He crosses the timing line. He was 1.2 seconds down, and he does not improve in the end, and he will stay where he previously was in qualifying. Well, that is the Pro-Am and AM qualifying session complete, ladies and gentlemen. We are now into Pro and Elite qualifying. And well, Krista Housewife, one of the first drivers out there, it would seem, in terms of on our time statistics. In fact, he's going to be one of the last drivers out there. He's on an outlap, but in fact, he's well towards the very back of what is the qualifying field here, but buying himself some space. And we look forward to seeing how he gets on today. We do say hello in the Twitch chat there to Zeros, who says, "Sugar, I'm late." Well, to be fair, you may be slightly late to qualifying, but you're not late to the race, Zeros, and we can forgive you for that. We're very happy to have you with us. And well, as our drivers have made the way on around here with all that track temperature now started to boil up. And in fact, let's show you the weather on the right side of your screen. And there we can see that right now ambient still at 21 degrees centigrade, and track temperature did start off at 21 degrees centigrade at the beginning of this qualifying session, but it's gone up to 20 degrees centigrade. Some rubber has been laid down as well, and that is only going to help to really grip the circuit up and give our drivers plenty of opportunity now in the second half of this qualifying session to go for the ultimate laps. And well, as they make the way on through, we can confirm it's Chris Constable who's on pole for the Pro-Am class, Matt Edmondson who's on pole in the AM class, and we say hello to Medwell and Matt Edmondson in the YouTube chat. Has finally got a pole, and we're very pleased with that, no doubt about it. But now, who will be our overall pole sitter, our elite pole sitter, and also our pro pole sitters? We'll have to see. As we also say hello to Connor DM Craven there in the Twitch chat, who having a bit of a challenging qualifying session, but I get the feeling it's all going to be ready and set to go racing and look to pick up the places the hard way, as he does always do so. But as we do look to our first elite drivers coming on around, completing their first flying laps, it's an 18.277 from Jack Taylor, and well, Jacko, as he's known in amongst the team at TiKi Simsport, is looking for some high 17s today, and that's where we're expecting the pole time to be in the elite class and overall. What will be around a 17.9 or 17.8, depending on just what pace is out there. And well, as Taylor makes his way out of turn 5 in towards 6, meanwhile we do look to Ryan Davies. There's a little bit of oversteer there as he powers his way out of turn number 5. The car just snapping away from him, and it's so easy to have that happen coming out of what is the turn and 5 left-hander. The car just does not want to comply, and as he makes his way on through turn 6 into 7, he'll be hoping the car's a little bit more compliant the next time around, given the fact that he'll want to go faster and faster and raise the bar in what is the pro qualifying session. He is currently on 118.46 to the nearest 100. It's a good starting time there, and well, he'll be hoping he can go a bit faster as Krista Halsoy responds and puts himself only what is a 10th off, if that, into P5 overall. We're now starting to see how the overall field is going to emerge together, as we do say hello to James at Bostock there for GP2, or I believe it was Petek GP2, the full team name there, unless my memory is mistaken. He's in the YouTube chat. I'm very happy to see you there, James. Albeit we're missing seeing you on the grid today, and I hope you're doing well. And well, as the tries to make the way on through. Armstrong right now being pushed a little further down the order, but meanwhile Harold Jotautas now responds. We're at original pole lap, it's the 17.893, so it does seem as though Jotautas are now raising the bar even further. Those lap times are coming in very rapidly indeed in the Porsche 992, 911, and well, if Jotautas can set a 17.893 this early on in the session, what else we're going to see is Armstrong responds to 17.864. As I look out my commentary booth window, the Audi driver trying to stay one step ahead of what is the Porsche drivers out there, and as he makes his way up towards turn at number 6. Meanwhile, Casper Brotner, that's a name we haven't seen towards the top of the pro standings in qualifying for some time. The old duty cars black driver here in number 11, doing everything right so far. Krista Halso has gone purple in the pro class in subsector 1, but the remainder of his lap has not been improved so far. We are seeing him coming out the final quarter. As I look at my contact booth window, can he respond to Brotner's pole time so far? Halso is with the best part of 1.5 tenths off, and he's crossed the timeline. He does not improve. In fact, he's in a validated lap, so therefore 10 minutes to go. All the drivers right now still pushing on here and trying to find more time. I think he is forthcoming. As we say hello to Alistair Kirk in the YouTube chat, and we're doing fantastic here at Road Atlanta. Alistair, hope you're doing well as well. And well as we do look to what is none other than Khalid Ramadan, the Simsport driver here, and well, the Ferrari 296 driver roaring his way down the back straight, and we're coming into the King of turn lane. He's got the distant toe there of one of the Porsches. I think that's Cy Anthony just in front of him there, so trying to siphon the toe on the straight, so just give himself an extra mile an hour or two in towards the braking zone of the turn 10 chicane, and well, every mile an hour matters. It could be worth a tenth or two come the end of a lap, but this is not ideally a slipstream assisted lap unless you can pick it up in the second half of the lap. That's where you want it all. As he makes way through the final quarter, what's it going to be here for Khalid Ramadan? Well, Matt Hisley jumps ahead of him, and then Ramadan jumps up to what is their P7 in the pro class, and well, a good time to do so as well, moving to P15 overall, as now that the field started to form more and more, and well, we are seeing the intermingling with the top 5 so far. The overall field will be elite drivers as it currently stands, as we do look to those overall standings on the left hand side of your screen. The top 35 there being demonstrated, and Reece Saunders also starting to inch a bit closer, albeit on an out lap here for Altitude Esports as he makes his way down the back straight in the Porsche 992. But as he does so, Rose is wound down very shortly. We will be riding on board with other drivers for a flying lap here all at the Road Atlanta circuit to give you another one of those from our drivers in the faster classes, and perhaps we can see the differences between their lap and the one we did have earlier from Chris Constable, your prime pole sitter in the end. As our drivers made the way on through, we look back to Harold Jotautas there, currently trying to find a bit more pace versus Armstrong. The gap between the two only 300ths in terms of that pole time, both on outlaps right now. And with Jotautas making his way on through the right hander, and as he does so, goes on to another flying lap, albeit we're not going to jump on board for this one, because he'll be looking to get a bit more heat in the tyres. But as he does so, we look to Kev Eilert, who crosses the timeline there in the BMW M4 in the 111 machine. A very colourful livery there on the car, it must be said. And he stays at P31 overall at the moment, with P11 in the pro class as he makes way on through. And lovely coloration there of what is the wheel rims, all blue in commemoration of him being always a pro driver there, with the Pru windshield and door number cards. And I think a bit of blue on the livery as well, doesn't go astray. Makes way in towards turn number 5. You see the car there just joshing him from left into right as he winds his way on through the S, and that BMW definitely very pointy in terms of how he's got the car set up, and he'll be hoping he just find a bit more time to get himself into the hunt of the likes of John Eddowes, Matt Hisley and Casper Tunstead, the 3 next pro drivers up the road from P19 and P21 overall. But as we say hello to Kieran Lowe in the YouTube chat, wishing everybody the best of luck for today. I'm glad to see you tuning in, Kieran. Meanwhile, we do look to a driver who's getting ready to make his way on to another lap, and this is Jack Taylor as he heads over the rise and down in towards turn number 12, and as he does so, we jump aboard with the Porsche 992 driver for a flying lap of Road Atlanta. Making his way in towards turn number 1, and as he does so, using the escape road on the left hand side to open up the corner as much as possible. Fourth gear there, full commitment as he makes his way up the rise and over into turn number 2, onto the brakes as late as he dares to do so. Third gear, clattering over the apex curve, now mounts the curve at turn number 4 to over-rotate the car and build his way up into fourth gear. Through the S he goes, flat out through the S's so far, and now onto the brakes at turn number 5, down to third gear, double downshift as he makes his way through the left-hander, lets the car run out wide as he powers his way out towards turn 6, carrying every mile an hour he can. Now as he makes his way into the braking zone, braking at about 90 metres from corner apex, down to third gear, rolls the car through it, and to turn number 7, braking about 75 metres from corner apex, second gear, mounts the curb, back on the throttle as he drops off the curb, and powers his way down the back straight. A very aggressive lap here from Jack Taylor. but he's got to be aggressive. He hasn't got the straight line speed here in the Porsche compared to its rivals in this GT3 field. So therefore, as we can see, the car's now starting to hit that buffer where it does not want to gain too much speed anymore. Sixth gear heading upwards of 157 miles an hour as he goes onto the brakes at 150 metre mark into turn 10A. Through he goes into 10B, lets the car roll on through straight lines the apex and now over the rise and down in towards turn number 12. Fourth gear uses the entry curve there to open up the corner. It's a fast lap, it's an aggressive lap from Jack Taylor. But is it going to be good enough to move him up from P5? No, it's not. And well, that was a very fast lap, no doubt about it. But if that's not good enough to promote himself up the order, then what exactly is it? It looks like he was driving it onto the very limit. And meanwhile, one driver in the Porsche has found a way to break the limits. That is a 17.822 to take provisional overall pole for Harold Jotautas as he now makes his way on, I suspect, what is a cool-down lap here. He races the bar versus James Armstrong by almost half a tenth, but there's still more time out there as he makes his way on through. And as he does so, I think right now Jotautas will be hoping that that's going to be enough. If we know anything about James Armstrong, is that he likes to challenge and he likes to rise to one as soon as it does materialise. Well, as Jotautas makes his way in towards turn at number 6. Meanwhile, we do look to Alex Hill, who right now holding the provisional pole in the Pro class, and we're going quite strongly here in the past at Road Atlanta based on previous history. And the Audi R8 LMS Evo 2 driver right now, when it's 1.5 tenths faster than second place Pro driver P10 overall Casper Brotner, and well, Hill right now could be on to what would be his first pole position of the season in the Pro class, if my memory does serve me correctly. As he goes from left into right here, he'll be feeling as though things are definitely coming through for TiKi Simsport in the ever colourful livery as he makes his way over the crest and down. The sun right now just beaming its way on to what is the backside drives down that back straight, and not too strong as meanwhile Jack Taylor goes to P4 overall and in the lead class there on an 18.008. We've only got what is 3 drivers to set 17 so far, and that is Jotautas, Armstrong, it's in James Armstrong and Alex Millward. And well, the 3 there really pushing themselves clear of the rest of the field, and everybody else in the elite class and onwards trying to get closer towards those 17s. But Hill sitting on 18.22 to the nearest 100 for this time. And meanwhile from him, we do look to Daniel Page. And right now the old dudes in cars, black drivers struggling in this qualifying session down in P39. And well, things not coming together. 2.1 seconds off of the overall pole time, and what is the best part of 1.7 seconds off the Hills pole time in the Pro class. So I think Pace Hill will be hoping for what will be things to come through when we go racing. But meanwhile, James Armstrong makes his way through the final corner for Brabham Eastwatts. It's a very fast lap. He's improved in the first half, and he improves by what is 3 tenths on his previous best. And my goodness, that's a 17.636. And the Audi driver, well, Jotautas responded, and now Armstrong has responded, I think, in the process to drop the microphone and walked off stage, because that is an absolutely incredible lap. Now, can anybody respond to that? Well, Jack Taylor right now thinks he can, as he's improved in subsectors 1, 3 and 4, and that second half lap very quick, improves to P3 on a 17.926, so finally finds a 17 in fact in celebration, pulls the car off the road immediately and right towards the exit wall. That, I think, is going to be a toe to the bits of Jack Taylor. He doesn't think he needs to do any more, as they make the way on through here right now in the elite class, with Jotautas in the pits, Jack Taylor having toe to the bits, so he can't go out again. Millward's out of the car as well. I think Armstrong has literally left everybody there sitting in the dust. I think a provisional pole position may very shortly be confirmed as an overall pole position. Well, it's also going to be a time now that Jotautas has just left the pit lane to try and beat. And Jotautas makes me stumble over my own words. Meanwhile, Reece Saunders has just improved out, I do believe, but it's an invalid lap, so he's not going to move up from P8 overall anytime soon. He's going to have to do another lap. But meanwhile, in terms of drivers that are still out there trying to give it one last push, this is Krista Halsoy, and well, he right now P5 in the Pro class with outlaps to Hill, Brotner and Davies. They're all leaving it to the very last lap to try and improve. Joshua Pratt P4, he's in the pits. I don't think he's going to get another lap in unless they release the car very shortly. Nicholas Rice very late on the day, and so is Khalid Ramadan. They both jump into the top 5. Rice goes P2 in the Pro class, but Ramadan goes P5 on an 18.365 and 18.473 respectively. Well, pole position right now for Hill in the Pro class. It's 1.5 tenths clear of Rice, but then from Rice to what is Halsoy there, it's less than 2 tenths. My goodness, so essentially to get second place in the Pro class right now, you've only got to have a small improvement. You might leapfrog your way up there, and Rice and Brotner are separated by only 1,000 in what is the Hump for P10 overall as well, but you couldn't cut it finer between these two, and that Destino Motorsports livery right now, I mean, it's going to be cutting gazes and causing admiration as well. That's a new livery on the car as of this round, since what is our previous round at Sebring, and it's looking very sharp indeed. If looks can kill, as they say, but right now he'll be looking for killer pace out there as well as he makes his way down the back straight, and he does so, and we say hello to Simon Andre Livingston at 23 there in the YouTube chat, celebrating again a good qualifying lap down to take P2 in the Pro-Am class, always P16 overall. And speaking of a quick Pro-Am talk about this, well, if you look at the open standings once again on the left hand side of your screen, you'll notice that Chris Constable has taken P9 provisionally for the Pro-Am pole, and well, if that stands right now in terms of nobody's able to improve, Constable is going to have a huge portion of the field between himself and second place driver Livingston, and that could be a deciding factor in how the Pro-Am race proceeds today. But we'll have to wait to see. There's a lot of drivers making their way into the pits. Well, that's enough talking about Constable's achievements. Let's focus on the drivers who are out there right now as we do look back to the class standings once again. This is Eric Rosev, who's on his final flying lap. Weaving winding his way on down through the S's, and as he does so, we say hello to Motor Magpie in the Twitch chat. Thank you for the kind words there, Motor Magpie, as we do see Rosen winding his way out for Racing Lab Esports, the BMW, a car that he's been synonymous with all season long in terms of his career in the UKSimRacing GT3 League, running the door #1 in honour of the fact that he was the previous season 11 champion in the elite class, and was the clock strikes 30 minutes. Lap times coming in from drivers. Chris Housewaite just crossed the timeline. He jumps up to P4 in the pro class then. Housewaite leaving it late, but I think getting it done mind the looks of things. Meanwhile, we've also got other drivers coming across the lane, including Casper Tunstead and Ryan Davies. And well, speaking of Ryan Davies, he heads on down the hill here. He's improved in the middle portion of the lap. Can he improve to move further up the order? He's currently your pro championship leader. He goes P2 there. It's going to be a TiKi Simsport 1-2 in the pro class by looks things, as Casper Tunstead improves to P17 overall, and what is that? I do believe a P8 in the pro class. But meanwhile, Armstrong crossline, he does not improve any further. What about Eric Rosev? He comes across the timeline. No, he stays P5 in the end, over on the elite class. And with that, ladies and gents, we've got a couple more drivers to finish their final laps, including Joshua Pratt as he makes his way on down and over the rise of turn 11 in towards 12 he goes. And when he does so, runs wide there, and that'll be an invalidated lap. But I think already that might be a degree of frustration that has not come together in this qualifying session. Currently P2 in the Pro Championship, when at the end that's not going to be the start to the day that he's wanted. Meanwhile, Alex Hill out there improving even more. Is he going to be coming in? No, he stays out. Could Hill get himself into the top 5 overall? This could be a phenomenal lap to wrap up the round of qualifying. As he comes across the line, he's currently P7 overall. He does improve to an 18.167, but it's not enough to move further up the overall order. But still, he'll take that with pride, I suspect, as he parks the car up. Krista Halsoy else out there at the moment. I think this might be an in-lap for Halsoy, and as he makes his way over the rise, he does indeed come on in. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Kev Eilert also into the pits. That is qualifying complete, and well, goodness me, it's James Armstrong on overall and also elite pole position. Meanwhile, it is going to be Alex Hill, P7 overall, pro pole sitter. Your brand pole sitter will be Chris Constable, who will be starting at P10 on the grid, and then we'll see your AM pole sitter Matt Edmondson starting P24, 5 places clear of teammate James Conley. And well, qualifying has definitely been tough for many a driver, and we have seen some absolutely stand-up performances. I think one of the biggest ones have been Matt Edmondson. But without further ado, it's time to head to the grid, and this is how our drivers will line up for what is round number 5 of the UKSimRacing GT3 League Season 12. It is James Armstrong with an absolutely stellar pole position lap for Brabham Esports there, taking pole by 1.5 tenths over absolute motorsport ace lift Harold Jotautas, who starts P2. Jack Taylor starts P3 for TiKi Simsport ahead of Effect Simulations Alex Millward, and then we do have the pairing of Wes Eric Rosa for Racing Lab Esports and Track 6 Racing's Daniel Shilcock starting on your 3rd row. Row 4 goes to your pro pole sitter Alex Hill for TiKi Simsport Kimmy, ahead of Altitude Esports Reece Saunders, with then Ryan Davies starting P9 for TiKi Simsport Carl Marte, ahead of Destino Motorsports, the prime pole sitter of Chris Constable starts P10. Best there is P11 is Nicholas Rice for Destino Motorsports, ahead of Casper Brotner for Old Dudes in Cars Black, and then we do have on row what is number 7, Krista Halsoy for Track 6 Racing and Khalid Ramadan for Somsport. Joshua Pratt starts P15 there for TiKi Simsport Copper, ahead of Simon Andre Livingston, the Racing Lab Esports driver, who takes 2nd place in the Pro-Am class and starts P16. And then it's going to be Casper Tunstead at P17 there for TiKi, and he's going to have the company on the 9th row of the grid of Cy Anthony, who left it late in the day to get a good lap on the board, but finally found a way to do so. They're starting P18. John Edo starts P19 for TiKi Simsport on the 10th row of the grid. Completing at the top 20 is Chris Round for Leroy Jenkins, and then we'll have Satinder Deensa with a fine qualifying performance, P4 in the Pro-Am class, starting P21 overall, ahead of Marvin Cruz for Old Dudes in Cars Blue. Matt Hisley starts P23 for Sloshy Motorsports. Keep your eyes out for him, while the drivers of the day at Sebring for his battling shenanigans and fanaticism, if you will, but all absolutely fair and in the mindset of racing, if you will. And then Matt Edmondson at your AM pole sitter for UKSimRacing Stuart starts P24. We then have on what is our 13th ride of the grid, the pairing of Jeff Griffiths of Built Visible Racing and Alan Leather for UKSimRacing Stuart, ahead of Lawrence Marsh, the privateer, and Simon Oldfield for Team Vagersil. And then we do have completing your top 30, James Connolly, the second place AM driver for UKSimRacing Mansell, and Kev Eilert for Team TART Ortard. We then do have P31 Stefan Albanese for DRS Esport, ahead of Jack Barker, the AM third place sitter in the privateer for GT, P32. And then we have Shaminda Deanser just behind P33 for TiKi Simsport Tower, ahead of Rob Armstrong for UKSimRacing Mansell. And then we do have on row number 18 Connor Craven for Olympus Esports and Racing Lab Esports is Stein Alsani, and then followed up by the pair of what will be on row number 19 John Doe for TiKi Simsport Kimmy and Neil Smith for UKSimRacing Mansell. Chris Bain starts P39, the privateer of Daniel Pays for Old Dudes in Cars Black. And then we do have behind them John Davies for the Wrong Stuff, head of Neil Jack, the privateer, who starts P42. On row number 22 it'll be Joel Duton for the Wrong Stuff and Cy Hartley for TiKi Simsport Car Marte, with the final complete row of the grid going to Jonathan Teig for Team Teig and Guy Kyliau for the Wrong Stuff, P45, P46, and then Dave Robson, last but not least, P47 on the grid, brings up the rear of the field for TiKi Simsport Kimmy. Well, that's the field in full, ladies and gentlemen. 47 starters in this race today. A qualifying session that definitely saw plenty of brilliant performances from drivers. And, well, as our drivers get themselves set and ready to go, we are on the formation lap already, almost at the halfway point, as what is our front row makes its way through what is turns 6 and 7. And as they make the way through, James Armstrong and Harold Jotautas will be the two to battle their way into turns 1, 2, 3 and 4 in quick succession. But the question will be the absolute motorsport ace-lift driver who gets the drop on the Audi, or the Brabham Esports driver be able to hold on as he normally does on the start of these races when he starts on pole? He just finds a way to carve his way. And when we saw that at Sebring, Armstrong just able to manage the pace through the field, and well, can he do so again today? But as we look further down the order, with one of his best qualifying performances of the season, starting P14 today, Simon Andre Livingston for Racing Lab Esports. Can the Norwegian driver convert that into a pro and podium? It's been some time since we've seen him on the podium, and he knows that qualifying has been one of his biggest challenges. Was the Ferrari 296 driver makes his way up behind Khalid Ramadan and Chris de Halsoy, that we've been confident he can do so today. Well, as all drivers make the way on down, we do look to our pole sitter James Armstrong as he makes his way through turns 10A and 10B. The rolling start procedure comes to its closure, and he'll be the one to take to the green flag for 90 minutes of racing in round number 5. Lights out and away we go for the 5th round of the season as Armstrong leaves it late to go green, but as he roars his way up towards turn number 1. Meanwhile, Jotautas and Taylor already going side by side into the opening corner. Taylor looking for the move here, and Jotautas being caught out as they wind their way up through turn number 1. But as they do, meanwhile, Alex Hill and Ryan Davies here staying clear of one another, and right now the two teammates just working together in these opening stages in order to set the pace as all the drivers weave and wind their way into the essence of the first time asking. Matt Hisley already on the attack there as we see the Sloshy Motorsports Iron Danes machine making its way up behind what is their nervous Tinda Dinsa. But as all drivers made the way on through the S's, everybody safely through thus far. No mistakes or errors from everyone. Absolutely clean starts this race, no doubt about it. And as they roar the way down in towards the next braking zone with Simon Andre Livingston under pressure from Casper then John Eddowes as the two pros look to fight the way on pass. And as they come through turn 6 and 7, everybody line astern at the moment, it would seem. Or be a bit further down the order, Cy Hartley taking a bit of a sneak peek there up the inside of Jonathan Teig, but he can't find the move for TiKi Simsport Car Marte and having to wait his turn. But meanwhile, just in front of them, we can see almost 2 wide as meanwhile Teig getting it wrong, and in fact going very slowly. There's the Team Teig driver. I wonder if there's an issue with the car. Neil Jack's had to go off as a result here. I think being called out, but still something's happened there. We're not quite sure what the story, but Teig's had something go wrong in the car for the Irishman, and we're going slowly along the back straight for the time being. I'll try and get an update on that. But meanwhile, as they come towards the end of the first lap of racing, Armstrong already breaking away onto lap number 2, and the field is as follows. It's Armstrong ahead of Taylor, followed by Jotautas, then Millwood, then Rosef in P5, ahead of Reece Saunders and Daniel Shilcock, who complete your elite drivers inside the top 7. It's then your pro leader Alex Hill ahead of Ryan Davies and Nicholas Rice complete your top 10. Chris Constable losing 1 place at the start overall, but still your prime leader P11 for Destino Motorsports behind his teammate. And meanwhile, in terms of your AM leader, it's Matt Edmondson at P20 at the moment, as we have had quite a bit of drama towards the end of the lap, and well, that's included the instance of multiple drivers, including with Khalid Ramadan, also Simon Andre Livingston and Casper Turnstead, and we're going to try and get a story of what's happened to them very shortly. Also, police in the Deeds has been caught up in some sort of incident, and there's been a big altercation off camera. But meanwhile, as the battling goes on here, this is John Eddowes right now letting Joshua Pratt go, as they head down onto the brakes here, in towards what is turn number 6, and Pratt making his way on through, and the TiKi Simsport Tower driver here working with his fellow TiKi Simsport teammate in order to try and make sure the driver with the ultimate pace is able to push on whilst the other follow suit as they make the way down that back straight. As they power the way on through, it's a long journey, it's a long race ahead of them, and that means that for now, for our drivers, it's all about just pacing yourself little by little. As meanwhile, that's a car pointing the wrong way and a car pointing in, well, in fact, pointing the right way, but waiting. John Doble's gone around. I think there might have been a bit of contact with Neil Smith, and that's why Smith has waited for Doble to get himself up to speed. And meanwhile, behind Neil Jack missed the front bumper. He had it all go wrong at turn number 7 on the previous lap, and he's going to make his way on bars. We'll have to get a replay of what's happened there shortly, but as they power the way up towards what will be at turn number 10. Meanwhile, we look from there up to Cy Anthony, who right now 5 places gained since the race start, up to P13, and he's trying to charge his way through, trying to go hunting after what will be the top 7 drivers in the elite class. He makes his way down through the S's once again. As he does so, Krista Houseway then leading the pack behind there. Chris Round, Joshua Pratt and John Eddowes. I think Anthony's going to be very happy in order to be able to just simply get away. And as he makes his way through turn number 5 and well onwards, we do have the opportunity very shortly to take a look back at what's happened, but not before. A little bit of an error there from what was in the rear of the picture. Joshua Pratt going wide out of 5 and the car being kicked loose as a result. The oversteer there making it go towards the outside line on the run up towards turn number 6. And with the TiKi Simsport corporate driver having a bit of a near miss, and he wants to make that mistake again in a hurry, there's no doubt about it, as he powers his way onto the back straight. But as he does so, we power our way into a replay as to what happened a bit earlier on, and we believe this is the incident between Khalid Ramadan, Casper Turnstead and Stephen Andre Livingston. This was coming out of the final corner, side by side they went, and Ramadan dropping off the curb. Oh, goodness me, and it was a chain reaction there between the drivers as everyone came to see in the incident. Ramadan's car just rolling backwards across the circuit. The same for Turnstead as well. My good lord, and well, that was a nightmare incident, no doubt about it. We take a look from Casper Turnstead on board here. Now, Ramadan drops off the curb. Did he lose pace? Yes, he did, and Livingston to slam on the brakes, and Turnstead in the end, just being in the domino effect, they had no time to react, and were letting the car roll back. So I think if he'd held the brakes on, he would have ended up being stuck in the middle of the road or on the edge of the road. So I think having to lift off the brakes in reverse in order to get the car back off the circuit. But a nightmare moment for all 3 drivers there. And we'll take a look back at that from Simon Andre Livingston, who was right at the back of it, and that rub between what was the Simsport driver of Ramadan and also the Audi in front of the TiKi Simsport cars. That was in the end one of those racing incidents, and it just was a domino effect that could have been far worse. And goodness me, and Gregson High then giving also Jason High, I should say, giving his faults in the incident, and with all 3 drivers out of the count in terms of having to be towed to the pits, and we'll hopefully we'll see them back on circuit in due course, but it is going to put them at least a lap down as we return to the race in action. We've also had the incident for John Doble and Neil Smith, and well, that was on lap number 2, and here's a quick replay as to what exactly happened to them. This was coming into turn 6 and 7. We're looking at Neil Smith as the focus of this replay. Onto the brakes, and well, as he makes his way through the corner, small tap to the rear of Doble, sends them round, and then, well, Smith putting the brakes on there on the outside, but the racing line, and the driver coming up behind of Christopher Bates, or Chris Bates is known in short, coming into the back of Smith. So that's what happened between them, and well, a bit of a difficult one there. Smith doing the right thing, but I think on reflection here, also Pratt's think, did I need to park up and meet in the corner exit, but we're doing the right thing. I think Bates might have a word with him about that, but still, great sportsmanship being shown there from the Briton, and I think John Doe will be aware of that when he looks back on the incident. But as we look back to the live racing pictures there, ladies and gentlemen, all the drivers right now pushing onwards and upwards as they make their way in towards what is lap number 5. And well, when we've gone away from the live racing cameras in terms of the change of position quite recently, we have had a couple of drivers fall a bit further down the order, including Jack Barker, who has lost multiple places since we've looked back, albeit those are places primarily overall, though saying that he has lost P3 in the AM Class 2. That's what is actually the Deanser, who's made his way up into P3 of the AM Class quite recently, so we'll try and get a bit of an idea of the story of that very shortly. But meanwhile, as the drivers make their way on down the back straight, this is side by side between Casper Rotner and Chris Constable. Constable, the prime leader in the Audi there, looking on the inside, but decides against Casper Rotner as the old dudes in cars, black driver there holds on the Flying Dane right now, pushing onwards as he chases after Ryan Davies, who is not 1 second up the road, we should say 7 tenths up the road, as as they make their way on down through turn number 12. But as they make their way onward towards turn number 1, all of our drives right now, I think certainly in for the long journey here. And you may be wondering why we're seeing the pace of the racing drop away in terms of the amount of battling that we'd normally see early on, perhaps at Sebring last time out in the sprint race, where the battling really was from the opening minute all the way through to the end of 60 minutes racing. Well, the change here at Road Atlanta is what this circuit being so fast, and also it being a clockwise circuit, is a lot of load is placed on the left-hand side tyres, and particularly that load being through what's turn number 1 and also through turns 6 and 7. And I think our drivers will be expecting to have to change all 4 tyres at some point today, given it's a 90-minute endurance race, but they'll also want to try and get the tyres to last as long as possible in the opening stint at least, so that way they can perhaps offset that tyre change to what is the final pit stop or the second pit stop, and they'll have the freshest tyres for the final stint of the racing. On top of that as well, fuel saving is always a big factor, and if you can save some time in the pits by having to put less fuel in the car, it can be worth 3 to 4 seconds, particularly if you're in the toe of a car in front. So I think right now a lot of our drivers starting to turn the pace down, albeit I get the feeling that these 2 drivers may not be turning the pace down. We're looking back from the rear of Alex Miller from Effect Simulations, and he's got the pressure of Eric Roslev behind as they make their way on towards lap number 7. As they charge their way through with the right hand up, Roslev in the BMW M4. And knowing the straight line speed, he can do a lot of fuel saving on that back straight versus the Porsche in front of him. But the problem is, of course, in the fact that if he feels though Miller's not quite on the pace for the top 3, and Roslev does feel he is on the pace, then right now he's naturally losing race times to Jotautas, Taylor and Armstrong. Armstrong, we should point out, has already opened up a 3-second gap on Jacko Taylor, who haven't got the jump on Jotautas at the start of the race, and Jotautas only 4 attempts behind. So right now it does look as though it's a nice lane battle for P2 and then this battle for P4, as we're having a poor run for the S's there, and as a result now it's going to be Roslev who looks at the move on the run to the inside of turn number 6, side by side they go onto their brakes, and well, Milwood knows he can carry all the speed around the outside. It's a cambered corner, and Roslev in turn can't get the power down as much as he would like, and the Effect Simulations driver putting on the absolutely standard defense there in terms of knowing exactly where to put the car, not to do anything magical, just using the camber of the road to make sure he can carry more speed compared to his rival. And as they head down towards what will be turn number 10, charging away on through in towards the braking zone in due course, Roslev now has to make a decision that he use a little bit more fuel in order to make this move happen now. Well, indeed he does, going all in on the brakes, and we know that the Porsche's got the stronger brakes compared to the BMW, but Roslev says otherwise as they go side by side through turn 10B, and as they make their way over the rise, the drag race now into turn 12, side by side they get ready to go, and as they come on through, they're neither driver giving way right now, they give just enough space to each other as they still carry on. Miller gets the nose ahead now, a bit more speed in towards turn number 1, and with the rotation of Porsche, he'll be feeling as though he's got this done to defend, but as he goes slightly deep coming out the corner, Roslev is right there, brilliant racing between these 2, but I think right now they're just teeing themselves up for what's to come. As they wind their way through turn 3 and in towards 4 they go, and as they head in towards the S's, well, these 2 drivers definitely right now getting the measure of one another, and meanwhile Taylor versus Jotautas taking a similar complex, but at the same time well, 2 Porsches here battling, so it's going to be more about how they've set up the respective cars rather than the balance performance characteristics of the machines, and then of course it's going to be the strengths and weaknesses of the 2 drivers as they make their way in towards turn number 7. As they exit on out the corner, Armstrong setting the fastest lap of the race last time around an 18.12 to the nearest 100th, and absolutely flying away 4 seconds to the lead gap right now, and I think he might be giving it an absolute push here in order to try and open up an advantage. Meanwhile, speaking about further down the order, well, we do need to take a look at what's going on elsewhere, includes Tinder Dienster here, and well, he's also on the grid. We can't forget about him, the 2 Dienster brothers racing today, as the TiKi Simsport corporate driver makes his way on through at turn number 7, and as he does so in the number 10 machine, tucked in behind Stein Arsani with Jack Barker just behind, and well, they power their way onwards towards what will be turn 10A and 10B very shortly, but as they do, well, right now we are starting to see what is a bit of a plateau in here between the 2 BMWs of Sani and Dienster, and I think these 2 are trying to work together in order to be able to make some magic happen in terms of those pit stops. And at this point it's the old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and I get the feeling by the end of this race they'll no longer be friends, they'll be enemies in terms of battling for position, as they both chase after with P11 of the prime class and Rob Armstrong, who's P10 just up the road. As they head on to the next lap, meanwhile pass being made here from West Kevin Eilert. He's looking around the outside of Connor Craven. These 2 went side by side down to 10A, and as they do, a little bit of rub between the 2 of them, bending the TART machine of Eilert, and he heads in towards turn number 3. Coming on through and into the S's here, Craven getting back ahead, and the pro driver right now with Khalid Ramadan a lap down behind. Remembering of course Khalid Ramadan in that nasty instant coming on to lap number 2 with the rear of the car, in the end letting go after the tap from Simon Andre Livingston Company, and I don't think anyone's going to be getting the blame for that one. one. I think it'll be chalked up as a racing incident. What could have been an incident that collects more than 2-3 cars, as they make the way in towards turn number 6 right now. Islet looking around the outside again, but Craven not giving in here, trying to keep Islet between himself and Armstrong as they make the way out of turn number 7. And well, I can tell you one thing, Craven right now doing an absolutely stellar job of defending. I do wonder whether putting this much effort into the defence is actually cost him in terms of his ability to chase down Oldfield, but still, I think he sees there's a need to keep this pro driver behind him, but Islet coming on strong again now as they make the way for the kink of 9. Meanwhile, looking to make it free wide as Khalif Ramadan as he tries to take a peek, albeit a lap down. He's going to be careful of that, but Islet goes deep, and as a result takes the grass, and well, it's a successful defence from what is their Conor Craven from Armstrong comes on through just behind, and Steiner Sunny and Tinder Deeds are all sweeping the way on through as we get this lovely perspective of the speed they carry up towards another lap as they roar their way on towards lap number 10. Meanwhile, from them we look up to Ryan Davies here. I went on to P3 in the pro class right now, P10 overall, but he's got Casper Brotner closing, and well, the TiKi Simsport car Marte driver, he may not be quite on the pace of Hill or Rice in front, but I get the feeling right now he may also be doing some work to protect the tyres, and rumour has it from down in the paddock that the Porsche drivers in particular are very worried about the rear left tyre here today, in terms of the fact that after a few laps, let alone 90 minutes of racing, or in terms of how long they can get the tyre to last, that rear left tyre does have a tendency to overheat and be worn down very quickly, and if so, that could be where we're seeing some Porsche drivers having to back the cars off early on. As he makes his way on and down there, flashing his lights, he knows he's on camera at the request of team principal GZ High, as we see there in the Twitch chat, as they make their way on through 10A and 10B. Well, meanwhile, we look from where's Ryan Davies to Alan Lever, who's still making some progress, and right now chasing after Marvin Cruz, and they're fighting for P3 in the Prime class. And as we jump aboard here, the nose bumper camera of what is Alan Lever from UKSimRacing Stewart. Well, this Lamborghini giving chase, met Hisley just in front of the pair as they run after the P18 overall pro driver. We're heading on to another lap, and Cruz right now definitely seems to be starting to get into a bit of driving rhythm as they head up the hill and in towards turns 2 and 3. And this is one of the strongest performances we've seen qualifying wise from Marvin Cruz this season, and I think we could be looking at one of his strongest race performances here, as he definitely seems to be settling into Road Atlanta right now, and Lever just trying to stay out with him as they make their way through the Essex complex and in towards turn number 5. But notice the body language of the cars there. Lever a much more composed approach, albeit runs a bit wide out of turn 5, but the point being that Cruz really having to let the car settle down through the Essex. That Porsche not as hooked up on that rear end you'd expect, because it is rear engine rear wheel drive, the car's going to be more loose by default, perhaps having a bit too much fluidity on that rear end and a bit too much innate oversteer is just costing Cruz the ability to carry a bit of speed into turn 5 that he would like, and particularly with the time Hisley as well, that's going to be upsetting the aero balance of the Porsche, and it's already got a very sensitive aero balance given the fact the fuel tank at the front and then the large rear wing on the rear means that the car gets lighter on the front as you go racing. The aero balance gradually pitches more and more towards where it's the rear of the car, as they make their way down to the braking zone here for turn number 10. He's not having any concerns, it's all going to be about the brakes, but Lever right now is starting to see a way into this battle as they make their way over the rise of 11 and down into 12. As they roar the way on for the double right complex and on towards another lap. 15 minutes of this race complete. Still plenty more distance to go here. We've got a long journey ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen, and we're all set and ready for it right now as Lever chases after Cruz for P3 in the prime class. We do look to Jeff Griffiths here, who's trying to pick his way past Matt Edmondson, the AM leader. Jeff Griffiths, meanwhile, P5 in the prime class, looking to close up to the battle between Lever and Cruz. But the AM leader right now just proving a little bit obstinate here, but also James Conley just behind. I think right now Edmondson and Conley would love to make it a 1-2 for UKSimRacing Mansfield today. Given the fact that Shaminder Deans is a little bit further back and Jack Barker a bit further back even more so. Well, right now it does look as though the two Ferrari drivers in the AM class dominating the standings as they're heading in towards turn 6 and 7. Jeff Griffiths would like to get a bit clear of the pair and of course go hunting after his own peers, but that's of course the challenge when you have multiple driver classes, in the fact there's no points for battling with drivers of another class in this series, but you need to battle with them in order to make progress, or at least start to battle with them to get the message through to them, which is, look, just let me go and I'm not going to cost you any time and you don't cost me any time either. As they head in towards turn number 10, and we look to Alex Hill, and Hill right now being closed up by Rice as they head on through turn number 12 and on to another lap. This is the battle for the pro lead here, the battle for P8 overall as they head on to the anchors into turn 1, and the Hill, he makes around with the left-hander, V10 engine absolutely roaring with all his guttural strength. Well, heading on to the brakes here, and that naturally aspirated V10 versus the turbo influence flat 6 of the Ferrari. They make their way down the hill here, very closely running as what is their Rice. And in fact, Nicholas Rice does seem to set that Ferrari up to run into the 30 out of another car. He just looks so composed through the S's. Even though it would be at a similar turning point, he's not expected to be turn in much earlier. Bryson just able to stay glued to the back of the Englishman of Hill, and as they come out to 6 into 7, the one thing Hill does have going for him is he's got Reece Saunders only 6/10 up the road, and with Saunders giving a bit of a distance toe, that is going to help Hill feel safe. But as they make way into the back straight, we have had a change from P3 in with the prime class, and it's Alan Lever who's got ahead of Marvin Cruz. But how did that happen, I hear you ask? Well, here's a replay to explain. This was the run coming out of turn number 5, and Cruz running wide down. I think having to lift off the throttle through fears of the car, bounced off the exit curve, and perhaps having the rear end come loose, and Lever in the end going round the outside. I think Cruz wanted to fight it, but in the end just not having enough speed to battle it into turn 6, and then Lever there seizing an opportunity that he didn't need to be asked twice about in order to take it. Return to live at Race the Pitch as we look to Ryan Davies. It's still got Casper Rotner right behind the fight for P3 in the Pro Class. As Hill Price get closer, so do Davies and Rotner. So the top 3 spots in the Pro Class right now on a bit of a knife edge. And as daytime is gradually descending away here, could we be finishing the race today? And at night time, that will be a question as well, as the headlights are going on from our drivers. And it's not going to be quite the equivalent of the Petit Le Mans that's run here at the Road Atlanta circuit. But the one thing we can say is the fact that our drivers will feel as though it is going to be a lot more of a city when those lighting conditions change for the simple reason that racing at Road Atlanta in daylight is one thing, racing around here when there's very little natural light available and a lot of the circuit is unlit, well, that means a lot of your braking zones that suddenly come down to memory, in terms of muscle memory, rather than visual signals. As they head out to turn in number 7 and on to the back straight they go. Davies right now 4 tenths clear of Rotner, getting the better exit out of the right-hander, so I think he'll feel safe for the time being. As we do say hello to Ryan Walker in the YouTube chat, and also to Uja Pujara, who's cheering on Shaminder Deansa. And we'll speak to the man, and here he is, Shaminder Deansa, right now for TiKi Simsport, running in a very happy P3 in the AM class, P26 overall. A great start, so jump ahead of Jack Barker in the early stages, and right now looking to chase after what would be a podium finish. I do believe it would be his second only podium in the AM class. I believe he did pick up a podium, unless I'm mistaken, in what was season 11 of the GT3 League, but it's good to see the American driver enjoying the race in here, and he's following in the footsteps, so I believe his older brother, Tinder, in terms of bringing home potential podium opportunities side, but of course he won't take anything for granted, because we have got a long way to go to that checker flag, as he makes his way on for return in number 12, and onwards towards another lap he goes. Meanwhile, we do look a little bit further down the order to what is the Sinter, who right now has got Steiner Stanley just behind him, and as they head in towards turn at number 1, these two still fighting for his P11 in the prime class, with Rob Armstrong only 8 tenths up the road from the Mercedes AMG, and it's looking to be a bit of a challenging race for them today in terms of making progress. Albeit, of course, this could all be part of the strategy. They may be trying to run a bit of a slow opening stint to give themselves more longevity in the second and also the third stint. Perhaps remove the need to change certain tyres in the car. That's always a consideration, of course, in that the tyres can be changed in pairs. They don't have to change all 4 tyres at once, and also the fuel goes in at the same time as tyres can be changed on the car. So a lot more strategy in the race as of this season, and that could always be in the minds of our drivers. But right now, speaking of what's on the minds of some drivers, well, this is Joshua Pratt with Chris Round right behind the Leroy Jenkins Audi. Gets it very close down the break for the battle of the 2 Audis into the turn 10 chicane. I think right now around the might be trying to send some signals, which is, look, I'm faster than you, let me go. But as they head in towards another lap, no such thing at the moment, as meanwhile Casper Rotner making some progress here behind what is Ryan Davies, as we jump on board with the Porsche 992 driver, old dude to Carlos Black. Now this is for the fight for P10 overall and what is P3 in the Pro Class, as they make their way down through 4 and in towards the S as they go. We stay on board here with Rotner to see exactly where he might be gaining some time in the flow and the run and the rhythm of the S's, albeit they're going slightly deep on entry into turn number 5. That's going to cost him half a tenth as he heads on to this run towards turn number 6. As they head onto the brakes, they do of course have Chris Bates just in front of there in the RGB Racing and Priority Machine. As they head onto the brakes right now, a good run as we can see. Bates trying to park the car up there slightly off track in order to let his rivals go on through, albeit respecting blue flags as well, and sacrificing his lap time for the greater good, as they say. They pound the way down the back straight, not the best of runs of Rotner, but again, stay with 4 tenths every step of the way, and gradually siphoning the toe there. I would have to agree with that Sharples in the YouTube chat, saying that looking at good for Casper, and thinking Casper Rotner, indeed, definitely looking as though right now, he's gradually moving closer and closer here, and I think he's giving himself more strategic options by saving fuel behind Davies, and knowing that the battle between Bryce and Hill for first place is only 2 seconds up the road, and it's not really going anywhere else than staying within relative eyesight range as they make their way onto the next lap. And as they do so, the wind of these flat 6 machines are roaring their way in towards turn at number 1, and we can see Rotner getting the best run up the hill by comparison, and the The gap now down to it's 2 tenths into the braking zone for turn number 3, but this is where, of course, he hits the wall. There's no real way to get any closer at this point, because to do so would really see him understeer wide off the circuit. But the point being that Bronte is very happy in the front because the sparks fly there off the S's curves, and as they make their way out to turn number 5, well, right now Bronte just following in the footsteps of Davies and staying absolutely pinned to his 6. They head in towards turn at number 6, roaring the way through the double right. Meanwhile, we look back up to your elite class here, and well, things have not fallen silent inside the top 7, as we do see Jack Taylor and Harold Jotautas still separated by only 3 to 2 tenths, depending on where they are on the lap, as they make their way down into the turn 10 chicane. And we're going into left, into right. The key point being here is that after taking P2 off of Jotautas has glued himself to the back of Taylor, and I think trying to take the mindset of just saving every little bit of fuel he can will be the first pit stop. And normally, talking a bit about strategy in these endurance races, some drivers do opt to pit quite early on the opening stint if they're trying to essentially undercut the whole field by leapfrogging places. Others, meanwhile, will take what is a symmetric approach, which is pit every 30 minutes, and then there's those who decide to go a bit deeper into the opening stints of the race. There are 3 potential routes to strategy here, and I suspect we'll see our opening pit stops around the 25-minute mark. We haven't seen any strategic pit stops so far. We have seen pit stops for some drivers, but those have been due to major incidents at the start of the race, including what was for Neil, Jack and Casperton. Still our 2 retirees from racing so far today. 47 starters, 45 still remaining as they make the way through. Meanwhile, there has been a bit of drama here for Satinder Dinsa, who's pointing the wrong way and getting it pointed back the right way as he makes his way out to turn 10B. But that is going to be, I believe, Si Hartley going around the outside as he backs off there in the run in towards turn number 12. And also coming on through, Kev Eilert, who's a lap down and hugging the rear of Si Hartley as they go on to another lap. But what exactly happened to Satinder Dinsa is the question many of you will be asking. Well, here is the story. Going down to the braking zone for the turn 10 chicane, chasing after Rob Armstrong, thinks about going for the move here onto braking, looks up the inside and contact there, side-to-side contact, and what a tricky one there. I think Deans would argue that whilst he went for a bit of a lunge, he felt as though he got it stopped in time. Armstrong would argue, well, I didn't expect the car to come from that far back. I think that's going to be one that Shoulds may look at after the racing today, but you can appreciate the frustration right now for the number 10 BMW driver in the fact that he'll feel as though he had the right to be alongside there into the turn 10 chicane, and we'll see in that apex curve at turn at number 12, head on to not going to tell that right side suspension, now to get himself back in the hunt in due course. As he brings it back together, and as they make their way in towards what will be the turn 10 chicane in due course, we return to your live pictures. All the drivers right now pushing on as much as possible as we say hello to Andrew Skinner in the YouTube chat. I think I may have said hello to him earlier, but yes, a double hello if so. And we're going on down on Skinner's full set with regards to Satinder having to take avoiding action in the 3-car instant on what was lap number 2 as we saw, and as a result got a slowdown into turn at number 1 after taking that avoiding action, and that's why the pain to the iRacing automated stewarding system, if you will, well, not to critique it too much. They made the way on and through. One is at turn at number 12, and Satinder Dinsa definitely having a very challenging race so far. But meanwhile, speaking of challenges here, we do look back up to Marvin Cruz versus Jeff Griffiths in what is the fight for P4 in the prime class, and they made their way through turn 6 in towards 7 with 25 minutes of this race complete as of now. The point being here, as they make lines to the back straight, Cruz and Griffiths still nose to tail with Matt Edwardson and James Conley just behind. The 2 AM leaders sat in for the long haul here, and what I think is going to be Jeff Griffiths, who's just simply sipping some fuel from behind, and therefore just trying to give himself the opportunity to leapfrog Cruz on strategy. Van Lever now 1.5 seconds up the road, albeit saying that here comes Griffiths looking up the inside into turn 10, a bit too far back to try and go for him, but making his intentions very clear to Marvin Cruz. But I think also trying to get into the German driver's head, which is when is the next move going to happen. And well, with that in mind, I think Cruz at this point in time may now be more and more focused on the job at hand, but he's also got to balance the act, of which is keeping one eye in his rearview mirror to see if another move could be coming from Griffiths any time soon. Once they head up the hill, heading towards turn number 2, we do have into the pit lane Connor Craven as well as come up onto booth window, and I believe that may be the first strategic pit stop that is being made by a driver. Craven is the very first to make his way in, and going for the undercut, no question about it. Olympus esports driver, as meanwhile looking at a driver here right now finds himself a long way down the order, 3 places down compared to where he started after that contact with John Doble, who he's chasing after right now. It is none other than UKSimRacing Mansell's Neil Smith as he makes his way on to another lap, and as he does so through the right hand, you can see the race leaders overall of James Armstrong in the rear of the picture every so often as they make their way into turn number 1. And well, Smith right now will be hoping he can find a way past John Doble sooner rather than later. For the simple reason, I mean, he's got got a lot of pace at his fingertips, but right now that pace is being constrained to the car in front. Not a happy place to be, but certainly when you know there's a lot more places you could be grabbing. As he heads out of turn number 5, we switch back to James Armstrong here as the Rabbit Esports driver makes his way out of turn 5 and up towards turn 6 and 7. And as he does so in the number 47 right now, holding a gap of 7 seconds to Jack Taylor, who still does have Harold Jotautas right behind him in the fight for P2 over in the elite class. And it does seem as though right now Armstrong is continuing to run rampant at the front of the field and no signs of him slowing down. I think the only thing that's going to slow him down right now will be a mistake of his own doing. And Taylor and Jotautas are giving the two to one another in a cat and mouse game. The same for us at first and Millwood. I think given the proximity to those pit stops, we might be seeing more fuel saving going in here, a bit more lift and coasting, as per the comment from Brian Walker in the YouTube chat. And in doing so, we may see some changes of position after the first stop. And it's that second pit stop where the important track position is going to be, because it's a race all the way to the finish. Presuming our drivers are in two-stop strategy today, and we're not going to see a potential third stop materialise at some point. Meanwhile, we look to John Eddowes here as he battles side by side with Casper Rotten, and this is for his P5 in the Pro Class. They make their way down the back straight, and it's going to be BMW Power versus the Ford Power Plant as they head on down. Eddowes cuts to the outside. Meanwhile, you see that Rotten switches the inside, trying to go for the reverse manoeuvre there in terms of getting himself back to the inside on the quick cutback, but not to be. And Eddowes makes the move count and moves up into P5 in the Pro Class. He's been working towards that for some time versus Casper Rotten. I think right now Rotten won't be too upset about that for the simple reason he has kept the BMW at bay for the best part of what is the opening half an hour, and now he can sit behind the BMW and save some fuel, albeit mindful that Chris Round, the second place Prime driver, is right there behind and trying to latch himself onto the back of these two all the way to the pit stop in order to save further fuel. As they come through, meanwhile, we look to Jeff Gurris, who gets that brilliant run out of turn 1 and fight for P4 in the Prime class versus Marvin Cruz. Over the crest they go and down in towards turn number 4. And as they come through at left and into the right, and the S is here. Griffiths once again exceptionally close, but the problem is he just cannot find a way to overcome, we should say, those final 5 yards and make his way into position. And will Cruz right now not really losing any time to Alan Lever, so this is interesting, the fact that whilst these two are having little snipes of battles against one another, Lever's not really pulling away, and that could be more telling for later on in the race, as we see there Griffiths getting exceedingly close coming through turn number 7, and by being that close right now, he'll be comfortably in the toe, 2 attempts closing little by little, but it's going to also be a gauge of how much rear wings we run on each car, and Cruz is not losing as much time as we perhaps expected to in the toe, and that might be a sign that Cruz is running less rear wing on the car. But here comes Griffiths looking for the move once again onto the brakes. They go in towards turn number 10, and this time he's going all for it up the inside, and Cruz in the end not quite able to run it outside to inside, and Jeff Griffiths on what is the 5th time of trying finally finds a way into P4 in the Prime class here, and no time too soon for that one, and the simple fact that now Matt Edmondson is looking for the move on Marvin Cruz. The AM leader's got the pace here, he feels, I think, to try and make his way past Cruz, but then again the old duty car's blue drive may have an ace up his sleeve that we don't know about, and we do that in Marvin Cruz is a very strong driver on strategy. He's got a lot of pace at his fingertips. His pace has improved considerably since season 11, and that's not to besmirch him, but it's the point that he's bringing a better combination together now, which is pace and a lot of strategy in mind. And could Cruz find a way to outwit his peers around him and base on the strategy? We think that's something to keep an eye out on as they make their way up towards turn number 6. As they head into the second half now of this race, third down, still an hour to go. While we do look a little further down the order, and in particular we look to Joe Bouton right now chasing after Daniel Payes. 2 drivers who definitely had different styles of races today, with what is Daniel Payes gaining quite a few places in the Pro class and also overall, and the same for Bouton, both of them out of position from qualifying. And right now running P31, P32 respectively, with John Davies just behind there in the McLaren, the sole McLaren on this grid, P5 in the AM class, but it's all 3 drivers wind their way onto the back straight. Jack Barker just going through the camera there. Right now, I think trying to work their own mindset of what their strategies will be respectively. But from then, we look back to John Eddowes and Casper Rotten, and in the run down the back straight off camera, Casper Rotten has found his way back ahead of John Eddowes with TiKi Simsport Tower, and will run for Old Dudes and Cars Black, definitely showing that whilst Eddowes may have got ahead for a brief moment, it's only temporary, and it's not going to be a trend for the whole race, or at least that's the way he'll want to see it. And well, I think Eddowes will see it the other way as they make the way on into turn at number 5, and he will eventually want to get ahead and steer clear. Going from one TiKi Simsport driver to one who's leading the Pro class, and here is TiKi Simsport Kimmy's Alex Hill. and he does still hold a rather slender advantage over Nicholas Rice, P2 Pro driver, more than what is their 4 tenths, if that, as they power their way onto the back straight, and as they do, Ryan Davies and Cy Anthony and Krista Halsoy just behind. And a special mention here to Krista Halsoy, who in fact is continuing to make a lot of progress through this field. And Halsoy, having started P5 in the Pro class, now heading up towards the rear of Cy Anthony and Ryan Davies, and Cy Anthony on the inside of Davies into the turn 10 chicane. Side by side they'll go. This will cost them both a bit of time, and that's going to bring Halsoy into the mix. They make their way over the crest and down in towards turn number 12. Anthony around the outside, and Halsoy, I think, thinking about trying to make a move of his own here as they power their way in towards turn 1. Davies goes defensive immediately, trying to signal to Halsoy, look, this isn't going to happen. Halsoy stays very close in turn as they make their way towards turn number 1. Cy Anthony gets into P10. It's the first time we've seen him in the top 10 this season, and right now as they make the way over the crest and down to turn number 3, Ryan Davies' advantage over Krista Halsoy definitely scuppered. I think that might be a degree of frustration for the TiKi Simsport Car Marte driver, in the simple reason that with Anthony wanting to get on through, it's pushed him further back towards Halsoy. And we know the Trackton's racing driver, when he doesn't get done in qualifying, he gets done very well in the race. And right now the Norwegian driver on the offensive as we ride on board with him going in towards turn number 6. They made their way through the right hand, and more pit stops playing out. Stefan Albanese in from the Prime class. We also do have, I believe, Steinar Sani in from the Prime class as he makes his way to his pit garage. And as they power their way on down the back straight, Halsoy right now, not the best of runs out to turn number 7, but then again, he'll know there's plenty of time to work with him. He'll close up naturally on this back straight as they power their way in towards 6th gear. Both drivers here heading towards the upper limit of the revolutions per minute of the engine. Onto the brakes they go, and Cy Anthony gradually putting the way now. So in the end, the driver with the faster pace gradually has made his way to the front of this trio, but it has changed up the order of the trio. All the trio more naturally closer together towards the back end, and Halsoy right now going on to another lap here. We just be feeling as though he's just got to take his time with this in order to try and make some magic happen. As they're heading in towards turn number 1, and from them we look to Harold Jotautas, who finds himself now ahead of Rosev still, but Jack Taylor is in fact broken away. I think Jotautas has had a bit of a slow run out there at some point. In fact, there was an off track recently for Harold Jotautas, which explains why now he's lost Taylor and has fallen back into the clutches of both Rosev and also Millwood with the car, the eSports machine, of which Stefan Albanese a lap down after a pit stop, filtering in amongst the elite trio. But the question you may be asking is what exactly happens to the absolute motorsport ace-live driver Jotautas? Well, here is the explanation. We can see here in the replay coming down into the S's, chasing after what was Taylor, and in the end a car that was a lap down effectively. And I think Jotautas thinking he could go around the outside of it into the S's and then deciding against it and cutting the grass instead. Well, I believe that may have been Joel Duton there, and the AM driver just trying to stay out of the way. It's very difficult to respect the blue flags through the S's, and in fact there's only one real racing line through there, and in the end Jotautas being called out, it would seem, as we return to your live racing pictures. As he makes his way up the hill in towards turn number 1, we do say hello to Mary Afternoon, John Eddowes. Best wishes from Switzerland, Mary says. And well, here is the driver in question, TiKi Simsport Eddowes, as he makes his way on down for return at number 12. They're chasing after Casper Brotner, but Brotner is starting to break away here, and I wonder if Eddowes has decided to change tact, knowing that the back and forth between himself and Brotner is only costing the pair of them time. And well, going off the road there is Steinar Sani, a lap down in the Prime class after taking his pit stop. Eddowes returns, Sani returns there on the inside of what was the road going in towards turn number, the outside the road. Let's get our logistics in the correct order. Going in towards turn number 3, and in the end they do survive, but Eddowes having to be a bit extra cautious, and that will cost him a bit of extra time as a result, and Sani will have lost a lot of time with that error coming out of turn 1 and the rejoin at turn number 3 eventually. But as he makes his way in towards turn number 6, well, the battle's right now taking a different twist, of course, with more pit stops starting to play into the mix, and therefore a number of drivers, I think, thinking more and more in terms of what they need to do now in order to either come into the pits at the right time, alternatively, if they've already made pit stops, start to cycle their way through the order, and it may even affect the elite leaders in the fact they're going to have more and more traffic to contend with, as Matt Edmondson having to make his way on past there was Marvin Cruz, albeit not a lap down Cruz, but a slow run through turn 6 and turn Edmondson and making the move happen. James Connie right behind in the second place AM driver, and meanwhile as they pound the wound down, well, it's going to be Cruz versus Griffiths part 2 as they head down towards the braking zone here for the turn 10 chicane, and it's going to be Griffiths looking on the outside. You can see Connie taking a look there versus Edmondson under braking, but Edmondson there not having to worry too much, and meanwhile Griffiths goes inside to outside. It's a lovely move from P4 in the Brown class from Jeff Griffiths, and as they come over the crest, will anyone come into the pits? Well, Cruz does, new on Khalid Ramadan stays out there, and Griffiths right now glued to the back of James Conley, and Will Conley's been looking for an opportunity versus teammate Edmondson, but right now I think that opportunity is going to go away, and instead it's Jeff Griffiths who's going to make it go astray as he tries to make his way into P19 overall. But over the rise and down into turns 3 and 4 they drop, and as they do, the Built Visible Racing driver just biding his time and playing it smart, playing it sensible, and knowing he doesn't need to affect this too quickly given the relative pace. But he also needs to keep in mind, of course, that when he starts batting with the 2 AM drivers in front, it's going to cost him a lot of time, and all that time is going to be versus Marvin Cruz in the long haul. And also I do believe Stefan Albanese, who's already taken a pit stop as well in said class. But as they make their way from turn 6 into 7, and meanwhile we do look to Reece Saunders, who's right now making his way on past Guy Kylie. In fact, we should correct ourselves earlier. It was Guy Kylie in the brief altercation with Harold Jotautas, and meanwhile it is going to be Nicholas Rice, and Nicholas Rice in fact has just found his way into lead of the pro class there, and I think capitalising on Hill being out of position behind Kylie, and when the Destino Motorsports driver leads the pro class for the first time today. But how exactly did he make the magic happen for the move? Well, here is the replay to explain the story. This was under braking in towards the turn 10 chicane. Now Hill here coming out to 10A to 10B, finds himself on the outside perch versus Kylie and Rice. Contact there between the American and the Briton, and as they made the way over the rise, we're going to need to take a further look back at that in terms of what exactly happened between them. But it looks though there might have been a bit of power oversteer from Rice. So here we are on board with the 32 driver. And through the corner, sees the inside, and I think he expected what was Hill to be going even slower compared to what he was at 10B, and in the end, well, there's a bit of rubbing between the two of them, but I think Rice would argue the door was there to go for him. I think Hill will be a bit frustrated that he may, hence mine, been made to be used as a bit of a cushion to enable Rice to make that move happen. So a little bit of a challenging one there, but Rice has made the move happen, and as they make the way onwards towards what is turn number 10, we'll heading towards the braking zone. Feel free to give your thoughts in the respective chats on that one, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, keep it civil as always, and remember, he'll go to the shoots if it is reported after the racing. But Rice right now leading that pro class, and Hill with that contact down in P2 in the class, P9 overall, and with a 1.5 second gap, Rice makes his way into the pits here. Does Hill stay out? He does indeed, and Alex Hill goes out there for another lap, and I think he'll be feeling as though the strategy might be coming his way. Perhaps he's been able to make that fuel tank last a little bit longer, and therefore opting to just hold track position right now, knowing that he has got a strategic advantage. With Ryan Davies just behind, and Davies giving his teammate a bit of company now after falling out of contention for that top 2 battle early on. Meanwhile, it is pit stop season. We've got the best part of what is a third of the field in the pits as it currently stands, all making their initial pit stops, and if we're going to see some drivers potentially lead the way up through the field, including what is Simon Oldfield, as the team badger still trying yet to pit in the number 2 Porsche. As he heads up the hill, he'll be going up to P9 overall. He'll be very pleased with this so far, in the fact that he is gaining some time on track. The only thing, of course, will be that he's going to have to lose it eventually by making a pit stop. But I think his game plan will be to go as long as he possibly can, and then only come in when he needs to, in order to avoid with potential contention. Always have to deal with back markers, alternative drivers who are on the lead lap who have yet to pit. And well, speaking of those lead lap drivers, into the pits comes James Armstrong, so does Harold Jotautas, and also Alex Mill, the Effect Simulations driver, coming on in. And as they do, where is Jack Taylor, who's already pitted? Where is Eric Rosev and Daniel Shilcock? They all came in on the previous lap. Well, here is Jack Taylor with Rosev and Shilcock behind in the picture as they made the way down the back straight. And speaking of Daniel Shilcock here, the Track 6 Racing driver in the number 27, he is starting to come on in terms of pace. That pace is being found now in the second stint as he hunts after Rosev. And you'll be hoping it continues to come on more and more as we head towards the halfway point of this race. 40 minutes complete. We still have, where's the best part of another 50 minutes to go. But as he goes left into right here, Shilcock will know that this is still a very long race in the making. I think the majority of our drivers may have changed 1 or 2 tyres in at the first pit stop and put plenty of fuel in the car. But as they come on through the right-hander turn at number 12, well, Armstrong has already left the pits. Meanwhile, Jack Taylor comes on around through the opening corner, past Rosev, past Willis Jotautas, and speaking of Harold Jotautas, here he comes, and Eric Rosev has dropped in front of him. So Eric Rosev right now up in the P3, and Jotautas with what was a slightly longer stop by the best part of half a second, and a pit time of what was 7/10 longer in total. Harold Jotautas has lost P3 to Eric Rosev, and Daniel Shilcock is right there to attack him. But as they make the way out of turn number 5, the endurance lights have gone inside the car. The purple aura you're seeing inside the core there. It's not filtered on your TV screen, I can promise you. And as the Track 6 racer right here, Shilcock looks to get closer and closer. He knows he's got to make a move. A small tap to the rear there of Jotautas' car, and Shilcock there trying to eagerly make an attack. We're getting too close for comfort as they make the way onto the back straight. And right now I think the Britain will feel a degree of frustration versus the Lithuanian in 90. He hasn't been able to pull off the strategic leapfrog he would have liked with the undercut, and instead now he's got to wait and make the move that happened on circuit. And by the end of this lap, Jotautas' tyres should be back up to temperature if he's kept the same setup from before. As they head in towards turns 10A and 10B in as the infamous chicane, and up the rise they go. With Shilcock right now regrouping, he'll get ready to attack again. As they come down through the right-hander, a bit of information coming in from Wes Oldjuting cars, the team management of Wes Darren Sharples today, or Dad Sharples as he's known in the YouTube chat, to advise that Casper Turnstead has been caught speeding in the pit lane, and well, if so, that is a disaster. I think that's Casper Brotner, my apologies, not Casper Turnstead for TiKi Simracing, and Casper Brotner with Wes speeding in the pit lane will be falling down the order. As meanwhile, we've got a major instant for Alex Hill, and he's coming into the pits. That's a front bumper missing from the TiKi Simsport Kimi machine, and well, that's a disaster. Hill was leading in the pro class, and what exactly has happened to Alex Hill is the big question. Was he makes his way down pit road? Here is the answer. Making his way on through the S's, through turn number 5, bounce off the curb at the rear of the car, lets go the infamous turn 5 curve, and well, they're censored by the Motul barrier and some trees. Alex Hill in to the barrier, and well, as he comes back on through, he's very quickly rotated in the right direction, but the TiKi Simsport Kimi driver there being caught out by turn 5, and as he's made his way into the pits, that'll be a fast repair. But now can they find a way to make him take his second stop sooner, and therefore make his way back in, or will this mean he's going to have to take an extra pit stop today, and it becomes a free-stop race for the TiKi Simsport Kimi pro pole sitter? Or if so, that is going to hurt massively, and that means that after your first round of pit stops in the pro class, Krista Halsoy is currently leading the pro class of Track 6 racing, albeit his pit stop was 8 seconds shorter compared to Nicholas Rice's, so I get the feeling there might have been a difference of a tyre change between himself and Rice. But Halsoy right now, you can't deny the fact that he finds himself up front, and I wonder whether he's believing right now this could be an opportunity, if not just a podium, it could be his first win of the season today. We was pushing hard at Sebring last time out, having made his way from P13 to P6. It was a challenging race for overtakes, but the Track 6 racing driver right now absolutely giving it all. But as they make the way on through, we do see a message there from Connor Craven, who informs us in the YouTube chat the Olympus esports machine he was piloting has had to retire, unfortunately, underfueled in the first stint, which put him into elite traffic, and then binned the car twice trying to overdrive. But he's wishing everybody else a good race. And sorry to hear that, Connor, and what we hope to see on the grid in a week's time, but definitely not the way you wanted it to go today. As we see sparks flying from the rear there, the DRS eSport car, Stefan Albanese battling side by side, round and Lever into turns 2 and 3. Lever goes for the move. You don't normally do that on the inside into turn 3, but Lever says, yes, I do. And in the number 6, the 657 car, making his way past DRS eSport, Stefan Albanese for P3 in the prime class. And this trio of drivers right now, with what is Chris Round just up in front, and behind us, Khalif Ramadan is trying to unlap himself. It could not be tighter, keeping in mind that you've got Marvin Cruz only 2 seconds behind, Jeff Griffiths following, and it is absolute pandemonium to try and be on that final step of the prime podium as they make the way out to turn number 7 and power their way on down the back straight. The Lever right now be hoping that the V10 engine of what is that Lamborghini, the Audi power plant, can just keep him safe and force Albanese to have to worry about Ramadan instead, as Ramadan stays ever close and is still looking for the opportunity to try and subvert the blue flags that will be waved to his car. But as they make the way in towards turn at number 10, Ramadan looking up the inside of Albanese, trying to unlap himself here, and I think he's going to do so successfully, and now go hunting after what is that Lever, and Albanese will tuck in behind Ramadan and hope that the Simsport driver can do the exact same to Lever in terms of make a move like that happen, and therefore cost Lever as much time as it's cost Albanese theoretically, as the Italian makes his way in towards turn number 1. He heads into the second half of this race, knowing that a potential podium could be on the cards today. He heads up the rise and in towards where it's turns 2 and 3, will make his way on through right now. And meanwhile, further behind, we see Jeff Griffiths still chasing after Marvin Cruz as they weave their way into the S's here, and these two exactly as they were prior to the pit stop, which is separated by 3 to 4 tenths on average. No change between them at all. And right now, I think Jeff Griffiths is going to try and find some more magic on circuit in order to make this happen, because it's clearly not coming in the pit lane, and nor is it going to come immediately on pit lane exit. But the only way he can try and do it is trying to get Marvin Cruz to make an error, and well, Cruz not making any errors so far and looking absolutely bulletproof in terms of his driving approach. as they head on towards turn number 10 in due course. It's only appropriate at this point to give you a recap of the field as it currently stands, and well, let's take you through that top 10 and also where your class leaders are. So it's James Armstrong after one pit stop and what is the best part of 35 laps of racing coming into this lap, who leads Eliton overall by 9.5 seconds over Jack Taylor. Taylor in P2 finds himself being hotly pursued right now by the likes of Harold Jotautas and Daniel Shilcock, who all stand separated by a second to a second and a half, with Daniel Shilcock chasing after Harold Jotautas in his P5 position with TiKi Simsport. And then we do have a further 3 seconds behind Alex Millward for Effect Simulations, who in fact has dropped down to P6. He was running at the time inside the top 5, in fact battling towards P3 in the elite class and overall, but a longer pit stop for Alex Millward would suggest that perhaps an extra tyre has been changed, or certainly some extra fuel has gone into the car, and the Effect Simulations driver right now holds on to P6 by 10 seconds over Reece Saunders, the Altitude Esports driver, who we see here right now running in a bit of a lonely P7 over in the elite class. He has got the company of what is Krista Halside 2 seconds behind, but the Altitude Esports driver here carrying on ahead of the pro leader, who we see following them through here in the Track 6 race of Porsche 902. As he makes his way on to next lap. Now keep in mind, Krista Halside did have a shorter pit stop compared to Nicholas Rice, who was the pro class leader before the pit stops, and while Halside right now holds the track position for the lead of the pro class, P8 overall with it, and therefore with a 7-second gap, he'll be hoping he can extend that even further over the Destino Motorsports Ferrari, who we see here in number 32, who's found his way into lead, not without a bit of elbows out racing versus Alex Hill, but as Nicholas Rice makes his way on down through turn 4 and in towards the S's right now, he'll be feeling as though he's just got to let the strategy come his way. And then behind him, fellow Destino Motorsports driver and your prime leader, P10 overall, there is Chris Constable in the 61, who really is in a class of his own right now in the prime class, with second place driver Chris Brown being P14 overall. But coming on to best rest over at Cy Anthony in the tribute livery car today, racing of course in honour of his cousin who recently passed away, and his cousin being James Skinny Killer, as the Simpson Esports driver makes his way on down the back straight, all in the carbon black livery machine. For the Welshman right now with a little bit of company of Ryan Davies just behind. Then you do have John Eddowes, Chris Rowland and Leather, who complete the top 15 overall. Meanwhile, in terms of your AM class leader, here he is in P19 overall. It is Matt Edmonds of the UKSimRacing Steward, who right now ahead of what is James Connolly, the UKSimRacing Mansfield driver just behind, and these two are running nose to tail for the best part of what is the last 45 minutes of racing, and we've still got plenty more racing to come between them, but it's a long road ahead, and right now there seems to be no difference between them, that Edmondson is holding that track position after taking a pole position in the AM class, and will they complete the top 20, as meanwhile after an instant for both of these drivers, Alex Hill was leading and battling for the lead of the pro class until after that side contact with what was Nicholas Rice, albeit that wasn't what put him all the way down here. There was an instant coming out of turn number 5, which saw the rear of Alex Hill's Audi let go, and meanwhile Ben Hesley involved in a separate instant early on in the race, dropped the Turkish driver all the way down the order, and right now trying to battle his way back into the top 5 of the pro class. And right now the sloshy Motorsports Lamborghini Huracan definitely on the attack as we ride on board inside the number 14. As he makes his way down into the S's here, you see really open up the corners there as much as humanly possible, and Hesley's been very confident in the car as nighttime gradually settles in here in the US state of Georgia at the Road Atlanta circuit. And I do wonder just whether we are going to get to full nighttime before the end of this race, because if we do so, it's going to be you're going to see the cars in full splendorous colour with the headlights, but also on top of that for our drivers, and it's going to make this race incredibly difficult when it comes to brake markers, given the fact that brake markers are very tenuous at least here at Road Atlanta, but they're going to disappear into the distance when only the headlights are your natural lights available, not natural, it's artificial lights if you will, as they make their way on down the back straight, which what comes naturally to the drivers. They'll need to use those headlights and also muscle memory in order to be able to nail the laps, and they've been doing so in daylight. They head on through left into right here, going on through the turn 10 chicane. Well, Hesley still staying close, but not able to find a way through, battling with the fellow Audi of Alex Hill, both powered by the same engine, of course, Lamborghini and the Audi, both the V10 Audi power plant. Meanwhile, just a bit further up the road, Marvin Cruz still being closely chased by Jeff Griffiths. In fact, Griffiths are only a 10th there as they come out of turn 1 and up into turn number 2. As they come over the rise, well, Griffiths having a good run, but not able to capitalise on it. But meanwhile, we've had a big instant for Jack Barker off camera, and that's dropped him all the way down the order. In fact, outside the top 7 of the AM class, he's down to P9 the AM class, and well, that's promoted John Davies into P4. What exactly happens to the Ford GT driver? We have a replay to explain. This as they made the way into turn number 5, and Barker comes out the corner, and in a similar fashion to what happened to Alex Hill, the car going around there, and well, the 163 driver in the end making contact with the tyre barrier and having to spend the best part of almost 40 seconds just getting the car turned around, and that cost him an absolute plethora of places. Very easy error to make, but sitting in the mid-engine rear-wheel drive machine. And as we return to your live racing pictures, speaking of that AM class, things are now starting to get a little bit tasty further down the order, in the fact the battle for being in P5 between Cy Hartley, Neil Smith and John Doe is on your screen right now. Cy Hartley just coming for your camera, then Smith. It's the battle of the 3 BMWs, and with John Doe at the back of it, the Canadian driver TiKi Simsport Kimmy, he'll be looking to try and find a way past Neil Smith, with Cy Hartley, the fellow TiKi Simsport driver, trying to finish off the sandwich and make sure that Smith cannot make any further progress. As they head in towards the braking zone for turn at number 7, we must look to Hill versus Hisley, as Hisley on the inside of Hill in towards turn 1. That's a potential P5 in the pro class. Can't quite find it, but Hisley right now is definitely chomping at the bit here to try and make moves happen. And whilst these two are battling, we've also got the battle unfolding between Eric Ferozov and Harold Jotautas as we look up to the elite class drivers. In fact, they've been going side by side into turn 10 chicane, and we catch them now as they go side by side into turn 12. Ferozov holding on as they make their way in towards turn number 1. Ferozov right now keeping Jotautas at bay just enough, albeit plenty of challenge in front, and then Ferozov's got nowhere to go. He's got 2 cars in front, that's tying him into Dienzer. Dienzer does back off, Tyke backs off on the outside into turn number 3, and as they come on down, well, Tyke couldn't have picked a better time to intervene, because that means Ferozov right now will be getting plenty of time. You can see Jotautas coming on through, he won't be kept at bay, and it's going to be side by side for Shilkov versus Tyke. There's even more door rubbing, and as they come on through, well, Tyke in the end, he'll be absolutely fuming at the fact where could he put the car, but Shilkov at the same time won't be thinking about that. He'll be thinking about the fact there's blue flags, you need to step aside. You see flashing lights there from what is Satinder Dienzer. I think they're trying to flash lights as it's starting off Sally to get into the driver's head, as there's contact between, what was that, I believe, Satinder Dienzer, and I'm not quite sure who that is immediately behind. I think that might have been Daniel Pace, in fact, and indeed it was, I believe, old Duty Cars Black. We'll have to verify that shortly, but that's gone very, very wrong in a very short space of time. And whilst all this has been playing out, we've had the ongoing battle between Marvin Cruz and Jeff Griffiths, which we'll take a look back at shortly. And in fact, we can catch that here now as they make the way down into the S's, but the point being, it's absolute pandemonium in the S's this time around. We'll take a look back at exactly what happened very shortly for you, ladies and gentlemen. But as Marvin Cruz makes his way out right now, he's still got Griffiths holding on by 4 tenths. It looks like Jeff Griffiths, as much as he huffs and puffs, he's not able to break down that gap, or that barrier, if you will, of 2 tenths currently, as they head in towards turn number 7 for what for them is the 40th time of asking. And as they make the way on through, we take a look back at the battle between Jotautas and Ferozov, which ended up with a bit of misery for Jonathan Tyke. They made the way down the back straight. It was a drag race then. You can see just in front, that was Satinder Dienzer, and both drivers here trying to get the toe off of the BMW driver. Jotautas having the toe initially, but then Dienzer pulling to the middle of the road to pull into the race line through the king of turn number 9, and this is where they went side by side, Jotautas and Ferozov, into the braking zone. Jotautas on the inside initially, under braking, however, Ferozov being able to go outside to inside, brilliant defense being set up, and then Daniel Shilkov close behind, and this is where we're going to ride on board with the Track 6 racing drivers. You're going to see Jotautas slightly on the right of your picture, he'll reappear into your picture suddenly through turn 12. Shilkov not able to make the move, but this is where now things get very close, because you'll notice that in front there's Satinder Dienzer off in the distance, and suddenly there's Jonathan Tyke as well, and as they make the way out the hill, Rose having to pick his way between the two, having to go for the Moses manoeuvre here in order to get things done, but with Satinder Dienzer backing up, Tyke can't really back off at this point. He's now into the S's, it's only one line through here. He tries to expect the blue flag, Shilkov flashing his lights, and as they go side by side through, well, a little bit of a door run between the two, further contact between them here as they made the way on through, and in the end Tyke being sent over the apex curve of turn number 5, Shilkov surviving it. I think a bit of frustration there boiling over, and as a result that may have just upset the race for them. And then what happened to Satinder Dienzer after all of that is the big question. Well, this was coming into the corner and under braking, well, there was contact between Dienzer and we're not quite sure the car behind. Well, we can, in fact that was Daniel Pace, we can confirm, and well, that's what led to Satinder Dienzer finding the barrier there at turn 6 into 7. As we return to your racing, ladies and gentlemen, back to your live pictures, and the question of is the pit window coming open once again? Well, we have got a couple of drivers in the pits, including Chris Bates and Kev Eilert for another pit stop. Jonathan Tyke is in as well, but I believe that will be for the damage picked up after the instant coming through turn at number 5. So therefore, if we are going to see any more pit stops, going to be early gambles. And speaking of one, Met Hisley decides to come in, and this is going to be a pit stop, so keep an eye on, because the Sochi Motorsports driver will be feeling as though this is what's going to be needed to try and leapfrog Alex Hill in that battle for P5 in the pro class as he makes his way to his pit garage. Meanwhile, we do look back to Marvin Cruz still fighting with what is Jeff Griffiths behind, but Stefan Albanese is now being pulled into this fight as they make their way through the S's and into turn 5, and as they do, it's the calm before the storm and the perfect time for us to have a quick sip of water. As they make their way in towards turn number 6. These drivers right now running it nose to tail, and Alan Lever as well. In fact, Lever has really fallen off the pace in the last couple of laps, and that's a surprise and not a welcome one to be sure if you're a UKSimRacing Stewart fan, in the fact as the team named after Jackie Stewart sees their driver roar his way down the back straight. He has fallen back into the clutches of this battle. They'll be hoping that Cruz, Albanese and Griffiths can just take time out of one another as they head in towards the braking zone for turn number 10, and we'll a little bit of a moment there for a driver to disappear and rematerialise from the ether for Albanese and Cruz. I think they'll survive it as they make their way through the chicane. But the point being here in the fact you now have effectively what is a four-way fight for P3 in the prime class, the final spot on the prime podium, and it's going to be Lever who holds on for now as we see Chris Bates stepping aside there due to blue flags on the start from the straight. I think the pressure is building between the drivers as they make their way up the hill through turn number 1. Jeff Griffiths staying close behind him and Bill is racing, and well, Griffiths has now got to make a decision. Does he stay in this fight or does he potentially gamble on a pit stop? And well, I wouldn't be surprised down in the garage of the 86 driver if they're thinking about calling in for a pit stop soon, for the simple reason he's got nothing to lose here. He's stuck in a three-way fight, in fact a four-way fight, but really he doesn't want to be in this fight. He wants to get ahead of it, and here is Cruz versus Albanese as they head into turn 6. As they go side by side into the corner, well, Albanese stays high on the outside line, they're carrying the speed, but Cruz has all the momentum making his way through the right-hander at turn 7, and he's going to get it done for Old Crimson Cars Blue. And as they make their way down the back straight, it buys Lever a huge amount of time. Lever's now second clear. Cruz has now got the potential counter-attack coming from Albanese. Griffiths is still there. Behind, we've got Edmondson and Hill fighting side by side, and further side by side going on between two drivers who I think are a lap down trying to pass one another. But you can see there how right now Albanese trying to come back. Cruz going defensive, and this is only going to buy Lever more and more time to creep away with the result as they head in towards turn number 11. But will any of them pull into the pits? No, they all stay out there, including Griffiths, and surely Griffiths has got to be thinking about a pit stop soon, because this is losing him time, and then he's going to find himself right in an elbows out battle with Albanese into turn 1. Well, Albanese in there lets it go, trying to get the cutback run up through 1, but Griffiths sees it coming and just parks it on Apex and says, no you don't, I've seen that one in the Road Atlanta textbook, and I know exactly how to deal with it, as they make their way through into the S's. Brilliant racing between these three, but with Alan Lever now starting to pull away again, it may have just cost them some significant time as they head up towards turn number 5. But through the left-hander they go and onwards towards turn number 6, and as they do, well, meanwhile John Edo is under a bit of pressure from Alex Millward, as the TiKi Simsport driver does have Millward, who is the first elite driver inside what is the top 5 battle to pit for the second pit. So he's pitted very early as Millward, it should be pointed out. And well, is this a gamble too far? Because Millward, as he looks up the inside here of Edo's in towards the chicane, he goes through there, having to come quite late into the braking zone to get it done, but does get done as Edo's slightly off the momentum. And Chris Round is now going to look for the move on the inside into turn number 11. He's going to have to carry it through into 12 if they're going to make this happen. Side by side the two go, but Edo's held on, and meanwhile Round has to back off there. 9-2 does not go into 1 all the way through turn 12 unless you're both fully committed to lifting off together. But I think Edo's very keen to hold the overall position as they head onto his lap number 45. As they head up, rise and down in towards turn number 4, making the way on through. We do look towards Marvin Cruz here as he continues to chase after and Lever, where it was a great move battling with what was, Stefan Albanese only moments ago, but he's still got Jeff Griffiths keeping him honest, but he's closed up to Lever once again, and as they head on down through turns 3 and 4, right now with what is Albanese into the pits. I think Albanese decided if he can't stay ahead of these guys, he may as well try and make an undercut happen in the pits. Well, Cruz here showing no signs of slowing down, neither is Griffiths, and Lever is being reeled in a 10th or 2 a lap, and what I think all signs are pointing to here as we head into the final half an hour of racing at Road Atlanta, and night time has fully descended on the circuit right now. It means our drivers relying on the headlights with very little ambient light available to them. It is only going to get more tenuous, and this is where potential mistakes start to be made, because in these nighttime conditions the track is a different beast in its entirety. No longer can you rely on looking to your left and right for your brake markers of where the corners are coming. You have to do it just as much on muscle memory and mental memory of the circuit. You've got to have it programmed in, and this is where the racing in a rhythm counts, where you can't afford to be distracted by anything. But meanwhile, as we look back to Khalid Ramadan, who's looking to deliver Dave Robson for P35, these two both having a changing race and both looking for some consolidation points, or consolation points we should say. Ramadan on the inside here and trying to make the move happen as they go side by side up the hill. A bit of contact between us, they head out one. Robson not giving in here, enjoying the battling, but into 2 and 3 they go. Ramadan on the inside for the apex of 3, but Robson outside and carries it down through 4. Into the S's they go, and in the end Ramadan's still there. 2 wide they go into the S's. Robson tries to carry the speed, but in the end mounts one of the curbs, and as a result it doesn't quite work out, and Ramadan gets it done. But brilliant commitment from both drivers there, no doubt about it. But Khalid Ramadan in the end showing his experience and making it count most as he heads in towards turn number 6. As he comes on through the right-hander and now onwards towards turn 7 he goes. Meanwhile, we do look from them back to Eric Rozev in P3, who still tries to hold at bay Harold Jotautas in the fight for P3 on circuit at least. Keep in mind Alex Millwood would be in this battle. He'll be looking to try and close up with what was only an 11.1 second pit stop for Alex Millwood. And as the drivers make the way on through and up towards what is turn number 6, both keeping together and pushing on as much as they possibly can. But at this time it does look as though Rozev just keeping Jotautas at arm's length, and Jotautas in turn trying to just slipstream his way to success here. And it'll be interesting to see how long their pit stops are when they come from the second and what is most likely final time of Austin today in terms of pit strategy. But as they head on, meanwhile one driver who right now I think doesn't have to think too importantly about strategy other than get the car into pits and put some fuel in it to go to the end of the race. James Armstrong here for Grabber Motorsports now leading by 14.6 seconds over Jack Taylor, and just continuing to run away in what is the lead of the elite and overall category as he makes his way uphill in towards turn number 2. But from him we do look back to the P4 battle in the prime class here, and he's closing up on it gradually. It is Griffiths versus Cruz, right on board the nose, or in fact right on board the dashboard here on the Built Visible racing machine. And as they make the way in towards turn at number 6, Griffiths has been here so long, I think right now he'd definitely be able to discern every badge and decal on the back of Wiz Cruz's car. But then again, when they race this close and they're able to stay this close together, it shows you just how skilled these two prime drivers, and also the racing respect they give one another, and also how great a rivalry this is. They've closed up to the back of Lever, and Lever in fact has had a very poor run on this lap, losing 4 attempts in what is the middle sector alone, and Lever under increasing pressure from Cruz. They make the way in towards the chicane. Well, the problem here for what is Cruz is in the fact that you can't make this move happen soon. Griffiths will be right back there to pounce on him, so therefore it's a rocket hard play situation for Cruz, and Lever's not going to let this go. He'll want to push Cruz back towards Griffiths to get them to fight once again. As they head on through turn at number 12 and on to the next lap, Alex Hill into the pits from P18 overall, and therefore deciding to get that second stop done. We're still waiting the majority of the field to go on to their second pit stop, and a lot of drivers extending this middle stint, I think, trying to make that 70% starting fuel tank go longer and longer, and therefore give themselves the shortest possible final stint of the race where you can really attack with the car. But as we do say hello to RSR Racing at 91 there, and the driver in question, I do believe, being Neil Jack, who all went wrong for in the early stages of the race, and asking the question, what is everyone's favourite pancake topping? What was Shrove Tuesday upcoming in the near future? Well, as our drivers make the way to the break, I don't think they're going to be thinking pancakes, but they're going to be thinking about champagne glory right now. But if you want the answer to the question from here in the commentary booth, it's the classic topping of what is maple syrup. Can't go wrong with a bit of the good old Canadian syrup sauce. As they make the way on down the back straight, right on through, down towards on his turn number 10 and in towards that chicane once again. Well, right now Daniel Pay's in the pit lane, and we're just a bit further behind we do have Jeff Griffiths and Cruz, and now they're finally side by side as they head towards the braking zone. To be Griffiths on the inside and immediately going all in, and interestingly there, Cruz backing out under braking. I think there was a lift off there from Cruz for the old dudes in Cars Blue team, and I think Cruz might be coming into the pits, and indeed he is, and Cruz has played this absolutely perfectly in the fact he has kept Griffiths behind all the time he's needed to. He stayed with Lever, and now coming on in, if Cruz can make this a very short stop and get himself out in some clear space on circuit, he may just be able to charge off because of the fact that he's just played this middle stint perfectly by looks things. We'll have to wait to see. Let's not praise him too highly, but I think right now Griffiths, who's still out there, will be thinking that he's just been played on strategy by Cruz, and Lever as well may be thinking perhaps I should have gone for the undercut, because right now Cruz is going to be a big force of contention if he comes out in clear track. He's leaving the pit lane at the moment, and I believe he is going to come out in plenty of clear space. In fact, he's coming out in P22, and he's not going to have too much company around him. I think Marvin Cruz could have made this work, and Ryan Walker saying the exact same in the YouTube chat. If he gets clear when he exits the pit, then this could work out. In fact, we look to Marvin Cruz. He has come out with a little bit of traffic in front of him in the form of Shaminder Dinsa, who is yet to take what is his second final pit stop. But to be fair, he's got a 7/10 of a second gap to the BMW driver, and that may just help him have a bit of a toe on his first couple of laps where he needs to think about making a pass. And we'll have to wait to see how it plays out in actuality. But right now, with Simon Andre Livingston a lap down behind, Marvin Cruz could really make a big jump as a result of this. As meanwhile, looking back to Alan Lever and Jeff Griffiths here as they continue to fight. Well, Griffiths now inching closer to the back of the UKSimRacing Stewart driver. Well, they head on towards what is turn number 1 of lap 51 for these two. Roaring on through, and up the hill they go. No change at the moment. Griffiths is getting close. He's inching more and more, apex by apex. And well, as meanwhile, Steiner Sunny respects the blue flag set, trying to run very wide, taking to the escape road on what is the club circuit. Well, coming on down and through, we look back from the rear of what is the UKSimRacing Stewart Audi, as you can, not Audi I should say, it's powered by Audi, it's a Lamborghini in fact. As he makes way out of turn number 5, you can see that Griffiths getting a much better run off the corner. Taking a quick peek to the inside, but can't quite find it too far back to try and force the move, but definitely thinking about it as they now head in towards turn number 7. And when will Jeff Griffiths go for this? Will he make it happen on the circuit, or will he decide it's got to be done in the pit lane? Well, they power their way on down the back straight. A comment there from Anstis 96 that we say hello to in what is the Twitch chat, that Matt smashed it in having reference to Matt Edmondson. We'll bring you up some footage of Matt Edmondson very shortly, we promise you that. As meanwhile into pits from Krista Houseway from the lead of the Pro class. Some more pit stops incoming, and well, that's going to be a big one given his battle with Nicholas Rice and Brian Davies for the win on the Pro class today. But Lever steering clear right now, and Jeff Griffiths still there. Both drivers carrying on, not slowing down the pit lane entry, and they're going another lap as they make their way around the outside of what was well by drivers there. That was Chris Bates, who was taking it slow on the inside of turn number 12 and trying to respect the blue flags as the drivers make their way uphill. Meanwhile, Krista Houseway leaves the pit lane. He comes out behind Reece Saunders and just ahead of the battle between Lever and Griffiths, as we see Saunders going a bit deep there into turn number 3. A bit of an uncharacteristic error from the Altitude Esports driver. Well, Houseway right now may not want to be this close. This may compromise some lap time for him, and therefore this could undo all the hard work he's done in making his way into the potential lead of the Pro class when Rice comes into the pit and makes his way back out, and Ryan Davies as well. We'll have to wait and see how close it is between them as the racing makes its way into the closing stages here at Road Atlanta. We've still got plenty of questions to come, including Daniel Shilcock into the pits right now. Car up on the jacks there, a tyre change being made, and well, that'll be a second and final stop for the day, battling with Eric Rosen and Harold Jotautas, and also what is Alex Millward. And we'll speak to Millward for effect simulations. He makes his way through the final corner, and well, with Shilcock coming down off the jacks just now, you can see him there off of the distant camera. In fact, we look to the blimp camera as he makes his way through turn number 1, and well, it's going to be very close between the turns as they head up the hill, but in the end Shilcock does just get back ahead of Millward, and the undercut on what was the first pit stop and going into the second pit stop as a result has not worked out for Alex Millward versus Daniel Shilcock, in the fact he's lost out here. And I think with this, could this mean that Alex Millward right now will be P6 effectively once all the pit stops are made, and therefore if he wants to try and take that the elite podium, he's going to have to do it the hard way in terms of battling his way on through on circuit with very limited time. And it does seem as though the undercut strategy today, at least in the elite class, has proven to have diminishing returns. For me, on the other classes, it seems to be having a greater effect. Meanwhile, we do look to your AM leader here, Matt Edmondson. We promise you we can take you back to him. And here's the UKSimRacing Stewart driver yet to take his second pit stop, still holding what is the best part of a 4-second advantage over James Connie, the second place AM driver for UKSimRacing. Mansell just behind. And then it is a sizable gap to Shaminder Dinsa in the region of 22 seconds. And with that, right now, it does seem as though UKSimRacing absolutely in control of an AM1-2 here today, as Eric Rosen comes into the pit lane as I look at my quantity with window. But meanwhile, as all this plays out, we look at Chris Constable, your Pro-Am leader, yet to take what is his second and final pit stop, still making his way around now up to P5 overall. And well, 90's going to lose that position when he does come into the pits, but a very strong performance here from Constable. No question about it, the Pro-Am leader just running away with things. And well, the best part of it is I do believe 14 seconds clear of Chris Round in P2, and the only other Pro-Am driver yet to be lapped by the leader. And as they make the way in towards what is turn at number 6, lapped by the overall leader, we should clarify. Constable right now thinking about that second pit stop, but 9 is going to be a formality, and given the advantage he's been able to carve out for himself as he makes his way on down the back straight. Meanwhile, we do a look from him to James Conley, your second place and driver for UKSimRacing Mansell, who right now is holding firm and chasing after Matt Edmondson. Albeit Edmondson does seem to have just that slight advantage in terms of the lap time pace from lap to lap. That last lap, Conley just losing another 10 to Edmondson, and that seems to have been the theme every lap so far, in that it's either with half a temp or a whole temp. It's not much, but it adds up over the distance over time on average. And when he edges in towards turn number 7, I don't think Conley is going to complain about second place here today, because that will continue to extend his championship lead at the top of the AM standings. 2 points going into today, but it will be increased given the difficulties the likes of Neil Smith and Jack Barker have experienced here at Road Atlanta. But still, drop scores will level things out. But meanwhile, speaking of level playing field, that is going to be Jeff Griffiths up the inside of Aaron Lever, and that is for what is on P3 Prime on track at least. Albeit we've got to wait and see how it plays on strategy, but Griffiths gets it done. Neither driver comes into the pits. They're going the long distance in this middle stint. And with what is Marvin Cruz currently P22, and the only separation is Rob Armstrong, who's yet to take his second pit stop in the Pro-Am class. Well, these two fighting, I think Lever may not have as much resistance as perhaps he would have liked to there, for the simple reason he's conscious that Cruz on the undercut may just leap ahead of the both of them if they start to fight too hard. So therefore, it really is the devil, you know, in the fact that Lever right now maybe just trying to hold on behind Wiz Griffiths, unless the tyres on that Lamborghini have gone, and therefore right now he's battling against the elements and has just been trying to hold on, and will perhaps come into the pits at the end. Oh my goodness, and for Jeff Griffiths, it all goes completely in the wrong direction. It goes good to great to nightmare in the space of 5 corners, and the Bilbersville Racing driver experienced a similar instant as what we saw for Jack Barker, and also much early on one of our drives in the form of Alex Hill, and will turn the 5, claims another victim as the number 86 makes his way till he gets to turn around quickly, but that has put him down the order once again, and I think that is going to certainly put him behind what is Marvin Cruz, and well, it's going to be a chase. Our tour will be Alan Level once again. I think the fight for what is the prime third spot on the podium now, or that third place if you will, is going to be between Lever and Cruz, unless Griffiths could pull off a miracle here, because he's lost the best part of what is, I do believe, no more than 8 seconds to Lever just in that instant alone. And now as he makes his way out to turn at number 10 and over the rise he goes. Will he come into the pits? No, he stays out still. The obstinance of what is Griffiths here. He wants to carry on, he wants to stick to strategy, but I wonder whether the damage he's had to the front of the car, whether it's going to cost him a lot of time. But meanwhile, we've got some news down the pit lane, which is that Effect Simulations have had to retire the car of Alex Moore. An issue was identified with the engine, and well, he's had to come into the pits, and his race is over. And after what was the difficulties of, I do believe, earlier on with the pit stops as well, it's not gone his way, and I think an off-track as well contributed to that. And when we take a look back, we have got a replay regarding Alex Millwood, but before that, we need to look at what's happening here between Daniel Shilcock and Brian Davies, and with Shilcock making his way past in the elite class ahead of the pro driver Davies, and it's a formality, and then Davies not really putting up a fight. I think the Track 6 race driver grateful seeking the hunt to the rear of Cy Anthony, who carries on there just in front as they make the way off route turn number 12. But as they do so, we do need to take a look back at what exactly happened, to our driver of what was Alex Millwood, as Eric Brozov has taken his second and final pit stop for today. And Brozov, with that second pit stop, has come out down in P10 behind Daniel Shilcock. So it's been quite a long pit stop for Eric Brozov, and Daniel Shilcock has leapt ahead, unless I'm mistaken, of Brozov. So therefore, strategy has not got credit for Brozov at all. In fact, it was quite a long pit stop compared to his rivals. So therefore, that's a surprise, not a welcome one to be sure for the Race Lab eSports driver. Could Daniel Shilcock here have potentially jumped his way up through the order? Well, saying that, Jack Taylor, he's already taken his second pit stop. That's happened off camera, and with that he's back in P3 already over on in the elite class. A very short second and final stop for the day, only 10.5 seconds. So Taylor here, what I do wonder whether perhaps he's gambled on not potentially taking new tyres, and therefore he's going to be running against the remaining pace in those tyres that he's got on the car. And it could be a very risky end to this race for the TiKi Simsport driver, but then again, sometimes you've got to risk it in order to win. And as he makes his way onto another lap, 15 minutes left on the clock, he goes into a 57th lap here at Road Atlanta under race conditions. By the time this race is finished, they're going to have done upwards of 65 laps if my maths is correct. As he makes his way up the hill and into the rise, well, behind him is Jeff Griffiths, who is a lap down, coming out on strategy. But meanwhile, Eric Rosev makes his way on for us. Chris Round is into the pits on the lead of the prime class, albeit it's the on-track lead, but I believe the strategic lead being in the hands of Chris Constable, who has already taken his second pit stop, and I think it's due shortly to see Alan Lever in front of him take his final pit stop of the day. But as they make their way over the rise, we take a look back at what happened to Alex Millwood, which contributed to his retirement from the race. Was the effect simulation driver made its way on through, I believe this is the run through, turn 3 into 4, the rear of the car lane going, oh my good lord, the car almost onto the roof there, only being saved by the tyre barrier from almost going onto the catch fence, and the effect simulation driver, the tyres let it go, and that was his race, unfortunately in tatters, and that explains what exactly happened after they had to bring the car into the pits, and will very quickly start having to be towed there. That was the full story. And well, as we do look to Eric Rosa in your live pictures once again, still more racing to come. I think strategy right now being the intervening element as we close towards what's the final few minutes of racing. As our drivers carry on here, of course, now it's going to be nerves are still that are needed in order to bring it home. And with night time in full force, given the fact this race started in the evening time, well, John Eddowes and Eric Rose have hit on your pictures, where's the two BMW drivers right together as they make the way down, and well, Eddowes here just trying to stay ahead right now as they make their way onto another lap. As we ride aboard, looking over the dashboard here of the Race Lab Esports machine, going in towards turn number 1. Knows that's how they go as they make their way through the right-hander, and no change it would seem, albeit Will Rosen try and take a peek into 2. No, he can't quite do so. Eddowes there just using all the width of the road 9. It's only one wide as they make their way down for the left-hander at turn number 4, and into 5 they go. But Rosen here, I think, feared as though what has already been a frustrating racing strategy is now being frustrated even more by a pro driver who just holding position with a pit stop still to go, unless Eddowes is trying to go for a 1-stop. But if so, that's going to be brave to do so. Harold Jotautas comes into the pits as I look at my commentary booth window, but still miracles happen, and we do know that TiKi Simsport, if they can find a bit of different strategy to try and do, they'll go for it if it works out. But right now Rose definitely tucked it behind and still trying to find a way on through into P8 in the overall positions as he makes his way down the back straight. As he powers his way on down from them, we do look to some changing moves further down the order, including what is, I do believe, Krista Houseaway chased after Reece Saunders, and Will Houseaway currently P4 in the pro class with what is John Eddowes, Ryan Davies, and also Nicholas Rice heading all yet to take the second stop. Houseway has, in fact, as soon as I say that, Nicholas Rice is in, Ryan Davies is not in, interestingly, and Eddowes is into the pit, so Eddowes does have to come in the end. He can't go all the way to the end, and as Houseway makes his way out of the turn 10 chicane, well, Rice is still in the pits. Houseway making his way on through. But when will Rice be allowed to leave the pit lane? That's the question we're waiting for the answer for, because I think that's going to tell the story as Rice is leaving right now. But as they make their way on through in towards turn number 1, where is Rice? He's nowhere to be seen, and Krista Houseaway jumps ahead of Nicholas Rice. You see Rice in the rear of your picture. He's come out of the pit, but he is the best part of 6 seconds behind. And well, with that, that tells a very important story here, which is that Krista Houseaway for Track 6 Racing right now, after starting in what was P5 in the pro class at the early stage of this race from qualifying, will now potentially be on course, unless Ryan Davies can have an incredibly short stop. Houseaway is on course to inherit the lead in the pro class, and could this be his opportunity to take his first win of the season? With only 11 minutes to go plus the final lap, I think Houseway is going to believe it more and more. It's going to be fed through to him from the pit wall, and as he makes his way onwards behind Reece Saunders, meanwhile Jack Taylor right now and taking his second pit stop. He's ahead of Jotautas, just about. Jotautas coming out behind Taylor on pit exit as Matt Edmondson has served his final pit stop of the day, and he's returned to the lead of the AM class ahead of James Conley. So right now Jack Taylor carrying on through and down through the S as he goes, but with Jotautas right there and looking for an opportunity. Well, these two, it's going to go to the wire between them, there's no doubt about it, as James Armstrong now comes into the pits off screen, and well, he's coming in for the lead of this race, and it should surely be a formality for Armstrong. And meanwhile, as John Eddowes battles his way here side by side with Chris Round, where it's the Pro battling with the Pro-Am in the Audi on the inside. This into the turn 10 chicane, but Eddowes is not going to give in. No, and he doesn't want to yield as they make the way over the rise, because of the fact that as he heads on through here, he'll want to be able to try and get a bit close to Halso and Rice. Should there be anything between them that causes them to lose time and lose places, but right now Round is not giving in. He wants this just as much, and in the end Round will go around the outside there. John Eddowes into turn 1, and the TiKi Simsport tyre driver had to let it go in the closing stages of that battle in towards a new lap as they make the way over the rise and down in towards turns 3 and 4. Still, Eddowes will be happy with a P4 in the Pro class today, no doubt about it, given the fact he started in what was P9 in the Pro class, so therefore plenty of places gained as he winds and weaves his way on through. Meanwhile, we do look a bit further down the order to Cy Hartney and John Doble. The two TiKi Simsport drivers, one from Carmarte as he heads on in towards the S's, and right now they're fighting for P6 in the AM class here, tucked in behind Daniel Pace, the P8 Pro driver, as they head onwards towards turn number 6. But as they do, I think they'll be holding position for now, and perhaps we'll fight towards the very end once everything's locked in and there's no other than battles ahead of them they can get involved in, with Neil Smith being the best part of 12 seconds up the road, just 2 seconds off of John Davies in the fight for P4 in the AM class. It does look as though this battle now really focused around the P6 position. But meanwhile, speaking of battles, this is going to be Steiner Sani on the inside of Joel Duton, and will Duton then not quite able to hold the outside to inside run, and as they head on towards what is turn number 11 in towards 12, through the right hand as they go and on towards what is another lap, roaring the way on through, and into the pits comes Alan Lever. The Lever's coming, and being informed by Daz Sharp in the YouTube chat there. Lever running on is Alan Lever running on battery power? It would seem that way, but he's made his way in and taken the pit stop. But where is Marvin Cruz going to be? That's the big question as he makes his way on through turn number 12. Well, it's going to be Lever making his way out of the pit lane. I think Lever may have done this. In fact, Lever's already left the pits. He's on to what's about towards turn number 2. So Marvin Cruz has not been able to successfully bring himself back into the fight versus Alan Lever. So how Lever has done this, I do not know, ladies and gents, but he's made the fuel tank of that Lamborghini last an eternity and has brought himself out. So Cruz has left header Jeff Griffiths in all of this, but he has not been able to get close enough to Alan Lever. In fact, the gap between the two of them now standing at what is 2 seconds, and in fact 2.5 seconds he makes his way on through. And well, you can see Alan Lever here up the road and Cruz in the rear of the picture as they go in towards turn number 6, and Lever absolutely working strategy out to a T here today as he makes his way onwards from turn number 7 and down the back straight he goes. As the UKSimRacing Stuart driver keeps his head down and pushes on. We know he's done the hard work on strategy, but now he's got to do even the harder work, which is the final stage of this race. But meanwhile, just in front, this is John Eddowes battling side by side with Chris Round. It is part 2 of their battles. They make their way through turn number 12. They may be a Pro and a Pro-Am, but they're fighting right now as if they're battling for the overall win here. And as they make their way on down in towards turn number 1, with just behind John Davies has been closed by Neil Smith, and Smith is sensationally close as they make their way inwards towards turn number 2. But there is James Armstrong, the race leader, who right now carving his way out through, expecting the blue flags to be respected. Armstrong taking a peek there through the S's, but Davies not backing off right now. 9-2 does not go to 1 through here, and he'll let Armstrong go as they make the way out of turn number 5. Armstrong won't be too upset about that for the simple reason the fact he's got all the time in the world to play with, but it means that Smith has had some of his momentum carved away from him as they make their way in towards turn number 6 now, as the flames spit from the rear of the McLaren MP4 12C onto the brakes they go in through the right hander at turn at number 7, and Neil Smith right there trying to attack for what is the final spot before the podium place in the AM class. But has he got enough in the tanks? It does look as though right now the podium places are all settled and done for, as Armstrong has lapped what is the remainder of the AM field twice by the top 3 as they come down towards turn number 10. Under braking there, you can see what is everyone tucking it in behind Chris Round, being passed by James Armstrong, trying to all get in the toe of one another in order to stay safe, particularly for John Davies. And meanwhile, Smith will be hoping that sooner rather than later the Pro driver of Round can just simply clear off into the distance and then leave Davies vulnerable in the straight, which is where the BMW will gain its lap time as they head into turn number 1 and once more. Meanwhile, we do look back up to the battle between Jack Taylor and Harold Jotautas. Gap now at 8 tenths of Marvin Cruz there, getting what is in the way, you could argue, of Taylor, albeit not in terms of intentionally, but in terms of how they position for one another. Immediately pulls aside on the start for the straight, respecting the blue flags, and as they head in towards turn number 1, Taylor right now be hoping that Cruz is in the way for the purposes of Jotautas for a brief moment. Harold Jotautas runs up the hill and Cruz steps aside immediately there, showing great respect to both drivers and costing them both about the same amount of time as would be expected in a traffic situation. They're coming into the SS Jotautas to push him, but I wonder how much more he's got left to give, given the fact that the tyres of these cars right now definitely will be feeling the pinch. As he heads out to turn number 5 onto turn number 6, he charges. Right now that gap still in the best region where it's 6th and not closing. But as they head into the braking zone, we can see at the GZ High saying in the YouTube chat that Jack Taylor losing 20 pounds of sweat right now, getting into a great stressful workout in reference to the fact he's absolutely having to work hard to be the best of the rest beyond James Armstrong and claim rights that runner-up spot here. And with Jotautas, no easy driver to beat. Let's put that out there for the simple reason he's a driver. If he can't beat you on track in terms of pace, he'll find a way to do it on strategy. If he can't do it on strategy, it'll come on pace. But right now, Taylor finding a way to stay ahead in both instances as they make the way on through turns 10A and 10B and 9. There's only 3, so in fact 4.5 more minutes to go until that final lap beckons and potentially what will feel like a victory to him and a P2 on that overall and elite podium. As they head in towards turn number 1. Meanwhile, we do look to Jeff Griffiths. He chased after Matt Hisley in the battle of P19 overall, and Hisley right now continued to push onwards here. His next target, the pro class, P5 in the class, would be Alex Hill, but Hill is the best part of what is 10 seconds up the road for Hisley, so it's a long way to go. So I think Hisley may have to settle for P6 to the end. From them, it's coming back to battle with P4 in the AM class. This is Davies versus West Smith once more, but meanwhile there's late drama as Chris Round has had an incident of some description. The car's going very slowly, going in towards what is their turn at number 6, and I get the feeling we may have seen another victim of the infamous turn 5 exit. Well, as he does so, they're confounded at West Jotautas and Taylor for a brief moment. Round has dropped out of P2 in the Pro Class, and Alan Lever has just taken it away from the Leroy Jenkins driver. What exactly happened, I hear you ask? Well, here we take a look back, and here's the story. Well, in fact, this was going into turn number 6, only moments to go. Runs wide, and as he does so, brings the car back on. So, in fact, that was a very short run wide, so that's not the full story. I'm not quite sure what's happened then for Chris Round. The only thing I can imagine is it's perhaps happened a little bit earlier than that, and well, where exactly has that move happened? We return to your live racing pictures. We are going to get a replay of how Lever found his way past Chris Round, and in fact, here is the replay to explain that story involved. This was Alan Lever chased after, and in fact there was a spin for Round. It was at turn number 5, but it was a spin into the middle of the track, and Round had nobody around him there to really get involved, and that's how it happened. So Alan Lever in the end just simply find his way through from a Round who just having a nightmare out of turn number 5, but not making haste towards the wall at all. As we do return to your live racing pictures now, ladies and gentlemen, with some battles still to be settled between drivers. We have got plenty of battles out there on the cards, including Lever still being chased down, but where's Alex Hill here for P13 overall, and the Audi driver right behind the Lamborghini drivers. They make the way off the turn at number 7 and onwards towards turn 10 they roar, and Matt Edmondson only 2 seconds behind. You can see also their second place overall driver Jack Taylor in the tow of what is both Hill and Lever, and hoping he can find his way past the two of them. With blue flags being waved, you can see the Porsche not having much speed on the straight. By comparison, they're going to go 3 wide down to the braking zone here, and this is a big gamble from Taylor. You can understand why he wants to do this. He does it. He takes both of them for the simple reason he wants Harold Jotautas to have to deal with this, and he's got to deal with it in the run through turn 11 up towards the S's sequence. That's what he needs to get it done by, and will it be as kind to him? That's the question. Well, a big question there from Newbie2B in the Twitch chat, which is what happened to Eric Rosen? We're not quite sure, but meanwhile, what happened to a car on the inside? Well, that's John Davies, who's in the inside wall on the start finish straight. In fact, no, it's not. That's a different car on the inside wall. My apologies. John Davies has had a separate incident, but here is the wrong stuff's driver as he makes his way on down. And he's dropped all the way down to P5 in the AM class. He's released Neil Smith, and well, it's Matt Edmondson. Oh my good lord! And Matt Edmondson has had to be towed to the pits in the lead of the AM class. This has happened off camera, but it's happened very recently. And with that, we need to get a quick replay of what exactly happened. And here is the replay, ladies and gentlemen. And well, here's the car as it was making its way along, car crabbing on the start finish straight. We take a look back further on, and this is what set it off. So going through turn 12 and just taking a bit too much apex curb, you can see the right side tyres were raised and just unsettled the car and into the wall. The UKSimRacing Stuart driver, it's heartbreak with 1.5 minutes left to go. He has lost the win of the AM class here today. And well, with that, it's going the way of James Conley now for UKSimRacing Mansell. And well, for the 46 driver, he won't want to have seen it happen that way. He'll be happy another win's going to come his way potentially, but nobody wants it to happen like that. And I can only imagine how Matt must be feeling right now down the paddock, knowing it's all gone away, and it does in a way. It does give a feeling to, or allude to. Some of you may remember the infamous moment where Sebastian Vettel crashed out of what's the Hockenheim Grand Prix many a year ago in Formula 1 when leading comfortably, and for Matt Edmondson, that feeling has now come full force towards him. But meanwhile, whilst it's gone wrong in the AM class for some, meanwhile we look back to Alan Lever. If for UKSimRacing should, it's P2 at the moment in the Pro class here, being chased by Chris Round still, and as the clock strikes 1.5 hours, the checker flag is getting ready to wave, but Lever's still ahead of Round, chasing him down here in the closing stages, going on through turns 6 and 7, but meanwhile, we need to look to this man, because he is on the final lap, and after taking pole position with what was an absolutely incredible lap, he has led every lap of this race bar pit stops, and as he comes up through the final corner, it's going to be another win to carry the long line for James Armstrong for Brabham Esports as he takes the checker flag over on in the elite class. It will then be a sizable 22-second gap back to Jack Taylor, who will be taking P2, and we'll speak of the Taylor as he makes his way on through the corners. And turns 10A and 10B, where he comes over the rise and very shortly on down, but it's another run-up finish for the TiKi Simsport driver, and one he'll be pleased with as he crossed the line ahead of Harold Jotautas, P3 there in the class, and as they made their way to the line, and Lever holds on to P2 in the prime class ahead of Chris Round, but meanwhile, as he crosses the timeline, we've got some race winners to come on through, including what will be, I do believe very shortly, well, in fact we've had James Conley come on through, and James Conley takes the AM win here today in a heartbreaking moment for Matt Edmondson, but the UKSimRacing Mansell driver completes it a lap down at the end. We've still got more winners to come on through, and will to take his first win in the Pro class here today, ladies and gentlemen. Give a round of applause for Chris Alsoy for Track 6 Racing. He's made it work on strategy and pacing combination, and he will take the win by 4 seconds over Nicholas Rice with Eric Rosen between the two of them, and Ryan Davies will take P3 in the Pro class at the end, and Chris Constable comes on through to make it another win, a P11 overall in the Prime class, and what a drive for the Destino Motorsports driver, and it does seem to be his destiny at the moment, no pun intended, to go on to win in this Prime class by some sensational margins, by no less. As he comes on through, we do have a couple of drivers to finish this race, including P24 for Cleve Ramadan, as in fact he makes his way into the pits. He's already finished. In fact, we've got all of our race finishers in, but as we do have some donuts being done there, for Brabham Esports is James Armstrong, and that's on the exit at turn number 5. Absolutely pleased with that, no doubt about it. And well, goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a race, non-stop from lights to finish for James Armstrong, absolutely in control. And well, Krista Houseway already into the pits, and for Alan Lever, the pressure was put on by Chris Round in the closing stages. But for Alan Lever today, absolutely faultless to a T. He went the longest of everybody in the middle stint, and he made it work to take P2 after Chris Round's error out of turn number 5. And whilst Round was sniffing all over the back of him come the very end of the race, Lever has taken second place. And I think teammate Rob Zelby, who'll be watching from the pit lane, or we may not be from the pit lane, but watching right now, we're very pleased with the fact that Alan has carried on in the absence of his fellow UKSimRacing Stuart teammate. But as they all come into the pits, and James Conley just behind him there, your AM winner ahead of Shaminda Deensa, who a special mention there to take second place in the AM class, and I do believe only his second ever podium in the AM class. If it is his second, it may be his first, in fact, ahead of Neil Smith, who returns to podium ways with a P3 in the class. Well, the TiKi Simsport driver lines up alongside his brother, Satinder Deensa, and today it wasn't to go well for his prime brother, but who took P8 to the class. But for Shaminda, definitely a well-deserved runner-up spot there, and well, in it to win it all the way through. But as they make the way on through the cool-down lap together, let's take you through those race results subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries, and here they are. To start off, the overall finishing positions after 90 minutes of racing in this endurance race round, round number 5 of the UKSimRacing GT3 League Season 12, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform known as iRacing. James Armstrong, your overall winner and elite winner in the end for Brabham Esports by 22 seconds over Jack Taylor for TiKi Simsport. The TiKi Simsport driver really at the best of the rest here, fending off Harold Jotautas every step of the way, and the absolute motorsport ace lift driver having to take P3 a further 4 seconds behind, with Daniel Shilcock just missing out on the podium, but a strong P4 finish for TiKi. Rhys Saunders, P5, the Altitude Esports driver, not quite on the pace of the top 5, but still managing consistency and a good strategy to take home the 5th place, ahead of Krista Halsoy, your pro winner, and making it work today for his first ever pro win in the 247 for TiKi, and just finished ahead of Eric Rosa for Race Lab Esports, whose strategy then did not work out as intended. I believe there might have been an overfueling in the pits for his second pit stop. But P7 for Eric Rosa for Race Lab Esports, ahead of Nicholas Rice, the runner-up in the pro class, the Destino Motorsports driver. We're happy with the P2, but wondering how Krista Halsoy managed to leapfrog him in all of it. And Ryan Davies taking P3 in the pro class. Your championship leader, not quite extending his lead as much as he would like to today, but still the TiKi Simsport Karl Marte driver will not be too upset with another podium in his hands. Sight Anti at P10 there on an emotional day for the Silver Esports driver and racing for his deceased cousin, but at the same time as well, he'll be proud to have done his very best today and will be taking home a P10, and that was his goal for today, was to try and finish in amongst the elite drivers, or at least inside that top 10 and be on the pace, and doing exactly that with Chris Constable and taking the Pro-Am win there, P11 overall, best of rest for Destino Motorsports, and the last driver to finish on the lead lap. John Netto's P12 ahead of Anne Lever, with the UKSimRacing Stuart driver, your second place finisher in the Pro-Am class, and just fending off Chris Round for Leroy Jenkins to the finish, who finished third on the Pro-Am podium of Constable at Lever and Round. And then we come to what is Marvin Cruz, who round off the top 15, the old Dudes in Cars Blue driver, not quite able to make strategy work to leap ahead of Lever, but a good drive to P4, getting him ahead of Jeff Griffiths at the finishing stages. And then James Connolly, P16, but your AM winner for UKSimRacing Mansell in an absolutely brilliant drive, and I think he would have been expected it to be a P2 if it were not for, of course, that late instant with Matt Edwardson having to retire from the lead of the race with only 2 laps to go. Matt Hisley, Alex Hill, and then followed up by what was the pair of Jeff Griffiths and Stefan Albanese completed your top 20. And then from Rob Armstrong, P21, Shaminda Deensa, runner-up in the AM class, P22 for TiKi Simsport Tower. And then we do have to look to Neil Smith at P27 there for UKSimRacing Mansell, finishing 2 laps down. And with that was your final finisher on the AM podium of what was Conley, Shaminda Deensa and Neil Smith. We'll then look to our retirees from today's race, and as we can see here, a grand total of what was, I do believe, 40 drivers finishing the race, or classified as finishers, with Chris Bates being your last finisher at 9 laps down the privateer, and Alex Wood, the first of the retirees, 14 laps from the finish, but will be classified as a finisher as he did complete over half the race distance, which was today the best part of, I do believe, 68 laps, and then we will be seeing was Jonathan Tighe as well be classified as a finisher, as he did complete over half the race distance, retiring with 30 laps to go. But then your retirees will be classified as non-finishers, and therefore DNFs will be TiKi Simsport Corpus, Joshua Pratt, and then it'll be Olympus Esports' Connor Craven. The priorities are Lawrence Marsh and Neil Jack, Casper Tunstead for Peak Sim Racing, and what a difficult day today for them. But out of your 47 starters, we did have a grand total of what's 42 finishers, albeit what was out of them, only 11 of them on the lead lap. We'll then come on to the individual class finishing position, starting with the elite class. And here we can see James Armstrong in dominant form today for Brabham Esports, and really emerging as the ultimate favourite in this championship, leading the way home. 22 seconds clear of TiKi Simsport Tower's Jack Taylor, and Harold Jotautas completing your podium there for Absolute Motorsport Ace Lift. A further 13 seconds behind it was Daniel Shilcock ahead of Rhys Saunders, with Eric Rosa, Sight Anstey, and Alex Millward completing your standings. Millward the retiree, but classified as a finisher, P8. And then we come on to the pro class. And as we can see, Krista Halsoy, the TiKi racing driver, bringing on home what was the win by 4.4 seconds over Nicholas Rice, the Destino Motorsports driver, not quite able to find a way back versus Halsoy, but still congratulations to Halsoy for bringing home his first class win of the season. And I can see many of you congratulating there, and Halsoy saying in the Twitch chat that it was rough work, but absolutely giving it everything. And then as we can see, Ryan Davies, P3 there for TiKi Simsport Karl Marte, a further 6 seconds behind, and a solid result. A lap down for John Enos for TiKi Simsport Tower, a return Howard to the top 5, and he'll be pleased with that, ahead of Matt Hisley for Sloshy Motorsports, and Alex Hill also finished a lap down after that unfortunate incident out of turn 5, which took him out of the potential race win. Khalid Ramadan 2 laps down, recovering to P7 at the end for Somsport in a very resilient drive, ahead of Daniel Pays, Kevin Eilert, and Casper Brotton, who completed your top 10, and then your 2 retirees will be classified as non-finishers, Joshua Pratt and Casper Tunstead. And then we come on to the Pro-Am class. In our penultimate of the classes, we can see Chris Constable, your winner, the only Pro driver to finish on the lead lap, and therefore a lap ahead of his rivals, and the Destino Motorsports driver completing the top step of the podium, ahead of fellow podium finishers Alan Lever for UKSimRacing Stewart and Chris Round for Leroy Jenkins. Fourth and fifth place went to Marvin Cruz and Jeff Griffiths, with the two having a brilliant back and forth battle for what was the best part of 50 minutes in the mid portion of the race, but Cruz getting the upper hand in the end, with Stefan Albanese P6 then missing out in the top 5, but the DRS eSport driver fending off Rob Armstrong, and then Satinder Deans, Steiner Sani and Simon Oldfield completed your top 10, and behind the Team Vagisil driver was the Wrong Stuff Joel Duton, with Simon Andre Livingston after what was a brilliant qualifying performance. In the end, a dismal start to his race, seeing him finish P12 ahead of Chris Bates, who finished 9 laps down in the end, but as classified as a finisher. And we did have the two non-finisher retirees of Connor Craven and Lawrence Marsh. And then lastly becomes the AM class. And as we can see here, confirmation, James Connolly, your winner by 36 seconds in for UKSimRacing Mansell, head of TiKi Simsport tyres, Shaminda Deansa, and then Neil Smith finishing a lap down effect here due to how the field was lapped by our elite and overall winner of James Armstrong. But Neil Smith, your final finisher on that podium for UKSimRacing Mansell. He was ahead of John Davies and John Doble, with Davies in the end bringing home that P4, albeit now I think we kicking himself for an instant, which cost him a P3 after the difficulties for Matt Edmondson. But still, we'll take a P4 and luck will come his way one day, he'll feel. John Doe bringing himself a P5 in the end for TiKi Simsport Kimmy ahead of Matt Edmondson, with Cy Hartley P7 for TiKi Simsport Carl Marte ahead of the privateer Jack Barker. Not to be his day today, and work for Dave Robson, a P9 net, a top 10 finish. He'll be pleased with that for TiKi Simsport Kimmy ahead of Guy Kylie Al for the Wrong Stuff. We also had your retiree but classified as finisher of Jonathan Tighe for Team Tighe there, 29 laps down but over half race distance. And then we have our sole non-finisher retiree of Neil Jack the Privateer, who had to retire in the very early stages after a nasty incident in the opening 5 laps. But that concludes our run through of the finishing positions. Of course, all these provisionals subject to stewards' inquiries after the racing, ladies and gentlemen. But goodness me, what a race we've had here today at Road Atlanta. And we'd just like to say, before we step away for our break to get ready for our post-round interviews, that if you have been enjoying the racing today, if you're wanting to be, and as a result, if you want to support UKSimRacing, well, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel or the Twitch channel that you're currently tuning in and watching this via, we do recommend you subscribe, so that way you stay up to date with all the latest broadcasts available that run on a weekly basis, with the Sunday GT3 League and the Porsche Cup Series that runs on Thursdays. But we'd also like to let you know that if you want to support us further than beyond that, well, did you know there is a quick way to do so via our affiliates? For UKSimRacing is affiliated with multiple sim racing and real-world motorsport companies, including Swilly Meta Sim Racing Coaching, Race Anywhere and Demon Tweaks. And if you do head to our website, that's uksimracing.co.uk today, and that website will appear on screen now, and there it is in its full splendour. Well, there is a link to our Discord in the top right corner, as you can see. Now, why would you want to join the official UKSimRacing Discord? Well, there's 2 reasons for that. Firstly, if you ever want to be on the grid for any of our series, it's a mandatory requirement to be part of our Discord, so that way you can attend all the pre-race briefings, but also you can stay up to date with the latest information regarding your elected series. But perhaps more relevant to today is the fact that if you do go to the UKSimRacing Discord, well, you'll notice that there are discount codes available for purchasing, and those are only available on the official UKSimRacing Discord. And if you use one of those codes as part of your purchase, well, it's a win for you, and it puts you in pole position because you simply receive a discount on your purchase, but also it's a win for the wider UKSimRacing community, because as we are a non-profit organisation, every penny and pound we make from your purchase, well, that gets put back into the kitty for what is funding future series at UKSimRacing, including the GT3 League, the Porsche Cup, and also plenty more we have planned for 2024. So do remember, a little purchase can go a long way in supporting UKSimRacing. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a brief break, but we're back in approximately 12 minutes time for our post-round interviews. Don't go anywhere, you won't miss them. We'll see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews. And today we're going to be hearing from a mixture of winners and also drivers batting for the win, as well as drivers further on down the order. We're going to be hearing from our lead winner firstly of Brabham Esports' James Armstrong, who is also our overall winner, continuing a run out of 2 wins back-to-back in the United States of America. We'll then be coming to first-time pro winner Krista Halsoy for TiKi Racing and a phenomenal drive today in the 247. Then going to be hearing from pro runner-up Nicholas Rice for Destino Motorsports, before coming on to our prime driver from Race Lab Esports, Simon Andre Livingston, whose P2 in qualifying seemed to set him up for success, but an opening lap incident cost him very dear, and he put him all the way down to a P12 finish in the class in the end. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to have joining me in the interview room now, James Armstrong. Good evening to you once again, James, and well, we find ourselves in a familiar situation carrying on from Sebring, where you put it on pole and after the opening couple of laps just able to gradually pull away and charge off to victory. I mean, you said to me in the interview last week you were feeling good for Road Atlanta, and well, you looked good out there, but how did it feel for you?
Yeah, it felt really good. It was really fun. I really enjoy Road Atlanta. It would have been nicer if I was in a bit better car. The Audi, not very good over the curbs, and it was kind of getting annoying sometimes in turn 3 and such. I had to really brake quite early for the curbs and stuff, but apart from that, it was really fun. And quite sweaty after that one as well. The track takes a lot of... It's quite a demanding track.
Oh, without a doubt, and doing 90 minutes of Road Atlanta as well only adds to what is the stamina drain, if you will. Now, coming on to that point around the Audi and its behaviour over the curves, we did see over the course of the race a number of mid-engine rear-wheel drive or rear-engine rear-wheel drive cars, Audis included, end up having to go very wrong at turn number 5, the rear of the car kicking out, and even a Ferrari at one point going into the inside wall coming out of turn number 12. Were you finding there particular corners around here where the Audi became hypersensitive to the curbs?
I think it was on the braking into T3 on the left. I would touch that curb, and if I had too much brake on it, would lock up, and then I'd just go wide. And then sometimes on the inside curb on T5, the back end sort of wanted to kick out a little bit, but apart from that, it wasn't too bad. It was just yeah, not a smooth ride.
I see, but one thing that was definitely smooth, or at least you made it look smooth, was the pole position lap you strung together in the late stages of qualifying. And I have to ask, that 1:17.636, I mean, it looked neck and neck between yourself, Harold Jotautas, and Jack Taylor for the most part of qualifying, and suddenly, out of nowhere, you just raised the bar incredibly high. How did it go in quali?
Yeah, my first lap wasn't very good. That .8, they really didn't get the lap put together, as I did a very similar lap to what I did in quali in practice, and I knew there was a little bit more time in that one as well, but then, yeah, went in the pits, fresh tyres, fresh fuel, out again, and yeah, got that .6. Could have got a .4 was my optimal, but it's quite hard to get the optimal around here.
Oh, without a doubt. And with regards to qualifying, of course, the risk versus reward nature being that if you have an incident that puts you into the water and you can't bring it back into the pits, you do have to tow. Was that always on your mind in qualifying, given, coming back to the point earlier, of the risk of the Audi becoming unsettled over the curbs?
Not really. I was just worried about getting off track or something from hitting the curb and running a little bit wide, so I had to take it a little bit easier on the curbs just to not get an off track.
I see. And then going into the race, we had the extended start zone spanning all the way from the pit entry on the hill down towards the start-finish line. We saw you go relatively late today. Was that all part of the plan to try and bunch the field up and perhaps get everyone to stall behind you?
It was a little bit of that and a little bit of I looked at the start zone and then kind of forgot where it was. I knew it was somewhere near the start line, so I waited a bit, and then I saw that P2 accelerated a little bit and then had to slow down a bit, and then I went.
I see. So a bit of an advantage there being accrued into the first quarter, and we did see in the early stages you really pushed to open that gap up, much like at Sebring. And whilst Harold Jotautas and Jack Taylor were fighting for P2, come the end of what was the first 20 minutes, you'd opened up a 7-second gap. Looked as though the race was in control at that point.
Yeah, I mean, after the first few laps, well, I was a bit worried about the tyres, but as soon as the tyres warmed up, I was, yeah, out of there.
And with regards to warming up the tyres and perhaps coming more to strategy around here, whilst the ambient temperature and the track temperature were not too high compared to perhaps conditions can be at Road Atlanta, with it being a 90-minute race and tyre wear being a very important factor, how did that play out in terms of the way you were to approach this race? Was there a particular sort of pit stop you were looking to change tyres on?
Just a standard really for a race of this length, all 4 tyres on the first stop. And then I think it's sort of more Road Atlanta specific, but I took a rear left on the second pit stop just to get a bit more traction out of turn 6 and stuff. But I was trying to really keep it easy on the tyres, especially in the first stint. I was having a few sketchy moments through turn 1 and stuff. The rear left really takes a beating.
Oh, no doubt about it, with so many right-hand corners and loading up that rear left, and like you say, taking a beating, but still able to beat the pain being put on the car and yourself. And as the racing went on, we saw you not lap a good portion of the field once, but also twice. Only 11 drivers finished on the lead lap alongside and including yourself. I mean, dealing with traffic around here, even with the lead you were able to accrue, it must have been challenging, particularly if you caught the traffic at, say, the S's.
Oh yeah, it was really difficult with the traffic actually, considering there's only like there's only about 2 straights you can go past them. The rest of the track's just corners. So yeah, it was really difficult. And if I caught a car in the S's, some laps I lost nearly 2 seconds behind the car from turn 3 down to turn 5. But you know, there's nothing much I can really do. I just gotta be patient, get a good exit of turn 5 and get them before turn 6.
Oh, indeed, and patience proving critical in that run to the next available corner. And well, of course, today on the grid, we got to see the Brabham Esports machine back in its household colours, if you will. I mean, that must have been worth an extra 5% of motivation alone to see it in the roaring classic green.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, good that the livery is on the stream and everyone can see the really well-known green and gold of Brabham.
Oh, indeed, and you're getting well known in this series as well for running away with victories. It must be said now, 4 out of 5 wins in the elite class as the season's gone. And you're definitely the favourite to take the championship come the end of the season. But as we're into the second half now, I have to ask, how are you feeling with the championship in terms of, is this what you expect at this stage, or is it just taking it one race at a time still?
Difficult one actually. I think certainly the plan is to keep on winning for the rest of the championship. I think Okayama's next. Yeah, that's going to be a difficult one. The Audi is not very good around Okayama, but I feel Bathurst and Kota, it's about the same as the Porsches.
And coming on to the point with regards to Okayama, you say it may, but it's not the Audi. Sorry, excuse me. The Audi's not too strong there, but of course, with the visit to Japan at beckoning, what can we expect from yourself there?
I'm hoping to do well and get another win and fastest lap and the pole position to get the maximum points. But yeah, the Audi really struggles on low speed rotation and corner exit and understeer, so it'll be interesting.
Oh, without a doubt, we look forward to seeing whether you can make it a hot streak of 3 wins in a row in a week's time in Japan. But just before we do let you go, James, as always, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
We'll do the standard. We'll do friends, family, all that, the team, and Brabham for coming back to us and letting us have this amazing Brabham Esports name and the amazing livery.
Well, James, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me in at the interview room as always, and congratulations once again on an absolutely dominant drive up front to take the overall and also the elite win, and what has been today practically a grand slam almost. I don't think there's any lap you didn't lead outside of the pit stops, if you will. But with that, we look forward to plenty more in a week's time at Okayama, and until then, have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.
So hearing there from James Armstrong, the Brabham Esports driver who continues to run rampant in the field. And we're talking about the fact that going into this round of racing today, the Audi being challenging around here, particularly over, say, the turn 3 curve and braking over the top of the curve and causing the car to potentially lock up on the brakes and become unsettled. And also mention other curbs as well, which could unsettle the car. Plus also dealing with the traffic situations, whereby certain parts of the circuit you just can't go past the traffic and lose up to 2 seconds, such as the run through the S's. But still, through it all, mastering the challenge that Road Atlanta presented, and despite it being a long race, a time race at that, not putting in a single fault all the way through. And with regards to strategy as well, interestingly, he talked about the fact taking an extra rear left tyre, so changing the rear left twice, all other tyres once over the course of the race, and that reflects in the point we talked about in the early days of what was this broadcast day, and the fact the left-hand side tyre is really taking the focal point of what is the wear, and that rear left tyre being so sensitive, particularly on the mid-engine and rear-engine drive cars, and what with Armstrong in the Audi R8, their mid-engine rear-wheel drive, and that being articulated, and doing that for safety, so that way you can maintain the pace in the end, and what what a pace he had all the way through. And that's why he's your championship leader after today provisionally, and indeed why he's going to be the favourite into the final with 3 rounds of the season. But it'll be interesting to see how he takes on the challenge at Okayama, not feeling as the Audi's going to be strong in Japan in a week's time, but feeling as though he can still try and go for the ultimate perfect score of 42 points for the win, plus also pole position and the fastest lap. Will he be able to do it? Will he be able to make it 3 in a row? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But now, ladies and gentlemen, coming on to what is our second interviewee, and we're going to be hearing very shortly from what is Krista Halsoy as he gets ready to join me in the interview. In fact, he's already sat here with me right now, itching for a chat. Good evening to you, Krista. Good to have you with me once again. And well, last week it was a top 5 finish at the end in the pro class, and a brilliant recovery at that. And this time today, it is going to be a win on the cards for yourself. And what a win it was in the end after starting P5 in the class. I mean, it must feel special to take your first pro win of the season.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's always special to win, regardless of what's at stake, and it was hard work.
Indeed, it looked as though it was always going to be a challenge out there because Road Atlanta is a huge stamina drain on any driver over 90 minutes. But for yourself, let's talk a little bit about the fact running the Porsche 992 around here. We just heard from James Armstrong, who talked about the fact the Audi was quite sketchy over certain curbs. I can only imagine the Porsche was quite similar in certain parts of the track.
In certain parts, yes. Though I don't think we struggled as much in turn 5 as he might do with the Audi. To be quite honest, I kind of hit that curb harder than I would hit a lot of enemies at times, and it turned out okay. Though it's weird because the Porsches tend to struggle more in turn 1 than anything else. I find on this track, usually just because it requires a lot more downforce to maintain the same speed through the sweepers as a lot of the other cars do, which is why the old 991 was, at least for myself, borderline undrivable on this track.
I see. Interesting thoughts there in regards to the car and getting the most out of it. Now, I have to ask as well, with regards to that long back straight, we know the Porsche normally is very vulnerable in extended straights that expose its 5th and 6th gear. Did you find today that you really needed to be in the toe of another car to get the most out of it, or did you actually find, you know what, that straight line speed deficit wasn't as pronounced?
Even being in tow, is basically impossible. I did a fixed race earlier to try and get into it earlier today, and I was behind a Ferrari and exited turn 7, 0.1 seconds away from him, and by the braking zone for 10A, I was 0.2 seconds behind. It is horrendous in these long straights, especially if it's any type of inclination on the track.
Oh, goodness me. Well, with that in mind, of course, let's talk a little bit about qualifying. And qualifying yourself a P13 overall, P5 in the class. And just looking back at the times within the class as well, we can see that for yourself, you're 2.5 tenths off of poleman Alex Hill. And it was very close, to be fair, with yourself, Casper Brotner, Nicholas Rice, and Ryan Davies only separated by a tenth in the fight for the P2 spot on the grid. How was qualifying for you?
Yeah, again, it's rough. I'm really bad at qualifying. I mean, at times, even on this track, I can do almost the same lap on full fuel as I can in qualifying trim. Either I'm just absolutely terrible at running a car on low fuel, or I'm fast with full fuel. It's one or the other, or maybe even both, for all I know. And I had one lap that was a potential 18.2, but I didn't get the best exit out of turn 7, and then I missed up my entry into 10A, so I'm a bit bummed about that. It could have been a really good qualifying lap, but that's also part of the game.
Oh, without a doubt. And with qualifying perhaps not going perfectly, but like you say, still 9 the paces out there. We then went green flag racing, and in the early stage of the race, it looked as though progress was quite limited. Some overall places gained, perhaps 1 place gained in class, but it looked as though you were setting into the race much earlier than others and getting ready to work on strategy.
Yeah, strategy work actually started quite early, partially because we'd already talked about it somewhat, but also I had a personal accident early on in the race that I tried to handle as good as I could. I'm not sure if I handled it optimally, so I may or may not have impeded someone. I don't think so. I mean, I drove away from them, so I hope I didn't impede them at all. But what was interesting was I started catching back up to people in front and felt that I was stuck. I couldn't make any headway, and I had the option of trying to fuel save and accept that I'm driving slower than I know that I can, or try and work around it as far as strategy goes. So I opted for the second option there, and it seemed to have paid off quite a lot, actually.
It definitely did, and as the race went on and we started to see those first pit stops come out and that mid-stint start to play out as well, it looked as though the progress was becoming stronger and stronger with the amount of time and effort you'd have been putting in order to prepare for that first pit stop. And by the end of pit stop 1, you're already now batting for what was P3 in the class. Was the feeling that a podium at least was on the cards starting to grow?
I was hoping for it, yeah. As I mentioned last week, I feel like I have genuinely decent pace around here. It's one of my stronger tracks as far as just outright driving on it. And I was kind of bummed because I got into a lot of lap traffic, and it's not like I don't think anyone necessarily did anything egregious. It's just, you know, the nature of the track, which Armstrong also touched on, is there's only certain places where you can really let faster people go without it costing everyone a ton of time or actually just being outright dangerous. And so I felt like I was being slowed down, not on purpose, just the nature of the track, and I had no idea if the people around me were struggling with the same thing. So I tried to, whenever I was in free air, I tried to push as hard as I absolutely could.
I see, and with that traffic in the way, of course, a little bit of concern of whether the strategy would work out. But given the fact, come the end of your second pit stop, now in contention essentially strategically for the lead of the class. And by the time you emerge from the pits the second time around to go into the final stint, you were leading ahead of Nicholas Rice by 4 seconds. I mean, when does it suddenly dawn on you, you're leading the pro class and you've leapt your way into the lead on strategy?
Honestly, it didn't until I crossed the line. I had no idea where I was until I got to the line, and that was a conscious choice because I had no idea at when people were pitting and who were ahead or behind of me, because I was out of sync because of my choice to pit early to try and make headway out of instead of being stuck behind cars that I know that I was faster than. So I genuinely didn't know until I crossed the line. Which all I did really was try. I lashed myself on to a car in front. I was running next to Reese Saunders for the majority of the end of the race, and I felt like we had very similar pace. He's a slightly more consistent driver than I am. So I did some mistakes, which increased the gap, and then I caught up because in certain portions I was slightly faster, and we were basically just driving together until the end of the race. And I was just hoping that whatever pace we were doing was enough to, if I had anyone behind me, that they wouldn't catch up.
I see. It makes sense then, particularly trying to work with drivers of the other class just to make sure you maintain and gradually build pace as the race went on. But interesting that you didn't find out with regards to the pro win until literally at the checkered flag. But I have to ask, now 9 that you've got that win on the cards and something you've been pushing towards over the course of the season thus far, it must feel great to get the first one on the board and now hope that plenty more come.
I mean, yeah, it's very fun to have the first win. Unsure if there will be more to come. Okayama is a hard track to race on. It's a very fun track, I think, to do laps on, but it's very hard to race on it in these fast cars. So it's gonna be very interesting. And the infamous mountain, I'm not even sure if I can survive that race. So I don't have too many hopes for podium finishes.
Oh, goodness me. We'll have to take them one race at a time. We look forward to plenty more for yourself as this season pushes through its second half. But I have to also ask, of course, now with the championship into its second half, and this result today moving you to P3 in what is a very closely fought battle for second place in the championship. Alex Hill is only 4 points ahead of you. Your Khalid Ramadan is sitting at what is the best part, I do believe, of 5 points behind you. In terms of your goals for this championship, are you expecting a top 3 is possible?
I was hoping for it going into this season. Just that's just I have no idea, or at the start of the season I had no idea how myself would do pace wise in class. But after doing some races and just seeing pace from driver to driver, I'm starting to feel like it may be possible. Like it depends. Like I said, I don't have the greatest hope for the at least the two next coming tracks. One I might not even survive. So we'll see how that turns out.
Well, we definitely look forward to that. But just before we do let you go, Krista, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah. So same as before is my friends watching and cheering me on, as well as my teammates that are helping with everything from strategy to morale. It's been great hanging with everyone.
Well, Krista, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me in the interview room this week. Congratulations once again on a superb drive to strategic and track victory in the Pro Class, your first of hopefully many to come, and we look forward to plenty more in a week's time at Okayama. Until then, have a great rest of your evening, savour the moment, enjoy it, and we'll see you again very soon.
Thanks, and you too.
So hearing there from our pro winner, Krista Halsey for Track 6 Racing today, and interesting thoughts with regards to the behaviour of the Porsche around the Road Atlanta circuit, but also on top of that with regards to the straight line speed deficit down the back straight and just how notable it was, even running extremely close to his peers and his rivals and other machines and just not able to find a way through, and really influencing what was his strategy for this race, which was having to fuel save and find a way around, and then having to partner with drivers such as Reece Saunders of the elite class in order to be able to maintain a certain level of pace and perhaps gain some race time. But all in all, the Track 6 racing driver really racing with his brain rather than brawn today and finding a way through to victory. Now, some would say, well, there was lady luck there with the fact we did have the misfortune of Alex Hill end up in the water turn 5, and yes, that is a major part, you could argue, of why it was not Hill on the top step of the podium. But at the same time as well, with that playing out and then Halsey being on the charge all the way through and finding his way through the order, we've got to see a fantastic drive from the 247 driver and then break his duck of wins and bring the first one home, but not fancying his chances for Okayama given the change of racing around there. A great circuit to time trial, but not one necessary for road racing, and track position is going to be key from qualifying, and also not feeling 100% confident about what is Mount Panorama in round number 7. Well, then again, you never know what can happen. Indeed, it's not over until that check of flag is waved, and I wouldn't count Krista Halsey out in terms of having another opportunity of at least finishing on the podium in a week's time. But now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to our third interview of today, we're very shortly going to be hearing from our second place driver in the Pro Class, and that is none other than Nicholas Rice, who joins me in the interview room now. And as we welcome in, good evening to you, Nicholas. It's great to have you with us, and what a challenging day from yourself today. Qualifying, it looked tough out there, but a P3, and in the race, a P2, where I suspect the aim was the P1. But after some brilliant batting between yourself and Alex Hill, and then having to find a way to outsmart what was your eventual winner, Krista Halsey, in strategy, it just wasn't quite enough today by the looks of things.
That was a fantastic race. I just want to first off say apologies to Alex if we had a little bit of contact coming out of 10B. We had caught up to some lap traffic, so I don't know. I felt like I gave space, but we'll see how the stewards decide. But fantastic race, yeah, for sure.
Oh, without a doubt, indeed. Brilliant racing from yourself all the way through. And just before we come into the racing, unless I'm mistaken, a new livery on the Destino Motorsports Ferrari for this round.
You know what? I realized when I was joining that I forgot to switch over to the UKSR livery. But yeah, that's one that Jeff Destino gave us as part of the team.
Well, fantastic looking livery on a car and a fantastic start for the day for yourself. A P3 in qualifying, and we've just spoken to your peer of Krista Halsey, who qualified P5 in the class, and between yourself and him and the many drivers around in the battle for P2 in qualifying, it was only a 10th separating 4 drivers. I mean, it looked tough out there, so to take a P3 surely is a positive.
It was, yeah. I was hoping for a little bit lower down in the 118s, but that's kind of what I've been doing all week long, was about an 18.2 to 18.4 during qualifying, so in those temps, so kind of expected to be there, and and I was very glad to be up with Alex and Ryan.
With regards to the Ferrari around this Road Atlanta circuit, we've heard a lot of stories about the Audi and the Porsche already, but it looked as though the Ferrari for the most part was quite a stable car around here.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. I think it felt the most stable when the fuel load was the highest. As the fuel load started to burn off, I had just as many problems in turn 5 as most of the folks, so I had to stop taking as much curb. But other than that, all week long, everybody's been driving real fast in the Ferrari here. I guess I feel like I kind of had a trick up my sleeve by having the car this week, but it was the opposite of what I had at Daytona, which was I felt like I had a brick, so it was nice to have a little bit of an advantage.
When didn't take that advantage into the race itself, we saw at the start very close calls amongst the field with regards to the rolling start, but everyone's safely on through the opening corners. And look for yourself, it was more about consolidating your starting position, albeit trying to make the move on Alex Hill in the early stages, but not quite able to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, I got in front of Ryan pretty early, but Alex was sitting behind Reese Saunders there for a while, so I was just kind of hanging back, and then obviously Alex got caught up in some lap traffic. I made a move, we made a little bit of contact. Luckily, I didn't take myself out of contention or him. Obviously, he fell out later on in the race, which really sucks because we were having some good battles out there, and I was extremely surprised that I was not P1, to be honest. It wasn't until after the last pit stop that I realized that I was in P2.
I see, and speaking of strategy, and we'll come on to that final pit stop shortly, we did see quite a split in strategy in the Pro class, where it seems as though most drivers, yourself included, wanted to try and go as long as possible. I have to ask, was that perhaps motivated by the concern around track position, particularly with the elite leaders coming around very quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't feel like I was getting held up too much, and I wanted to stick with the from the pack and not get lapped and have to let people by. So I was very happy to not get lapped. I think it's the first time probably this whole season that I haven't been lapped.
I see. And with regards to staying out longer, of course, we did see, particularly in the mid-stint, most drivers doing the best part of 40, 45 plus minutes. Was that starting to really bite into the tyres? Take us through the tyre strategy you deployed.
Yeah, so I was trying to be pretty gradual on the tires, not too tough. I had a lot of practice throughout the week to try to fuel save and also take care of the tires. I think they wore pretty evenly. I took all 4 tires in the first pit stop, and the second one I just left what I had on, didn't take any tires at all. I was kind of bummed that I wasn't able to do more fuel savings, but at the same time it was all about getting the track position was the most important part, and obviously that didn't pay off because I'm P2, not P1.
Indeed, coming to that, as you emerge from the pits and find out you're running P2 rather than P1, we did see you begin to chase after Krista in the final stages, albeit with only approximately 15 minutes to go at that point. I can imagine that with darkness settling on in, it was starting to become a race where it was more about survival rather than being able to find the time to close down the Norwegian.
You know, honestly, I love the dark. I feel like it's like you're jumping back in a race car when I have in the past with the helmet on, your Hans on, and the side wings. It kind of focuses you to stick to the line. And I was hoping he was going to catch some more traffic, to be honest. I made up some small amount of time, and then I caught some traffic. So I didn't realize when I came out of the pits that I was P2, and then I started looking at the relatives and seeing that he's in front. And I was hoping he had made the wrong calculations on fuel, but obviously he did some fantastic strategy and deserves the win.
Well, still, it may not have been the win today, but it was a P2, and you're starting to make a habit of chasing the podiums down in the Pro class, when it's been your second podium of the season, unless I'm mistaken, and it moves you into P7 in the championship stands with 3 rounds to go. I get the feeling the momentum is definitely building inside the Destino Motorsports garage when it's coming to yourself.
Yeah, this same thing happened to me. This is only my second season with UKSR. I've only been back racing for about 7 months in the rig, which has been fantastic. I took about 10 years off because of work and life and having kids and things like that. So last season was the same way. I had a lot of trouble at the beginning and started making headway. And I was not very happy that I was in pro, moving from amateur and multi-class. I was moved right into pro class, not pro-am, and I was like, I have no chance. There's no way I'm going to be even on the front running part of the field. So to take a podium spot, P2 especially is fantastic, and I threw my chance away last week at Sebring by spinning coming out of the hairpin when I was running P2 in pretty clean air. So I think the momentum's going my way, and hopefully I can keep it up. Unfortunately, I won't be able to practice this next week for Okayama, so we'll see how next weekend goes.
Well, speaking of Okayama, if there's no practice available, how are you feeling for the Japanese circuit? I mean, it's been given a graphical overhaul, so at least you can enjoy the spectacle of the circuit.
I don't think I've been on that track for about 13 or 14 years, the last time I was on iRacing. So I'm going to have some issues. I'm going to watch a lot of videos. I'm going to be on the road, so watch the videos and try to mentally go through the track and hopefully spend a little bit of time later on the week, maybe 1 or 2 races, but do some hot laps. But it's going to be interesting not having a full week of practice with VRS or IMSA. It's going to make it a difficult race, to say the least.
We do look forward to seeing how you improvise in preparation for Okayama in a week's time. But just before we do let you go, Nicholas, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast today?
Yeah, first off, I'd like to thank Destino Motorsports, and a special shout out to my teammates Peter Cox and Chris Constable. Peter brought me over to Destino. I had no thought in joining a team, only my second season back in racing, and it's been really fantastic having them as coaches. And a couple other shout outs. I'd love to say thanks to the UKSR admin team for putting such an awesome league together. I'm visiting here in the UK, living here for a few years, and being able to do something like that has been fantastic for my mental health and just everyday stuff. And last but not least, my wife Emma, for allowing me to actually do this, because it takes a lot of time away from me and her. So thank you very much.
Indeed, and it can't be said enough, the family sacrifices that are made and the support along the way as well, and we're more than happy to have you on the grid, Nicholas, no doubt about that. And once again, congratulations on the 2nd place finish today, a great result and plenty more surely to come as the season winds on. But until
Thanks, Paul.
then, have a great rest of your evening.
Cheers, thanks.
So here and there from Nicholas Rice in the pro class. A great result today from him. An interesting reflection there with regards to the fact the positivity coming on through with regards to P3 in qualifying, and knowing there's perhaps a little bit more time out there, but still getting the lap in, and a key lap at that, and then enabling him to make progress early on in the racing as well, making his way past Ryan Davies very quickly and then chasing after Alex Hill. Also his faults with regards to the stability of the Ferrari and the confidence he had in the car, and with that confidence enabling him to go battling versus Hill in the early stages, and we're seeing that in our pictures right now in the background. However, a little bit of contact between the two of them. They might have a word about that after all the racing, after tempers have calmed down, but indeed feeling as though in the end that it may be leaning a little bit more into what was given some fair room, but the two of them coming together all the same. But either way, they both were able to survive it, and in the end, an unfortunate instant for Alex Hill, but for Nicholas Rice, a charge which he thought might have been for the win, but it wasn't to be, with Krista Houseaway outmanoeuvring Nicholas on strategy, but still a P2. And it was interesting, the insight there where he opened up about the perhaps frustration from going from the AM class in the previous season of what was the GT3 GTP series to going straight up to pro, but the fact he's been able to take the podium today, plus a podium 2 weeks ago, really showing just how far he's continued to come on his sim racing journey. And we look forward to more of that journey at Okayama, even if there's no practice in hand in preparation for Japan. I'm sure he's going to be up there batting with the best in class as we go racing in round number 6. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we do come to our final interview of today. He has been waiting quite patiently, and it's going to be none other than our pro and driver, Simon Andre Livingston, who gets ready to chat to us in the interview room. And well, we're going to give him the call to come on down and join us very shortly. And do give us a brief moment. We're going to be hearing the story of the prime driver who definitely did a good job in qualifying but didn't quite work out in the race, and he does join me now. Good evening to you, Simon Andre, and well, I have to look back on previous interviews we've had where we've talked about the fact great results are coming in the races, but they haven't quite been perhaps the results you've always wanted, and it's normally been qualifying that's confounded you. But today, it was a great qualifying session, but then the race didn't quite go the way you wanted.
No, Paul. The quali lap was amazing. I got a good tow from my teammate Steinar, and I was quite shocked when I saw the time because I felt I didn't push. I just looked at the stopwatch and it said 118.5 or something. And at that point, when I crossed the finish line, the crew chief told me I was P1. But of course, Chris is another beast, so he got the time on me. But being P2 in qualifying was good. This is a track that I really love to drive, and it suits the Ferrari, so I was really looking forward to this race. So a little bit disappointing with what happened in the race, but qualifying I can't be mad about. That was good. Finally, like getting the getting my potential out in qualifying was great.
Oh, no doubt about it. And the fact taking P2 2.5 tenths off of Chris Constable's time, but in the end up being 2.5 tenths clear of Chris Round, who qualified P3. And really, the whole rest of the field that was very close together from Round all the way down to Rob Armstrong in P11. I mean, it shows that qualifying potential is there, like you say. And also, it set you up quite nicely for the race, given the fact you did start the best part of 4 places clear of Chris Round. But at the start of the race, things went okay at first, but then it went very wrong only 2 laps in.
Yeah, I was being cautious as normally. Chasing or just staying behind the group, just trying to survive the first lap and kind of like slotted into a position that I was like, okay, here I'm supposed to be. And the 2 guys in front of me was fighting quite hard, like going into the, like, I don't know if you call like the bus stop chicane here as well on Road Atlanta, but when we came down the hill, I saw that the one guy, other guy in the Ferrari was kind of like climbing the curbs. So I was thinking like, oh my god, they're gonna go into each other. So I already had a little small lift going into the final to first corner, and I immediately saw that they were struggling. So I went on the brake and tried to avoid it, and then unfortunately, I don't know what was going on behind me, but the guy that came up behind me, he didn't brake, so I just felt he tapped me from behind, and then there was no way to not crash into the guy in front, so it was just like nothing really to do. Was quite upset, to be honest, but after towing into the pit, I was just like, yeah, gotta finish this race. And I think I annoyed a lot of people out there, especially when you're like the lapped car and you're passing people that is lap ahead of you, but I was faster, so hopefully nobody's race got ruined by me just cutting through the field again.
Oh, indeed. I'm sure your rivals won't have minded after they've taken a moment or two to cool down after the intensity of the racing. And like you say, when you've got the pace, if you can get past them, then all for it. And on that, of course, staying in the race to get it to the very end. I mean, having spent quite a bit of time in the pits with the tyre, did that change your strategy in terms of what you plan to do with tyre changes and fuel stops?
Since it happened so early, it didn't really manage to change anything. I was going for a long first stint, 4 tires, and then going as much as I could to the end, and then I was constipating or thinking about taking only left tires on the last stop. That was my original plan, and I did the same thing in the race, even though it was like, I don't know, 4 laps less that I had to race to go. So no, strategy-wise, it didn't change. Change anything for me. For me, I just took this as practice, and I really was like, I just want to show myself that I would have had the pace to keep the second place in the race, and I felt like, yeah, I could. I had like James and Eric and all of those elite guys passing me. I let them by, and then I were like keeping in touch with them for a few laps. And then I was kind of like, okay, I just back off my pace a little bit and just like, yeah, I could have probably managed to get my P2 if luck would have struck another way this night. But I'm just happy with the race and happy to be a part of the UKSimRacing. So cannot be mad. It's a race and things happen. I was on the lucky side of the scale this race. But yeah, I actually enjoyed it, even though I was racing for no position.
But to be fair, racing to build that confidence to say that you did have the P2 pace today, I mean, that in itself many could learn from, in the fact that when things go wrong, don't give up, still stay in the race, just simply because it's always the positives you can take from the racing. And well, you've always got this positive mentality about you, I must say, even when things don't go quite your way. And I have to ask, taking that positive mentality to Okayama in a week's time, can we expect another shot at a potential podium?
Yeah, I will of course do my best. I have one vague memory of having a GT3 race there. I think it was like 2 seasons ago in the UK Sim Racing League, I think. And in that race I got punted twice and spun once. So I hope I will have a better race than that, if I don't remember wrong. But it's a track that is interesting for GT3. I don't feel like it is anywhere to pass, but quality will be important. So if I find the quality pace, for sure, I will give it my best to get the podium. And if Chris is not racing, then probably P1 is possible, because he's just too fast this season.
Well, that's absolutely fair, and hopefully no more bad luck will strike you, at least for one more round this season, because we don't want to see you marred with bad luck that they have been over the last round or so. But I do have to ask, as always, Steven Andre, just before I do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, well, for start, we can again thank you for a great interview and being a great, now I forget, commentator, there's the word, on the UKSimRacing, doing a great job. I would like to thank our sponsors, KTM, Vinstra Motorsport, Car X, and this one I'm forgetting right now, which is probably really bad, but they can be mad at me for that later. And to all my teammates and Racing Lab and the UK Sim Racing community. And next time I will be back to have a podium interview, I hope.
Well, fingers crossed, Steven Andre. We'd love to see that happen at Okayama, but until then, thank you once again for joining me for an interview. Sorry to see it didn't quite work out the way you wanted it to today, despite the stellar P2 qualifying lap. But with that, have a fantastic rest of your evening.
You too, Paul. Good night.
So hearing it there from our final interviewee, Steven Andre Livingston, the Prime from Racing Lab Esports, and he's always got a positive mindset about him, even when things don't go quite right. And I think, like I said a moment ago, it's something we can all learn from. Showing to himself thirsty in qualifying with a little bit of toe off of a teammate, but then again, we talked about the fact if you could get a toe down that back straight, it'd be very helpful. Put himself P2 and sandwich himself dead centre between the pole sitter and P3. And we have to keep in mind that it was half a second from P3 through to P10 in the Pro-Am class. To put yourself there at the head of that field and in a way being quite a way away from it, that is a huge achievement. It shows you how close that Pro-Am class is. But it all went wrong within 2 laps. And explain the incident from his perspective coming down here into turn 12, which he makes his way past here, albeit much earlier on, in the fact that with the 2 cars in front battling so hard and having to be cautious when the Ferrari that was in that battle took a bit too much of the inside apex curb and unsettled the car. Well, Steven Andre had backed off the car, but then the car coming up behind, of course, with everyone coming into that set of corners on absolute attack mode, wasn't quite aware of what had happened, and when it was a domino effect where the car at the behind came into the back of Steven Andre, and subsequently the Racing Lab Esports driver went into the car in front. It happens, and I'm sure they'll discuss it after the racing today, but getting back in the car and using it as an opportunity to practice and also to run the pace he expected from himself over the race. And the fact he said to himself, you know what, I have got the pace, I've just demonstrated to myself I could have been on P2 pace today, that is a huge confidence booster, and hopefully Okayama will see him put that pace to the proof of the fact he can be on the podium, and we'll have a chance to speak to him if he does pick up a podium in a week's time. Well, we'll have to see if we can hold him to it. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our interviews. Indeed, thank you very much to all of our interviewees this evening, including was James Armstrong, our elite and overall winner for Brabham Esports, also the pro winner today from TiKi of Krista Halsoy, and the runner-up in the class of Nicholas Rice from Destino Motorsports, and also a big thank you to Simon Andre Livingston from Racelab Esports, our P12 finisher in the class, albeit not quite going the way in the race, but P2 in qualifying. Congratulations to all their performances for today, and well, we hope to see plenty more from them in a week's time at Okayama. But with that, it is now time for us to give you an update on the Provisional Championship standings after our 5th round of racing. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we begin with the elite class. And as we can see here, with 4 wins out of 5 this season, and with his Suzuka non-win being his top score, James Armstrong leads the way with a near perfect score of 167 out of 168 eligible points, ahead of what is Harold Jotautas now by a 16-point advantage. Can anybody stop him from running away? It seems as though it's going to take a lot to cause his momentum to be dented, and with rounds running out, albeit the final round is undroppable, of course, well, it's only time will tell to see whether the Brabham Esports driver can put himself in the most favourable position before the season finale. Meanwhile, Harold Jotautas only what is 11 points clear of TiKi Simsport Tours Jack Taylor. Taylor continues to stay in the hunt for the second place spot, and will be looking to make great inroads today after taking a couple of points off of Jotautas, and a rivalry is forming there, with further 10 points to Daniel Shilcock, who was always in arm's reach that podium battle, but never quite able to get involved with TiKi Racing, and Alex Mill with that unfortunate late retirement from the race, still picking up the points, but the Effect Simulations driver knowing that he needs a little bit more in order to stay in the hunt, albeit 1 point off of Shilcock. And then have 15 points to Eric Rosev, who in what was a difficult end to his race there with the second pit stop not working out, falls to 116 points, 2 clear of Reece Saunders, who continues to keep him honest and stay close, and Helder Gonzalez not on the grid today, and will be using this as a drop score round, stays P8 at 112 points. Cy Anthony and Aidan Neat complete your top 10, with David Sabero P11 ahead of Gavin Gardner, and Yannis Albert completing your championship standings. We then come on to the pro class, and as we can see here, Ryan Davies leads the way, albeit not with victory today, but this is his drop score round for a 3rd place finish, and we'll let that sink in for the simple reason that shows you how dominant Davies has been over the course of the season with his consistency. Meanwhile, Alex Hill, his TiKi Simsport Kimi sister teammate, what is the best part of 23 points behind, will be kicking himself for an instant at turn 5, which cost him the win today and could have seen him narrow the gap, and indeed that gap between himself and Krista Halsoy has now been narrowed to 4 points, and the TiKi Racing driver is continuing to rise. Khalid Ramadan sits P4 for Somsport, not the strongest of days today, but still keeping his head down and pushing on, and 125 points to his name. He stays in the hunt for Wiz P2 at 3 points clear of Mark Collicott, with DCW Racing driver not on the grid today. Indeed, DCW Racing not on the grid at all today. We also had the absence of Tom Weston, but we can see Collicott there on 122 points, looking to try and come on strong in the late portion of this season, with 4 over John Eddowes, with the TiKi Simsport Toa driver finishing well inside the top 5 and ahead of Nicholas Rice of Destino Motorsports by only 2 points. Matt Hisley sits P8 for Sloshie Motorsports in a challenging day today, but 114 points equal to Casper Brotner for Old Dudes and Cars Black, but ahead based on result count back, and then Joshua Pratt completes your top 10 for TiKi Simsport Copper. We then have DCW Races Tom West on 62 points in P11, 2 clear of Casper Tunstead, with Pete Cox P13 ahead of Ollie Pimley, and Darren Sharples and Daniel Pays only behind Pimley based on result countback, but Sharples completes the top 15, and then Daniel Pays, his sister team driver Old Dudes in Cars Black, versus the blue driver sits P16, and it's Lee King McGee, Rachel Conkley and Kev Eilert who complete your championship standings. And as we come onto the Pro-Am class, here we can see the story of what is Chris Constable running away to a degree, albeit do keep in mind he's only got a 6-point advantage over Alan Leather, and these two are the kings of consistency, it would seem, and right now a 6-point gap. Can anybody, particularly Alan Leather perhaps, find a way to remove Chris Constable from the top step of the podium? Because if he's able to pull it off, he's able to stay ahead. Well, Leather will be hoping for that for UKSimRacing Stuart, and with the absence of Rob Selby, who falls now 10 points behind, you can imagine Selby will be back on the grid of the week's time, looking to go for gold from the outset in order to close the delta, with Simon Oldfield a further what is 9 points behind in P4 for Team Vagisil, leading the hunt for 4th place, 4 points clear of Chris Round, who after what was a bit of misfortune late on in the day, lost an opportunity to close the gap. We then see Marvin Cruz at P6 for Old Dudes in Cars Blue, ahead of Stefan Albanese, with Jeff Griffiths at P8 there for Built Visible Racing 5 points behind, and then Steinar Sunny and Simon Andre Livingston who complete your top 10 for Racing Lab Esports. 12 points behind is Rob Armstrong for UKSimRacing Mansell, who continues to push on with the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, and he has 4 points given Matt Whitefoot, with Steve Hughes, Satinder Deedser and Noya Sabas completing your top 15. Joel Dutton sits outside the top 15 based only on result countback after his result today for the wrong stuff, head of Chris Bates, but Connor Craven, Ed Frazina and Lawrence Marsh completing your championship standings. We then come on to the AM class, and here we can see the story of our AM class is with James Conley leading the way by an increased margin now of what is 6 points over Jack Barker. The UKSimRacing Mansell driver has improved on his previous drop score. Meanwhile, Barker today will be using Road Atlanta as his drop score by the looks of things in their ever-going championship fight. Neil Smith sits P3 meanwhile for UKSimRacing Mansell, galvanised today by the third place finish and moving within 3 points of Barker and 5 points here John Davies for the wrong stuff, who once again the McLaren driver waited for his day in the spotlight to take his first win, but right now continue to show consistency is key and staying in touch with the hunt for the championship lead. John Doble sits P5 for TiKi Simsport Kimi. The Canadian driver there showing great resilience under pressure and another great result there inside the top 10, proving that 136 points will carry him a long way towards what could be his opportunity to finish inside the top 3 at the end of the season. But meanwhile, heartbreak and drama for Matt Edmondson for UKSimRacing Stuart today in what could have been a win that would have been a huge points injection into his championship, but in the end having to settle for what was 32 points. And while the fastest driver out there with regards to pole position and the fastest lap, it means that the pain's a little bit lessened, but knowing he could have been in the hunt for P5 today. Sire Hartley sits a further ways 11 points behind, ahead of Neil Jack, with Guy Kylie out and James Bostock completing at your top 10. And behind the Petec GP2 driver by 3 points are both Shaminda Deansa and Andy Skinner, with the TiKi Simsport Toa and Corporate drivers equal points, but Skinner behind based on result countback after Deansa's brilliant P2 finish today. And then it's Dave Robson, Jonathan Tighe and Frankie Klein who complete your championship standings. Lastly, we come to the teams championship standings, and here we can see our top 20 teams. And as it stands, UKSimRacing Stuart and UKSimRacing Mansell lead the way 1-2 with only a single point between the two of them in their ongoing rivalry. Then it is a sizable, 16 points to Destino Motorsports, who continue to inch closer and closer, but they're trying to break away from TiKi Simsport Carl Marte, who are not leaving them be, further 3 points behind. Track 6 races sit P5 with 268 points, 10 clear of TiKi Simsport Toa, with then TiKi Simsport Timmy equal points to Toa, but behind based on result countback. There's Brabham Esports, Racer Lab Esports and the Wrong Stuff who complete your top 10. Well, the Wrong Stuff right now trying to hold on to the top 10, head of DCW Racing who stay close and look to hunt them down. Old Dudes in Cars Blue on 183 points. They find themselves only a point behind DCW Racing, a great rivalry that's forming. And TiKi Simsport Corporate and Old Dudes in Cars Black would like to get involved in that battle, no doubt about it, as they sit P13 and P14. With Absolute Motorsport Ace, they've round off your top 15 on 151 points. 15 points clear of Symphony Esports, head of Team Vagisil. And there's Effect Simulations, Leroy Jenkins and Subsport who complete your top 20, with Sloshy Motorsport sitting 11 points behind in P21 on 114. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the UKSimRacing community or how you can be on the grid for some of our ongoing or upcoming series here, including upcoming seasons of the GT3 League, the ongoing Porsche Cup, and plenty more, we do recommend you firstly go to our official website, that's uksimracing.co.uk, for all the information you need about joining the UKSimRacing community. You saw the website earlier on in today's broadcast, and we do recommend it. It has all the information you need. But if you don't want to go to our website necessarily, you can also follow us on social media, and the best place to go to is our official Twitter, now known as X, but in the past life known as Twitter, at twitter.com/UKSimRacing_, where you can stay up to date all the latest announcements regarding ongoing and upcoming series, including also the trials and tribulations of the UKSimRacing esports teams. We'd also like to take this moment and to say a big thank you to our affiliates, who do include what is Swilio Amida Sim Racing Coaching, and more the creator of the Motor Racing Checklist. Swilio Amida's Sim Racing Coaching can help take your sim racing driving to the next level. Whether you're looking to gain a tip, improve your approach to the racing line, or develop your consistency, Swilio has a coaching course to meet your needs. Plus, with Swilio being a multi-time champion of official iRacing series, including the 2021 PSCC, you know you're receiving coaching for the very best in the industry. We also have Race Anywhere, the provider of curated sim racing equipment, aimed to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. Demon Tweaks, the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide, so no matter what your level of discipline, Demon Tweaks can help drive you to realize your motorsport ambitions. SimLab, the leading manufacturer of high-quality sim racing-related hardware, as a proud partner of Mercedes-AMG Petronas Esports, SimLab aims to enhance virtual racing experiences for uncompromising solutions that push the boundaries of esports and make SimLab the go-to brand for quality sim racing rigs. We also have Amazon, the company trying to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and the Earth's safest place to work through the provision of concept pioneered by Amazon, which do include, but not limited to, one-click shopping, Fire tablets, and Amazon Fire TV. And lastly, we have SRC Driver Academy. Elevate your sim racing skills with SRC Driver Academy. Their team of experienced professionals is dedicated to helping you reach your full potential without compromising on quality. But why choose SRC? To put it in their own words, affordable quality coaching, as they have experienced coaches who provide valuable insights and a competitive edge. They make higher quality coaching accessible to all and affordable costs tailored to your needs and goals. You can learn race strategies, precision driving, and much more. And they offer virtual coaching sessions at nearly all hours of the day, every day, ensuring flexibility for all. So join SRC Driver Academy today and unlock your true sim racing potential. Visit their website to learn more and accelerate your sim racing career. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we now turn our attentions to round number 6. We return to the sprint race format on Sunday, the 18th of February 2024, and we also return to the second and final time this season to Japan for the recently refurbished Okayama International Circuit. It's a circuit that's all about track position, with overtaking being possible but highly challenging, and whoever puts it on pole may just have the opportunity to take home victory. But with the pro class, the Prime class and also the AM class is all being closely contested, and meanwhile in the Elite class, James Armstrong running away at the front of the field. The big question that stands is, will we see a change in the tempo at Okayama, or will we see our championship favourites continue to lead the way? Well, for all that and more, tune in a week's time next Sunday. You have to be there to find out how the story concludes. Well, in fact, not concludes, continues, I should say. We've still got 3 rounds to go. But until then, we've been UKSimRacing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.